The boy pulls out a 100 yen coin and everyone freaked out, calling him a billionaire. This happened because the global economy collapsed by 1,000,000% overnight. Everyone woke up with nothing, except one guy. With 1 yen he paid Starbucks for the entire line. He became the owner of a hotel and a restaurant too. The dude was feeling like Mr. Beast living in Lebanon. Now that he was rich, all the girls suddenly got interested in him, doing everything they could to get their hands on his money. The manager, who never gave him the time of day, went to his room and did everything he wanted. But he's not stupid, and took full advantage of the moment. He spent 6 hours playing soccer with her, so that the next day she could barely walk. A famous streamer tried to use him for his money, but he was the one who used her and sent her on her way. A female detective pretended to be chasing a criminal, but showed up at his house just to show off her talents and try to win him over. On top of all the temptations from the devils in skirts, he also helped a lot of people. The MC took down a mafia from inside a company by exposing a corrupt employee in front of all the investors. The scandal made national news. There was a time when some thugs were stealing equipment from an old restaurant in the middle of the workday, and our protagonist stopped them with just one hand. Today, this guy became the Tony Stark. But he wasn't always like this. He used to be a broke loser dating a gold digger. Kawasaki Masa wanted him to sell his house and give the money to her family as proof of love. Who does she think she is? Sydney Sweeney? Since Yuto is stupidly in love with her, he left promising to figure something out. At a coffee shop, Yuto was working when he found out that his girlfriend had planned this for years, to marry him, get pregnant, and then leave him. He went to the employee locker room and stayed there, curled up, completely broken. But then the universe decided to give him a hand. During his shower, at rock bottom, Yuto heard a strange voice talking about a change in the global economy. Everything had lost value by 1,000,000%, except his money, which would stay intact and grow every single day. Yuto thought he was losing his mind and ignored it. It was only when he got on the bus and asked how much the fare was that everyone around him burst out laughing at the idea of paying in yen on the bus. He was confused but insisted. A businessman couldn't believe a clearly broke kid could have that much money on him. But when he pulled out a 100 yen coin, everyone was shocked that this kid was insanely rich. When Yuto found out he was the only rich person alive, he went straight to the bank to deposit all the cash he had on him. When he told the teller that he wanted to deposit 100,000 yen, the woman went into shock and brought him to a VIP room while they counted the money. Suddenly the door opens, and his ex walks in with a rich old man. When Misa sees Yuto there, she asks if he's taking out a loan for her. Yuto, calm as ever, said he would never spend a single cent marrying trash like her. Damn! The old man tried to intimidate him by flexing his power and ordered security to remove the MC from the bank. But Yuto was now VIP of VIPs, and the one who got removed was the old man. Misa was already trying to put her hand on Yuto's thigh, now that she found out he was rich. MC simply doesn't give a damn about her. With the deposit done and his ex thrown in the trash, Yuto went to pick up Saki at the airport. Saki is a girl very close to Yuto, who he sees as a sister. They went to get some ice cream. Some old friends of Saki showed up and started mocking her, saying she was hanging out with a broke guy. As they were leaving, a system appeared for Yuto with a mission to spend 1 yen in 2 hours and earn a physical strength bonus. The rich kids, who thought they were all that, couldn't understand why everyone was running. Arriving at Starbucks, they found out Yuto had paid drinks for everyone. The thugs were shocked and said they weren't going to drink those drinks alongside all these poor people. The crowd heard it and got furious that they had been walked all over. With the mission complete, he received the bonus, a pill that tripled his physical strength. A red car pulls up, and when the window rolls down, it's his manager, Yanagi, telling him to get in the car because his project presentation is happening at the company. On the way, they talked about the project while she ran her hand along his leg. When Yuto arrived at work, an executive named Agata showed up, threw Yuto's materials on the floor and said he was fired. Yuto told him to pick them back up. Then Agata raised his hand to hit the MC. Yuto just grabbed his hand and almost snapped every single finger thanks to his strength. Another executive showed up, also confirming the decision to remove Yuto from the project. Manager Yanagi slammed her hand on the table and said that since Yuto created the project, he would be the one to present it. Agata swore it wouldn't end there, and left muttering under his breath. In a random building, someone is telling a woman that the wedding gift will be 1 million yen plus 120,000, making a total with everything of 8 million. The boy places his hand on his chest and says that he has been saving up money for 11 years just for this moment. However, if she asks for another 1.6 million, he really won't be able to get it. The mother says he's crazy for putting things this way. She's not selling her daughter. It's just that to hand over her daughter, there has to be sincerity. And in this case, sincerity is demonstrated with money. That chubby fool in the background is our protagonist's girlfriend, named Kawasaki Masa, and her father Yoshio says that after the boy lost his parents, he found out that he inherited a beautiful apartment. If he gave the signal, he could find some people to buy it from him, and then he could have the money. Yuto, our fool, says that he can't just go around selling the things his father left behind. The mother, named Tamai, gets angry and says that the bastard won't sell because he doesn't love her daughter. She tells her mother to stop and then approaches our boy. Sometime later, they're already downstairs in the building. and she asks our protagonist if he really can't get that 1.6 million, he has to find a solution. However, the protagonist asks her to understand the situation he's in. He really doesn't have any more sources of money, but that damn woman promises that she'll make it worth his while. Oh, the nerve. Because then she tells him to get the money from a loan shark, saying that it's hard to date someone who doesn't even know how to make money. Our protagonist is all well dressed and stylish, but even this fool suffers at the hands of women, just to show you how things are. And he says, alright, I'll try to find a way to get that money. With that he leaves, saying that as soon as he gets it, he'll come back and then they can get married. She says she's waiting for him to fulfill his responsibility. The scene then shifts to a cafe. His friends ask if he's really going to have just that for lunch. He explains that he has to save money for something more important than eating. Right nearby, his future wife is talking to a girl, but she probably doesn't even know that Yuto works there. The girl wants to know where Masa's money is. Wasn't she supposed to be marrying that millionaire, the son of a man who owned multiple companies? Masa responds that the other guy was a bastard who only gave her 100,000. Her friend asks about the current guy, and she says this one is even worse. He has a building from his father's inheritance, but he won't sell it to give her the money. The friend seems a little confused and asks what the plan is this time. That's when Masa reveals that she's pregnant, so unfortunately, she'll have to marry this bastard. But it's fine. Once the baby is born, she'll divorce him and take half of the property he'll inherit from his father. Perfect. A very honest woman, truly. Obviously, our poor Yuto is standing there boiling with rage, unable to comprehend. Clearly, she hasn't realized he's the fool, because she asks him to bring her some water. He doesn't want to turn around, and she keeps banging on the table, demanding to know why he won't answer. At that moment, he just throws himself down while the damn woman curses. Now, in the employee break room, the jackass is crouched down crying. Suddenly he receives a call from someone asking him to pick up a certain sake at the airport. He says it's fine since his part-time shift just ended. The poor guy is under the shower, completely devastated, crying and screaming that that damn woman only talks about money. Money is all she cares about. That's when, out of nowhere, the simplest system in the world appears. It tells him that he has suffered too much in this life, and because of that he has caused a shift in the global economy. Basically everything has depreciated by 1,000,000%. Meanwhile, his money remains intact, and he even earns 5% per day, which totals an extra 5,000 yen. Yuto just assumes that some lunatic is shouting nonsense and leaves. He gets on the bus and asks how much yens the fare to the airport costs. Suddenly, people around him start laughing, joking about how crazy it is to talk about spending yen to take a bus. The two guys sitting behind him say that if an idiot makes 100 sen a month, that's already pretty good. For those who don't know, a sen is basically 1/100th of a yen, like dividing a yen by 100. Our boy is confused, not understanding why they're talking like this. After all, an airport bus fare used to cost around 1,000 yen. He asks the driver to just say the price, so he can board. That's when a man in a suit suddenly tells him to stop trying to enter, and to stop acting like a millionaire, talking about spending yen like that. Clearly, by the way he's dressed, the boy is poor, so he should quit the nonsense. Yuto assumes he's dealing with a bunch of crazy people. Of course he has at least 200 yen to pay for the ticket. The suited man laughs and says he must be insane if he actually has 200 yen. No way someone dressed like that has that much money in their pocket. Then, the man in the suit gets tired of Yuto's jokes and tells him to just sit down. He'll cover the 2 sen for his ticket. Yuto looks around, wondering if this is some kind of show or event, but there aren't any cameras. The driver tells him to sit down already because they need to leave. That's when our dear Yuto pulls out 2 sen yen coins and says, "Here you go." Immediately, everyone's eyes light up, eager to know how this kid has so much money. The suited man is convinced it must be fake. How could a kid have coins like these? That's when Yuto remembers the voice he heard earlier, and starts to wonder if it's actually true. He offers the coin to the driver and asks if he can get change. However, the driver says it would be very difficult to give him change for that much money. They'd have to contact the company owners first. At that moment, our protagonist realizes something. Not only was his 100 yen worth an insane amount now, but everyone around him was desperate for money. To avoid trouble, he gets off the bus. At that moment, a brand new phone was selling for just 1 sen. Even a luxury handbag cost no more than 17 sen. A Rolex itself was worth only 1 yen. This leaves him confused. He has no idea what to do with his 10,000 yen bills. It seems like this currency isn't even accepted anymore, so maybe he needs to go to the bank to figure it out. A while later, his number is called. The bank clerk greets him and asks how she can help today. Our guy says he's there to make a small deposit. She asks for the amount. He says it's just 100,000 yen, and that he'd like to open an account to spend it more easily online. The woman looks shocked, saying she can't handle that much money. She'll have to call the manager. His banknotes start getting authenticated. The woman returns sweating, saying it's unbelievable, they're genuine notes. The system even explains that the way money is used has changed. 1 yen is now equal to a sen, which is the number 100, but spelled out as SEN. And 1 sen equals 1,000 rins. Yeah man, what a complicated currency system, but you get the idea. Basically, one is worth 100 times more than the other. Sometime later, now in the VIP room, he asks if they finished the verification. She confirms that they have, and that his deposit of 100,000 yen has been processed. However, the clerk wants to confirm if he's really going to deposit the entire amount. The guy says yes, but to leave about 3 yen in his account since he has a few small bills to pay. That's when, suddenly, the door swings open. Masa walks in with an old man, saying that she did exactly as he asked and is now going to marry that fool. Now that she's become a married woman, their relationship is even more exciting. Yeah, it's really her. Someone please smack her over the head. The old man even takes a moment to examine his prize, saying that stealing another man's woman is quite the thrilling adventure. That's when Yuto, standing inside with his arms crossed, says he never expected her to be this kind of woman. She's caught off guard, confused about why he's there, and asks if he came to take out that loan she told him to get. But our boy gets straight to the point, saying he would never waste money marrying trash like her. Strangely, this lunatic just shrugs and says she's too beautiful to belong to just one person. It's only natural that someone with her looks has both a husband and a boyfriend. Yep, she's already living out the woman meme. Our guy just stands up saying she's the worst woman he's ever seen. He's leaving now that his deposit is complete. But just then, the bank clerk says the regional manager also wants to speak with him. However, the old man, who is Masa's sponsor, tells him to stay put. After all, he insulted the girl, and he won't just walk away like that. Yuto, seemingly confident in a fight, says that if the old man wants to throw hands, just say the word. But the old guy smirks and says it looks like the kid has no idea who he is. He's the president of the famous Tenryu group, which paid dozens of yen in taxes just this year alone. If he wanted, he could freeze all of Yuto's transactions right now. As soon as Yuto sees some security guards approaching, the old man smirks, saying it's time for the kid to be thrown out. However, the guard explains that Yuto is a VIP among VIPs. At that moment, a man named Buktasu enters, walking awkwardly, introducing himself as the regional administrator, and saying it's a pleasure to meet him. He was impressed to learn that someone deposited 100,000 yen, so Yuto will now receive a diamond black card. Our boy just thanks him, while the stunned ex and the old man mutter that this kid must have forged money to deposit that much. The ex chimes in, saying it's true, she knows that fool doesn't have that kind of money. But Buktasu responds that he doesn't want to hear anyone questioning the authenticity of money that has already been processed. Because of that, they will have to reconsider their partnership with the old man. At that moment, the desperate old fool pleads with them not to do this. If they freeze his assets at this bank, he'll go bankrupt. Meanwhile, the shameless woman has already latched onto Yuto's thigh, saying she made a mistake siding with that old geezer. The truth is, she always thought Yuto was more handsome and promising, but our guy simply orders the manager to throw this pile of garbage out. And with that, the old fool is kicked out. At the airport, Yuto realizes he took so long that Saki must have already arrived. He's sure she's getting impatient when, suddenly someone touches his thigh. A curvy, lively girl teasingly says he owes her for making her wait so long. He apologizes, saying he'll buy her whatever she wants, and this humble girl just asks for some ice cream. The fool Yuto is already smitten, thinking she's as adorable as ever. As they talk about grabbing a drink, it seems like he was thinking of taking her to a Starbucks, but she points out that airport prices are outrageous. Nice to know that's a universal issue. Crooks everywhere. Out of nowhere, someone shoulder checks Yuto as they walk past. A guy claiming to be Saki's classmate says he'll cover their costs, since Yuto doesn't look like he can afford it. His friends laugh, saying they should just accept the offer. Yuto turns to Saki and asks if she knows these guys. She replies that she spoke with them yesterday, since it looks like they'll be classmates at the same university. However, she grabs onto our boy's arm and says they should leave because these guys are weird. Shinji warns her that she'll regret turning down his offer, and his friend tells him to stop wasting time trying to help these poor people. That's when a small mission pops up for Yuto. In 2 hours, he has to spend 1 yen, and as a bonus, he'll receive a physical enhancement. The guy immediately flips a coin in the air, grinning. This is the perfect opportunity. Meanwhile, the other girl is still clinging to Shinji, telling him to just forget about those poor folks already. Then she suddenly complains that her throat is dry. This girl is at least peculiar, and the guy immediately says he'll go grab something for her to drink. Honestly, I'm not sure if this is a not so subtle innuendo, or if I'm just reading too much into it, but it's at least suspicious. Suddenly, a crowd rushes past, bumping into Shinji. The guy angrily tells everyone to watch where they're going, but he's completely ignored. 2 girls nearby are chatting about how it seems like everything at Starbucks is free today. Obviously, the 3 fools are confused. How does that make any sense? Yuto goes up to the counter and asks if everything is really free, and the cashier confirms that for now it is. A certain generous customer is covering everything for everyone. Our boy shrugs, saying today's way too hot, so let's get a round of iced coffee for everyone. Of course, Saki is already enjoying the moment, when suddenly Shinji demands to know what Yuto thinks he's doing. Our guy just tells him not to worry, he'll even cover one for him too. Obviously Shinji refuses, saying he's not some poor guy who needs someone else to buy him Starbucks. Dude really shouldn't have said that, because now everyone around is giving him the death glare. Shinji then turns to Yuto, snapping at him to shut up. He claims that since Yuto has never been abroad, he should stop pretending to be a millionaire. But for once the crowd is actually making sense. They start shouting at the rich boy to shut up, since he's not paying for anything, he can get lost. Things escalate fast, the dude gets beaten and trampled. Now that's what I call dedication to Starbucks. The guy is absolutely wrecked on the floor. Someone asks if the two girls with him are his friends, but they immediately deny even knowing him. That's when Yuto throws in his own burn, telling Shinji not to bother trying to hit on his sister with that spare change. Damn, why did it have to be his sister though? I really hope it's a Chinese sibling situation, where they just call everyone brother or sister casually. With that, Yuto and Saki leave. She walks ahead wearing those tiny shorts wedged in, asking if he's really okay with spending so much money. Our boy just says that when it comes to protecting her, no amount of money is too much. Ah, you smooth talker. Sometime later, they're waiting for a taxi, and the mission is completed. With that, Yuto receives his reward. Apparently, he struggled to even spend 1 yen. Buying coffee for everyone wasn't enough, so he must have had to invest in something else. Now he's gotten a pill that increases his strength. Meanwhile, Saki is asking where the taxi they ordered is. A red car pulls up, and she excitedly says it looks really cool. A girl with black hair rolls down the window and asks what Matsushima Yuto is doing here. Our boy replies to manager Yanagi that he came to pick up his sister and take her to university. Looks like this girl is someone from his workplace, probably important, since she reminds him about his big presentation this afternoon. Even though Yuto doesn't need money anymore, this project is something he's been working on for months. Saki tells him not to worry, she'll go with him. Besides, he should take the chance to spend more time next to such a beautiful woman. Our guy quickly tells her not to say things like that, especially since he doesn't have that kind of relationship with the manager. Yanagi asks what they're whispering about, and Yuto just asks for a ride. Meanwhile, he's thinking that since he's spent his whole life as a broke guy, he doesn't want to miss any opportunity to make even a single cent. Inside the car, Yanagi tells him to review his presentation materials and prepare, because if this project gets approved, he'll be receiving a huge bonus. Yuto says he knows he's falling for her tricks, but he'll do his best. Man, this manager Yanagi works hard. Let's put it that way, and her hand is up to something peculiar, giving the boy a little pinch. He tells her to cut it out with the tricks, but she just smiles and says he should be happy that she's even using tricks on him. Damn it, she's got a point. A little while later, they arrive at the company, and the manager Ogata Kosuke tells him to throw all of that away. Our protagonist asks what he means by that. Apparently this guy is taking over Yuto's position and says he doesn't need to show up anymore. The guy even tosses Yuto's materials to the floor, but our boy demands he give them back. Ogata, clearly used to getting his way, raises his hand, ready to smack Yuto, asking if he wants to settle this with a fight. Unfortunately for him, Yuto just had his strength tripled. With a quick move, Yuto twists Ogata's arm and slams him into the ground. While the guy groans, completely confused about how this weakling got so strong, someone else steps in. It's another higher-up, who tells Yuto to let go. Apparently this new guy says Yuto has very few skills, which is why Ogata will be presenting the project instead. Yuto immediately protests, saying they can't just ignore the fact that he worked on this project from the start and hand it over to someone else. The guy is about to dismiss him when someone slams a hand on the table and declares that they won't let this happen. It's manager Yanagi. I'm really starting to like her, saying that since Yuto created the project, he should be the one to present it. Ogata, looking all twisted and defeated, whines, asking why they won't let him present. Yanagi simply states that he's not capable of it after all. He doesn't even understand the project. There's no way someone this clueless would be able to handle it properly. Ogata scowls and points a finger, saying, fine, but we'll settle this soon enough. With that, he storms off, while Yanagi tells our boy not to worry and to get ready for the presentation. Yuto can't help but think that despite being extremely focused on work, at least she treats him with care. Later, in the conference room, Yanagi announces that the presentation is over. The vice president Akira congratulates them, saying they exceeded expectations. First, Yanagi praises Yuto with a handshake, then immediately uses some high-density magic to push the poor guy away. Meanwhile, a mustached man mentions that once the company president arrives, they'll discuss how to handle the debts. Yanagi looks confused. What debts are they talking about? That's when the shady guy from before enters, saying that unfortunately, there seems to be an issue with payroll. Apparently they owe hundreds of yen, and at this rate, they won't be able to pay any employee salaries. Yanagi refuses to believe it. She always checks the finances, but the guy just smirks and tells her she was deceived by the old executives. Turns out, all the financial calculations were completely fake. She immediately realizes that none of this makes sense, unless it was a trap from the very start. The guy then smugly declares that this whole situation was just a simple fool's trap. Yanagi, furious, says this isn't fair. She's poured her blood and sweat into this company, so how could they do this to her? But the man ignores her completely and announces that the company will be sold to the gentleman beside him for 90 yen. Yanagi is devastated. She's actually crying, saying that 90 yen is way too cheap. This is nothing but exploiting the weak. The smug guy just laughs, saying it doesn't matter, since it's not like she has the money to make a counteroffer. At that moment, President Kinoshita arrives. Now that I think about it, the mustached guy is probably the bank owner where Yuto made his deposit. And now the two of them are chatting about some lunatic in town who invested 100,000 yen. That's when Kinoshita notices Yuto standing there and asks what he's doing. Immediately, the old guy who just walked in asks if this is the kid who deposited 100,000 yen. The banker confirms it. The man steps forward, slightly hunched, and introduces himself as Kishinoda, the company president, saying it's an honor to meet him. Meanwhile, Ogata, the fool, is utterly lost, not understanding why two presidents are suddenly sucking up to Yuto. The two high-ups immediately tear into Ogata, telling him to stay out of matters concerning someone who deposited 100,000 yen. Yuto, taking everything in, asks if they're really going through with this ridiculous plan to sell the company for 90 yen. Of course, now the guy is all twisted up, saying it's better to just drop the subject. He doesn't want to get involved with Yuto, but Yuto isn't about to let things slide that easily. He tells Yanagi that they need to clean up how things are run around here, and he wastes no time warning the investors that Ogata was behind a scheme to put the company into debt and sell it off for cheap. Naturally, the investors and the bank official immediately say they'll launch an investigation. Ogata tries to lie his way out of it, but it's already too late. The next scene? The scandal is all over the news. Embezzlement exposed. Someone is pouring wine, celebrating today's victory. Damn, I thought we were already in the hotel room, but nope, we're still at the restaurant. Yanagi says that Yuto saved her life, so they have to toast. Yuto, ever the logical one, tells her that from now on she will be managing the company. She turns bright red, saying she's not sure if she's ready. She's easily deceived after all. She stands up and says that if he trusts her that much, they need to toast closer. And then of course she trips like an idiot. But our boy saves her in a totally normal way. I was expecting one of those accidentally inappropriate anime falls, but nope. She does however twist her ankle and asks him to carry her downstairs, but not to try anything weird. Our boy carries her as if she weighs nothing, saying it's fine. Sometime later, they make it to a hotel room where he gently lays her on the bed, saying he's heading out so she can rest. But the moment he turns around, the Cobra strike attack. Her leg moves at lightning speed, pulling him into a cruel trap. She smirks, saying that this time, he's the one who fell for it. But our boy? Oh, he flips the game around. And then, he teaches her how to play top lane Riven and pull off insane combos. After several rounds on Summoner's Rift, they're both exhausted. Man, League of Legends is tiring. Yanagi complains, saying she can't believe this skinny dude managed to play for 6 hours straight. He, all slumped over, says it's her fault for provoking him. If that's what she meant by provoking, then yeah, she's 100% to blame. This girl is a menace. Since they're in a best-of-5 ranked series to hit gold, they queue up for one more match. Meanwhile, the day has already ended, and Yuto receives a new mission. This time, he has to spend 50 coins by the end of the day. He suggests that maybe they should invest more into the company, but Yanagi thanks him and refuses. First, they need to recover from the damage caused recently. That alone is enough to push them to the next level. Then, out of nowhere, she plants a kiss on him, saying that's the easiest way to repay shareholders. For some reason though, she's having trouble standing up. She collapses onto the floor, blaming him. He tells her to take the day off and rest, but even with her legs wobbly like instant noodles, she insists that she at least has enough strength to try walking a little. Meanwhile, our boy is already declaring that it's time for a nap, but that's when he gets a phone call from someone named Yamaguchi, saying his aunt is in the hospital. The scene shifts to the hospital. Yuto is sitting by the bed of an elderly woman. She weakly says that she's never felt as sick as she does now. Yuto reassures her, saying it's probably just the exhaustion of the year catching up to her, but she'll feel better soon. Yamaguchi, Yuto's best friend, talks about how he used to spend so much time at his house. His aunt would always cook for him, and he'd eat everything. Now he peels something. It might be a potato, maybe an apple, and asks her to take a bite. Yamaguchi was actually thinking of asking Yuto for a small loan, but after seeing all the recent scandals surrounding Yuto's company, he decides to let it go. That's when a nervous nurse rushes in with 2 doctors, muttering about room 42. A bald doctor says that Miss Yamaguchi needs to be moved to another room immediately. Her son, of course, demands to know what's going on. Yuto had already told them he would cover the medical bills in a few days, so they couldn't just throw her out like that. But that's when a nurse reveals that they received a mysterious donation of 1 yen from an unknown benefactor. Because of that, his aunt is being transferred to the VIP room. Yamaguchi looks completely baffled. Who would donate just 1 yen? The nurse confirms that they've already verified the donor. And so the trembling doctors carry the woman like royalty to her new room. For some reason, she's absolutely delighted, saying she wants to stay close to these handsome doctors. And just like that, the cheerful old lady is taken away. Now in the special treatment room, the doctors are even doing some little celebration dance for her. Yamaguchi turns to Yuto and says that this must be a dream come true. This is exactly what he needed. Yuto, without hesitation, punches him in the stomach. Almost kills the poor guy. He forgot that he has enhanced strength now. Yuto tells him that this is the price for keeping quiet, instead of just asking for help. Yamaguchi apologizes, saying he was just hesitant to ask, but Yuto reassures him from now on if he ever needs anything, just say the word. With that, our boy completes a secret mission and receives a new bonus talent. My eyes are a ruler. Just like us, he has no clue what that means, but whatever, right? Meanwhile, in a VIP room nearby, a girl named Yamada Mika asks if she should call her younger brother. But the man in the hospital bed tells her it won't be necessary. He just had a long flight and needs time to recover. He then hands over some documents, saying that this project is extremely important to the company, so they can't afford to mess up. Since Mika has experience with this sort of thing, he's confident she can handle it. Mika reassures him she'll do her best to make sure everything goes smoothly. With that, she leaves, heading off to make it to university on time. But on her way, an old woman suddenly blocks her path and throws herself to the ground, grabbing onto Mika's legs out of nowhere. She then yells at Mika to watch where she's walking. Mika is confused, but immediately, some random bystanders step in, saying they clearly saw Mika push the old lady. Another man approaches, demanding to know which university she attends, because they're going to report her behavior. Enter our boy, Giga Chad Yuto. He casually catches Mika, keeping her from falling. At that moment, his new mystery talent activates. Because he was observing something interesting for just long enough, he instantly calculates the exact size of an F-36. He pauses. No way that was an F-36. It was a B or a C. So his system must be messed up. Meanwhile, the old lady is still clinging to Mika's legs, crying out for help. Mika, feeling guilty, admits that she was in a hurry, so maybe she bumped into her without realizing it. But Yuto immediately tells her not to admit to anything, otherwise she'll fall into their trap. Mika is totally lost. What does he mean by trap? Meanwhile, Yuto is trying to figure out how his new ability even works. He tells Mika that right when she was about 3 centimeters away from the old woman, the lady suddenly threw herself down. 3 centimeters is nothing, but okay. On top of that, there were several cameras conveniently positioned to make it look like Mika bumped into her. Yuto finds it really suspicious that so many cameras are capturing this from multiple angles. Mika agrees. It's definitely sketchy. Yuto warns her that someone might be trying to set her up. So Mika calmly steps forward and politely apologizes, but says that unfortunately she never actually bumped into the woman. The old lady loses it, calling Mika shameless, saying that so many cameras caught her in the act. Mika simply says, if that's the case, then let's check the hospital's security camera footage. And of course, since technology has advanced, they'll slow the footage down by 1,000 times, so they can see the exact moment the old lady fell. As soon as the girl made that threat, the scammers of course ran off. She was sure they were a bunch of frauds, and Yuto asked if the hospital really had technology like that. But the sneaky girl admitted that it was a lie. She had no idea where the cameras were in this place. With that, the two of them realized that they were both a bit mischievous. Looks like the next victim is about to get weak in the knees. She then introduced herself as Yamada Mika, and thanked him for the help. Our boy reached out for a handshake, but she just turned and walked away, telling him that if he wanted, he could visit her at the university. Yuto wondered if this girl wasn't at least a little suspicious. How does she just invite someone out of nowhere like that? That's when he noticed it was already 6 in the evening. Back at his apartment, he decided to watch some live streams to brighten up his day. If there's one thing that always happens in Chinese stories, it's a streamer duel, where the rich guy donates money. Every time I see this, I wonder, does this actually happen in China? Like 1v1 streamer battles, on platforms where the winner is the one who gets the most donations. I've never seen that anywhere else. What I do see is a girl telling viewers to support Kati, blowing a kiss with lots of enthusiasm. Meanwhile, another girl, Kumitan, is begging for more votes so she doesn't lose. Then Kati smirks, saying it looks like she's going to win, and wonders what punishment the loser will have to endure. Since the girl is a gamer, maybe they should force her to play with her feet. At that moment, Yuto's My Eyes Are a Ruler talent activates, after he's been staring long enough. He comments that the girl's legs are nice, but the proportions look off, probably because the table looks warped. Yukachi, completely offended, snaps back at him, saying he's making things up since she's had this body since the beginning of the stream. I mean, she probably meant since birth, right? Not since the start of the stream. Actually, not since birth either, since she grew over time, but you get the idea. What I don't get is why our boy got instantly banned within half a second. Obviously, the girl went right back to her little dance routine. And we already know what's coming. Our boy is about to cause some trouble. If he can't interact with one streamer, then he'll just talk to the other one. Kumitan is in full panic mode, saying the PK battle is almost over, and she needs help. That's when someone suddenly donates 5 yachts to her. Of course, both girls are completely shocked, even though that donation probably cost like 30 cents. And just like that, Kumitan starts dominating the battle. She's all happy, showering thanks. Meanwhile, Yukachi is squinting hard. She realizes that this Yuto is the same guy she just banned. Now she's desperately pulling out the most bizarre dance moves possible, trying to survive. But it's already over. Yuto drops 10 more yachts for Kumitan, completely sealing the win. Yukachi knows she has no chance anymore, while the bear girl is celebrating hard, saying it's time for the punishment. Our boy even sends a public message across all the streams, telling Yukachi that blocking him won't help. The desperate girl immediately leans forward, apologizing, saying she'll accept any punishment. Meanwhile, Yuto gets some direct messages from Kumitan, or rather, Marinyun. Yeah, Marinyun sounds way cuter. She thanks him for the donation but says unfortunately she has nothing to offer him in return. However, if he wants, he can request a refund. Yuto figures she's probably freaking out over the amount, but he doesn't care. He tells her not to worry, it wasn't that much. That's when she notices his location, realizing he lives in Musashi District, and suggests that maybe they could meet for dinner. Yuto isn't too excited about it. He knows these streamer girls only care about scamming fools for money. But if she's paying for dinner, he's curious to see what she'll try. Back at Marinyan's house, the girl's room is full of designer bags, and her mother is there, complaining that her daughter leaves her alone all day. Marinyan steps out of her room and says, streaming is a real job, but now, she's here to chat with her beloved mother. However, the woman responds that Marinyan already makes plenty of money, so she shouldn't even be working in streaming. After all, the necklace she's wearing, for example, costs 43 yen, which is something she'll never earn from streaming. But Marinyan just sticks her tongue out playfully, saying she streams for fun, not for money. Besides, she met someone really interesting today. Her mother immediately warns her to stop getting interested in people from live streams. She should have already accepted that her marriage will be arranged with the son of a famous company owner. Marinyan tries to argue, but her mother just tells her to go talk to her father. Sometime later, our boy is in the city, wanting to grab some drinks at an izakaya. Fried chicken and beer would be perfect, so off he goes. But at the place, someone is begging for patience because they're late on rent. A woman with curlers in her hair, however, says she doesn't do charity. If he doesn't have the money, he should just disappear. And if he doesn't pay up soon, she'll seize all his kitchen equipment. The poor guy tries to refuse, but it's too late. She's already ordered her Walmart-tier gangsters to take everything. He keeps pleading, saying he just received a special order and will have the money soon. But even then, he gets shoved aside. That's when someone grips the thug's shoulder. It's our boy Yuto, and the goon can't even move. Yuto asks if the man is the owner of the place and how much the rent costs. The woman, unimpressed, just asks who he is. And then she asks if he's planning to pay on the guy's behalf. She reminds him that she was already cutting him a deal out of pity. But since the area is going through some changes, she has no choice but to raise the rent. The owner complains, saying she always finds an excuse to increase the price. She doesn't care. The other nearby shops also belong to her, and she's renting them out to a major company for 2 yen per month. Yuto pulls out his phone and makes a call, while the woman smugly says that if he pays 1 yen per month, she might let him keep the place. He calls Fujiwara, already thanking him in advance. That guy owns the entire city, and Yuto simply tells the woman she doesn't need to discuss anything with him anymore. She looks confused, asking what Yuto plans to do. It's not like he has any power here. After all these buildings belong to her. Once again, she orders her goons to kick everyone out. But our boy unleashes the crane stance attack, open arm style, and in one swift motion knocks both thugs to the ground. Of course, the woman is horrified by Yuto's brutal takedown and immediately calls for the police. That's when Yuto casually drops a bombshell. He discovered that she only has the rights to use the commercial property, not own it. Where did he even pull that information from? Then, he reveals that he, on the other hand, just bought the entire area. Now, everyone is staring at him, waiting for his next move. Meanwhile, the woman is trembling, demanding to know what he's planning. Yuto says he's going to renovate the whole area by demolishing everything. Obviously, no one would want to rent anything there afterward. He doesn't care. A few hundred yen is just spare change to him. It's literally spare change. But now the woman is panicking. She immediately drops to her knees, begging for forgiveness. Usually when waifus get on their knees, it's great, but not this one. She desperately offers to cut the rent in half, and even cover the water bills. Yuto immediately agrees if that's the case. Shout out to whoever designed this insane system, because now I have to rotate my screen in Photoshop just to read it. Something about fighting against corrupt companies, and it looks like Yuto just gained a new talent, one that alerts him when someone is trying to scam him. Meanwhile, the fried chicken guy is grilling up a feast, saying that everything tonight is on the house for Yuto. Yuto thanks the old man and says that he's always been a fan of this place, so he'll be coming by even more often now. The old man smiles and says he understands why. He explains that he's not bragging, but their recipe is truly one of a kind, passed down through generations. Suddenly someone nearby makes a snide remark about how it's funny seeing a millionaire eating street food. It's Miss Wobbly Legs, who just shrugs and says that at least it tastes good. Yuto can't help but think that this damn woman has no idea how much he had to spend just to get this fried chicken. As he brings the skewer closer to his nose, he notices something smells off. She, however, misunderstands completely, thinking he's trying to sniff her. She smirks and says that if he wants to smell her, he can just come over to her place later. Yuto completely ignores that nonsense, and suddenly switches the subject. He tells her that he invited her here today to talk about a new company he wants to start. She immediately asks if she's going to be hired as his secretary, saying that would be perfect. He admits that he hasn't thought much about it yet, but the company will be an investment firm, and its main office will be in this area. She excitedly says that if that's the case, she'll help him find the perfect location, since she knows the city inside and out. Then she orders more food to take home, while Yuto is turning red for some reason. A little while later, she switches to full romance mode. She tells him he needs to stop cheating on her with other girls, while she's working so hard. Yeah, this one has already fallen for him. Yuto quickly denies everything, saying he'd never do something like that. But she just sniffs the air and says she smells another woman on him, so he better not lie. She won't ask for much, just that he calls her whenever he needs something. Pretty demanding, huh? He agrees, and with that, she heads home. However, someone suspicious is watching them from a distance. Yuto's system sends a warning, and he immediately knows something is about to happen. Suddenly, he grabs Mayumi's hands, acting like he's in terrible stomach pain. He tells her that he might have food poisoning, so it's better if she heads home alone. She sighs and says that's fine, but if he cancels next time, he'll have to spend twice as much time with her. Yuto just says got it, and waves her off, saying it won't happen again. Then, he quickly turns around and calls out for the hidden person to show themselves. Out steps the Zoro Hat Squad, with their leader complimenting Yuto's sharp instincts. However, the guy also says that unfortunately for Yuto, he messed with the wrong person. Looks like this assassin isn't exactly a pro, because the best weapon they have to kill him is a baseball bat. The first thug swings but Yuto dodges with ease, the second one comes at him, and Yuto grabs the bat with his bare hand. Which is insane, he could have shattered his wrist doing that. But turns out it wasn't easy at all, he almost broke his own hand in the process. Even with his system bonuses, this guy is still too strong for him. Channeling his inner Spider-Man, Yuto dodges gracefully, telling them there's no need for violence. Solving things with money would be much easier. But the thug cuts him off, saying that the person Yuto messed with doesn't care about money. And now Yuto is going to pay the price. The guy moves in for the final blow when suddenly, someone grips his shoulder. A bunch of people appear, applauding and praising the actor's performance, saying he's really well prepared for the film. When I called them the Zoro Hat Squad, I didn't think this was actually going to happen. Turns out, the little troublemaker saw everything, and hired a bunch of extras to interfere with the fight. Yuto is stunned, but before he can react, she makes things even messier by throwing money into the air. With so many witnesses around, the assassin has no choice but to give up. Yuto tells the guy it's best to just walk away now, because this is only going to get worse for him. Even the assassin's own henchmen look emotional, since the random women in the crowd remind them of their grandmothers. With no other option, the thugs run away. People around them ask what they should do now that the actors have left. The girl just grins, saying that everyone can keep the money, and they'll talk again next time. The only mystery left for Yuto is who exactly sent those 3 guys after him. The next day, he's back at the first bank where he made his deposits. The curvy bank attendant walks in, sighing about how it's been a long night. Suddenly, someone shouts, accusing her of just slacking off at work. 2 men approach, saying that a bank must maintain a professional image, and she is far from professional. They start scolding her, but it seems like the girl has no idea who this guy even is. Suddenly, the big boss appears, wondering why there's so much commotion so early in the morning. The girl greets Fujiwara, who tells Natsuki that he's about to introduce someone to her. He begins explaining, one of the men here is the owner of a major group in Asia. Another is a top investor from somewhere else. Yet another owns an investment firm of some sort. Long story short, there are a bunch of important big shots here, and she has no clue why they're all gathered in one place. The boss apologizes for the mess, and invites them all to head straight to the VIP room. Seems like everyone here wants to meet Matsushima, and of course, that's our protagonist's first name. Naturally, Natsuki knows that name all too well. One of the men comments that maybe Yuto could help train the bank's employees, and the boss thanks him for the idea. With that, the girl leans forward enthusiastically, thanking them and asking for everyone's support. It seems like she meant it as a little challenge, which immediately annoys the men, making them furious that Yuto has a secretary like her. Poor Yuto is completely confused, insisting that he's not using any kind of power, she's just an employee at the bank. Meanwhile, Natsuki receives a call from Yuto, who is making another deposit. Of course, the moment everyone hears his name, they become instantly interested. The boss explains that Yuto calls Natsuki directly because she was the first person he met when he arrived here. Immediately, everyone's attitude toward her changes. They start saying that it would be great to have someone like her as a secretary, and that she's amazing. Sometime later, the girl is exhausted. She arrives home, and Yuto is already there. Now it all makes sense. This was part of their plan all along. They've gotten closer so they can figure out who's hunting Yuto down. She's tired because to hide his whereabouts, she took multiple buses and taxis to make sure no one could follow her. Yuto is now convinced it's not someone from the bank, so maybe it's someone connected to the live streaming world. His phone buzzes with a message from Meridian, saying she'll be waiting for him at a restaurant at 6 p.m. For him, this is the perfect opportunity to quickly identify who's after him. The scene changes to a restaurant. A staff member asks Yuto if he has a reservation, since this place is strictly for important people. Yuto is a bit confused. He didn't even know the restaurant worked like that. The employee says that he can leave his name on the waitlist, or hope for an available seat. But before he can respond, another employee cuts in, scolding the first guy. He tells him not to make those kinds of offers to people who clearly can't afford to dine here. The first employee immediately bows and apologizes before hurrying off. Then, the rude guy turns to Yuto, saying that they're not accepting job applications right now. Now that's a serious insult. Still a little confused, Yuto picks up his phone when Meridian calls, asking where he is. He explains that he's in the hotel lobby but is being denied entry. A short time later, she taps him on the shoulder and asks if he's Yuto. The foolish security guard immediately realizes they know each other, and stiffens up in panic. That's when Yuto calmly tells him that he's not here to apply for a job, he's actually here to eat. The guard immediately apologizes for being rude, wishing him a pleasant evening. Yuto, too lazy to cause trouble, simply asks where they'll be sitting. Marnyan tells him to come along, it's going to be amazing. She had even prepared some beautiful lilies of the valley for the occasion. At the table, the waiter asks if she wants her usual order. She says yes, but she also wants to hear Yuto's opinion. After all, he's her sponsor. Yuto just shrugs, saying he's never been here before, so he'll just have whatever she's having. The waiter laughs, commenting that this is a typical response from someone who isn't used to high-end dining. The waiter sets a trap, casually asking if the lady would like her usual wine. She says yes, but Yuto, broke and humble, wants nothing to do with wine. He just asks for a simple carbonated drink. However, the waiter explains that they only serve wine here. After all, a truly wealthy person would never choose a soft drink over something of quality. Yuto, already out of patience, just asks if they have anything carbonated at all. The waiter sighs and says they might find something in the kitchen. As he walks away, he grumbles about how ridiculous it is that a poor guy like this is dining with Miss Mareem. He glances at another poorly dressed customer at a nearby table and wonders why this place is attracting such a low-class crowd. At the same time, a shady-looking guy is wondering where all the beautiful women are. Then he locks eyes on Mareem and immediately falls for her. He turns to his wife, or at least that's what I think she is, and calls her honey, saying that it's time for the next round. She looks at him, asking if he's really going to force her to do this again. Now I'm getting a little worried. What exactly is this couple planning? Meanwhile, at Yuto's table, a king crab dish arrives. Man, I've never eaten this stuff before. Someone tell me what it tastes like. Mareem stands up saying she's going to the bathroom, but Yuto can go ahead and eat without her. The moment she leaves, that shady woman from before approaches Yuto, asking if he's really going to eat something that delicious all alone. She smirks, saying that it's thick, creamy, and would be very satisfying to eat. Then, she leans in close and asks if she can take a little bite. This woman is really something else. Obviously, Yuto is wondering who the hell this lunatic is. She just tells him not to worry, she'll pay for it, leaving him completely confused. Yuto chuckles, saying that it's hilarious how even in a 5-star restaurant, there are people who come to beg for food. The woman's face darkens. She turns around angrily, telling him that he's going to pay for this. As she walks past his chair, she bumps her hip against his armrest. Then she suddenly accuses him, asking why he did something so inappropriate all of a sudden. Yuto, completely lost, says he didn't touch her at all, but she just tells him to stop playing dumb. She dramatically declares that it's outrageous for him to assault her like that, and then try to deny it. Then she grabs a glass of water and throws it straight at Yuto. But Yuto simply dodges, and the water lands on some poor bald guy at another table instead. Right at that moment, Marnyan returns, saying that the woman is taking things way too far. But the crazy wife snaps back, saying that Yuto is the one who crossed the line, and that he should apologize. She also tells Marnyan to stay out of it, if she doesn't even know who she's dealing with. Then a staff member appears, addressing someone as Ito-sama, saying that they've checked the security cameras. At first I thought this was just part of another setup, but no, it's the actual restaurant staff confirming that the woman is lying. Even so, the woman refuses to admit it, saying that they must be mistaken. She claims that she just slightly tripped, and Yuto took advantage of the moment. Marnyan completely ignores her, and tells the restaurant staff that they should inform all restaurants in the area about this woman. Apparently, she goes around trying to frame people for harassment. It would be better to have her banned from every restaurant. The staff member nods immediately, and the woman starts panicking, wondering who the hell Marnyan even is to have so much influence. Then to make things worse, Marnyan takes out her phone and snaps a picture. She announces that she's going to post it on social media to warn everyone about this crazy woman. Turning to Yuto, she grins and says that this is all because he made that donation, so she's going to help him however she can. The crazy wife completely loses it. It looks like this was actually her entire business, scamming people at restaurants. Suddenly, her husband, the pathetic fool, steps in, apologizing. He says that his wife must have had a bit too much to drink and lost control. As an apology, he'll cover the cost of everyone's meal, but he begs them not to have her banned. The wife tries to protest, but the husband just tells her to shut up, apologize, and leave. If there's one angle that artists love to draw, it's this one. She bows in shame and apologizes. Marnyan sits down, and the man introduces himself as Shota Najima. She turns to Yuto, asking if he wants to accept the guy's offer to pay for their food. Yuto just shrugs. If it's free, why refuse? But of course he's dealing with a sly little streamer, and she immediately questions him. She asks if he's absolutely sure he wants Najima to cover everything. The man smiles confidently, saying yes, and even tells her to order whatever she wants. In the next scene, a ridiculously expensive wine, probably worth millions, is being served. The man sits back, thinking that his plan was a bit messy, but there's still time to fix things. He's going to make it very clear to the girl that he's the one who can afford everything, making him a much better option than this broke kid who probably saved up for months just to be here. If she's the type to go for excitement, she'll end up with him tonight. If she's a bit more reserved, he just needs to repeat this a few more times, and eventually it'll all go his way. Meanwhile, Marnyan suddenly gets up, inviting Yuto to take a walk through the city with her. The pathetic guy is left sitting there, trying to process what just happened. Are they really leaving without even saying goodbye? In desperation, he quickly steps in front of them, saying that he's heading in the same direction too. But Marenyan tilts her head, asking why he doesn't just stay behind and chat a bit longer. The guy awkwardly tries to salvage the situation, saying that at the very least they should exchange numbers, but she simply refuses. And right on cue, one of the restaurant staff members appears, stopping the man, telling him that he needs to settle the bill before leaving. The total cost, 3.2 rins, not a kidney, in case you were wondering. But considering how expensive this place is, it might as well have cost an organ. Still, the price hits like a truck, and the guy realizes he just got played. Meanwhile, Marenyan walks away, laughing, saying that it's always fun to mess with fools who think they can just buy women so easily. But she also teases him a little, saying that if he really couldn't afford to pay the bill, she would have covered it for him. The guy completely snaps. He raises his hand, ready to slap her, but that's when our Giga Chad Yuto catches his wrist mid-air, stopping him effortlessly. And with a calm but chilling voice, he asks, "What exactly do you think you're doing?" At the moment, the fool asked who our boy was affiliated with, to which he replied that he wasn't part of any group. Strangely, the crazy guy then said he was sure that meant he must be the owner of the area, and invited him to the south side to see how he would be treated there as well. The little streamer just grabbed our boy's arm and left. Sometime later, somewhere else, our boy was coming down the stairs and celebrating his arrival. Sweaty and worried, the girl recognized that it was Uncle Yamada. This guy is the vice president of the development bank, so why is he here? That's what our boy wondered. It was only then that the guy noticed that Marenyan was right next to him. All clumsy, he ran up to our boy, grabbed his hands and said it was an honor to meet someone like him. At the same moment, that other old investor arrived to hug our boy too. Every Chinese drama is basically a scene of our boy surrounded by old men. Sometime later, outside, our boy holding a coin, said that he would accept the offer from whoever found out who had attacked him. The old guys looked confident, guaranteeing that the next investment was secured in that case. Each one ran to their little Hot Wheels car and took off. Marenyan apologized, saying he was exposed because of the post she made, and asked if he wanted her to delete her social media. Man. He told her not to worry, that he could handle it easily. At that moment, another guy appeared and told him to wait a second. Our boy didn't understand what this loser Nijima still wanted with him, to which the guy replied that it was time to give him the treatment he deserved. He told his brothers to get ready, and everyone reached for something under their coats. The protagonist looked scared, until suddenly, the guys pulled out coconut water. Even Marenyan stood there, devastated, not understanding what they were doing, and the guys started drinking, spilling it all over themselves. What is this? They started dancing, saying this was the delicious coconut water from the south, and asked if he wanted to try it. Yuto had no idea what this guy was up to. Then suddenly, the guy grabbed his leg, begging for investment, and admitting he was wrong. He said that if Yuto wanted to find out who tried to kill him, he could help with that too. After all, he knew the underground scene well. Yuto just said, "All right then," and decided to let him participate. Right at that moment, the restaurant owner came over, bringing a VIP card for our boy, and wanting to know if he was satisfied with today's service. Humble as ever, Yuto replied that there wasn't anything too bad. The only thing he wanted to mention was that manager who called him poor for drinking soda instead of wine. The guy was shocked and realized he was screwed, and the boss had already warned that this kind of behavior would not be tolerated. The scene then shifts to the protagonist's sister saying goodbye to someone. It's that girl from the hospital, and it looks like they met at university. Saki-chan was all happy, saying she was lucky to meet Yamada. She's teaching her a lot, and seems focused on helping the girl. Not to mention she was considered a genius at this university. And as she arrived at her room, 3 girls were already waiting there. Obviously the poor innocent fool asked what they were talking about. She's about to get roasted for sure. Before the girls could respond, she already noticed that all of her notebooks had been thrown in the trash. She went to grab them, wanting to know what had happened. And that wretched, gorgeous, wicked girl. What a danger. She said she thought Saki wasn't going to use them, so she put them there. Saki-chan went over to her bed and wanted to know why everything was wet too. Man, another healthy-looking troublemaker said she accidentally spilled some milk and apologized. The villains are all this dangerous. What a nightmare. Obviously the last one was just as bad, and asked if she had a problem with that. Poor Saki-chan, with her fool's face, glanced behind her, just feeling the pressure of the 3 monsters staring her down. Right at that moment, Chad walked in through the door, wanting to know if it was true that they were bullying his sister. Man, looks like everyone ended up in the principal's office. Saki turned around and told him not to worry, that she was fine. While the rugby player and the 2 hot girls stood there looking awkward. Why is this girl wearing that dress in the middle of college? Girl, this isn't a party. Yuto told Saki not to worry because Big Bro was here. The principal then said that as she had explained, it seemed like there was a case of bullying happening in Saki's room. Our boy greeted Miss Sawai and asked her to explain everything properly. After all, he knew that if they let this slide, things would only get worse for his sister. The woman said she understood that very well, which is why she called him there. And then the principal asked Saki to explain why she was being bullied. Our meme is just as confused and wants to know why the principal is talking, as if this was his sister's fault. Out of nowhere, the 3 fools started looking ugly as hell, crying, saying they were scared of that girl who completely wrecked them. Yuto, still confused, asked his sister what was going on. Then we see what happened just before, when she turned around and faced the three. Man, I think she really was about to beat them up. She went running. All strong and beautiful, she grabbed the first one's head, pulled her hair, revealing the poor girl's bald spot. Then she grabbed the wet blanket, wrapped up the other clumsy one, and said that now she would help dry it up. The second troublemaker called for Akane, the rugby player, who came running to take Saki down. But Saki just dodged, grabbed the girl by the arm, and slammed her onto the floor. The fools just lay there frozen while Saki apologized, warning them not to mess with anyone from the Matsushima family. That's when Yuto remembered that his damn sister had been carrying fish like crazy since she was 9, and was a menace when it came to fights. Even so, he turned to the principal and said that his sister wasn't the type of person who liked to fight. Someone must have provoked her for this to happen. But the principal put her hand on our boy and said they needed to talk in another room. She then explained that maybe what he said was true. However, the 3 witnesses confirmed the same story, and even Saki admitted she had hit them. The best option was for his sister to apologize, for everyone to make up, and for the school to keep an eye on things to see how they developed. Strangely, Yuto just accepted it, and said fine, he'd leave it to her. Then he went over to the girls again, and said they should discuss a way to reconcile outside. But those tight dress-wearing troublemakers wanted a very sincere apology, and in China, sincerity means money. Our boy made a little signal and said he'd be very sincere. They didn't need to worry. Right then a guy came running down the hall, telling Matsushima he had brought what he asked for. Our boy had bought some bags, perfumes, and even a phone for these lunatics, and they immediately said that was more than enough sincerity. But the boy is cold and calculated. He threw everything on the ground and said he might hand it over. Only that kind of luxury item didn't match people like them. Then he told them to just say why they did this to his sister. The 3 fools were shocked. They thought they were getting those fancy bags so easily. But Yuto warned them that he'd think they were smarter if they just confessed already. After all, he was going to find out eventually. Then the one in the party dress said they really had no problem with Saki. They were just paid by some guy from another department to mess with her. She then showed a picture of the dude with a helicopter cap, saying they were paid by this guy named Shinji Yamada. Obviously our boy didn't like hearing that one bit. The scene then cuts to the girls' dormitory. Looks like our boy got a room and told Saki to stay there, that she didn't have to go back to that place. Seems like we're in some kind of dorm, and he got one for her. She thanked him, saying she was going to look around because she wanted to find someone she knew. In another room, probably in the same apartment, we see what I think is Yamada, trying to fix or actually struggling to fix something in the sink. Right after she saw Saki in the room across from hers, turned around and recognized her. All sweaty and exhausted, she gave a little wave, saying it was a coincidence that they ended up so close to each other. Right away, seeing her friend's room all soaked, she asked if there was a problem. Yamada said yes, that she was about to call someone to help fix it. But then giant-sized Saki said she'd handle it, and she went over to fix it too, of course. Strangely, Yuto felt like something was off in the air. Looking to the side, he saw the sly one, who recognized him as the guy from the hospital. Right away, he remembered that she had mentioned she would show him the university, but she thought he was some kind of creepy stalker, and had come all the way there just to follow her. She said she was calling the police. The poor guy was misunderstood, and quickly explained that he was just helping his hardworking little sister, because she was moving into the room across from hers. Then the system told him to help the girl because someone was about to take advantage of her. Just then, Saki appeared, saying it was a coincidence that they knew each other, and announcing that she had already fixed it. Yamada was impressed that it was done so quickly. While Saki asked our boy what was wrong, Yuto was just there, trying to figure out what that system message meant. Then Yamada went to turn on the sink, thanking her for fixing it. But something very tragic happened, something that made everyone watching this video very sad. The poor girl got soaked. Rest in peace, girl. Saki was there laughing at the fool. Sometime later, Yuto was still thinking about this whole saving thing. He imagined himself telling her to be careful, but he was sure she'd just think he was crazy. Saki already noticed her brother was thinking about the girl, and told him not to worry, that she would help him be very happy, as in help him with the other girl, of course. Come on now. Sometime later, Yamada seemed healthy as ever, saying that now everything was really fixed. Saki invites her to an apology dinner, reassuring her that her brother won't be there. Yamada thanks her, saying it's perfect because she was also planning to take her to a place nearby. Yamada realizes this is the perfect chance to gather information. It looks like he even included his sister in the plan. This kid is something else. Now he just had to deal with that cap-wearing guy. Sometime later, under the scorching sun, he picks up his phone and asks if he should go to the Kurobayama race circuit. Man, these Japanese names can be long sometimes. The American football player confirms, saying Shinji Yamada is always there. Yamada then spots a guy nearby talking about race betting, and warns the rugby player that if she messes with his sister again, things won't be so easy next time. She just thanks him and waves goodbye. But right at that moment, a guard blocks Yamada, saying that area is VIP only. Our boy wants to know how to become one, and the guy says it's not possible. Only official members with cards can enter that place. Yamada looks around and notices a humble little motorbike, asking whose it is. The guy says it's his, which is why he can be inside, so our boy just hands him a bunch of money. The guy is shocked. Yamada has already grabbed the bike, calling it a beast. Meanwhile, Someone is complimenting Shinji's cool car. It must have cost a fortune. Shinji tells Fuji that yeah, he made some modifications, added automation, and upgraded the engine. As he goes on about everything he spent money on, someone comes speeding in on a tiny motorbike. Man, our boy zooms past, does a stunt, and lands right on Shinji's car. This guy is bold as hell. The bastard even comments that apparently, the upgrades weren't on durability, since it broke so easily. Shinji nearly explodes. He hadn't even raced yet. He's already on the ground crying, not understanding why Yato did this. Yato tells him not to worry, that he'll pay for it, but before that, they need to settle the matter of bullying his sister. At that moment, Shinji realizes who the protagonist is, and it turns out, this is about how he ruined his friend's life. The guy from the airport maybe? Poor dude had to transfer schools, that's why they're messing with his sister. Unless Yuto agrees to a race and the loser has to kneel and apologize. Yato says fine, but if he wins, Shinji has to kneel before his sister. Shinji agrees but wants to know what car Yato will be racing in. The bold one says not to worry, his little bike still has gas. Obviously, Shinji smirks, thinking this will be an easy win. With 3 Ferraris on the track and Yuto on his tiny ride, they all take off, and of course he's dead last. Shinji's car is decked out and he's happy. Spending money is always a thrill. There's no way he's letting that bastard get away unscathed. He sticks his hand out and gives a thumbs down, saying he's sure Yuto is scared to die on the track. Honestly, I'd be scared too. But Yuto stays confident, saying only idiots rush to win. Wait, when did this bastard get racing skills? Does he have some kind of talent? Oh, it's all clear now. He made a call and asked if the team was ready. Helicopters fill the sky, and it's obvious this bastard is going to solve things with money again. A rain of spike strips starts popping tires left and right. The fools are out of their cars, demanding to know where it came from. Unfortunately, Shinji managed to dodge all of them, but to do so he had to slow down, and in that window, Yuto overtook him. Now it all makes sense, right folks? Our boy has always worked as a delivery driver, so when it comes to handling a bike, this kid has talent. Shinji is fuming, obviously refusing to let this bastard win, and starts speeding up to run him over. Yuto can't believe the guy is really trying to hit him, but the fool just tells him to get out of the way or die. Strangely, Shinji lets go of the bike and throws a punch. Does he think he's the Hulk? Somehow Shinji crashes into the wall, but when he gets out, Yuto is nowhere to be seen. Turns out, this bastard is 007. He was already in a helicopter and climbing down from above. Right then, he tells Shinji that since he crashed, he can't keep racing, meaning he lost. Sometime later, Yuto tells him to kneel and apologize. He's recording it to show his sister. Shinji says no way in hell he's doing that. Then Twilight's Edward Cullen shows up saying the loser has to obey, but since he was actually the first to win, Shinji doesn't have to follow Yuto's orders. Shinji thanks him, relieved that Fuji won, but Yuto asks if they really want to twist his words like that. The bet was between him and Shinji, for what he did to his sister. Shinji starts getting nervous, and asks if Yuto wants to settle this with fists instead. Man, but before that, Yamada appears and smacks the fool across the face, telling him that if his father won't discipline him, she will. The guy responds calling her big sis. Oh man, now our boy has to wreck this fool. It's the perfect revenge. Night falls, and I don't know if this girl is a werewolf, but she just grew a lot. She warns Shinji that their parents didn't raise him to be acting like this all over the city. The fool tries to say something but she just responds that she's disappointed in him. He clutches her legs, begging for forgiveness, admitting that he was wrong. Once again, Yuto is shocked to find out that she's his sister. Man, does this kid already have Alzheimer? She awkwardly explains that yes, Shinji is her younger brother. Then Saki appears and explains that she had told Yamada why she moved, and at the time, Yamada got so mad that she came over to beat up the fool. What she wants to know now is what Yuto is doing here. Before he can answer, Twilight's fool says Shinji should hurry up and apologize. It's the only way to save whatever is left of his reputation. He also introduces himself as Fuji, and warns Yuto to be careful, since he's from the Bunnan region. It seems like a rich place, because Yuto just tells him that beyond bragging about where they're from, he couldn't care less. And he couldn't care less about this fool's reputation either. Man, he punched so hard that he nearly wrecked the entire car. Yeah, no kidding, this guy has 3 times the strength of a normal human. He walks up to Shinji and warns that if he doesn't bow his head, he'll have to help him do it. The fool wants to ask his sister for help, but she just says he has to take responsibility for his actions. The next second, he's already at Saki's feet, begging for forgiveness. But Yuto is a menace, and tells him he has to shout louder, or she won't hear. Fuji, the Twilight fool, is fuming, swearing that bastard will pay for all this. But Saki says it's fine, and they should just head home. She wants to spend time with Yamada. Her friend suggests they go shopping, and Saki celebrates, saying she might even borrow Yamada's clothes. But our boy chimes in that Yamada's clothes won't fit her. The two girls have pretty similar measurements, but he's sure it would be too tight. Obviously the girls are confused about how he even knows their measurements. This kid is staring at all the wonders of the world. His talent must be activating constantly. Meanwhile, Fuji wants to know what Yuto's relationship with Yamada is. Obviously Shinji is also twisting up, wanting to know the same thing, telling her to get in the car. Unfortunately for these side characters, she refuses, saying she doesn't even like sports cars. The guy insists, saying she can't just stay there. Yuto only has some tiny bike and it can't fit 3 people. When suddenly, another car pulls up. Someone tells them to get that piece of trash out of the way. I'm not sure, but I think it's that crazy restaurant guy. Yep, it's him, Nijima. Niji wants to know what he's doing here, but the guy just tells him to move and that he doesn't need to explain himself. Fuji, however, tells him to back down, since without his family's support, he wouldn't have achieved anything. But Nijima completely ignores him upon seeing our boy and goes to greet him. He whispers something in his ear, then turns to the girls, saying that if they're Yuto's friends, they can go with him. His sister, a little confused, asks Yuto if they can trust this lunatic. What if he kidnaps them? Yuto says it's fine, and tells them not to worry. Saki's already pulling her along, telling her to just come. The crazy guy even hands Yuto the wheel, calling him the boss. Meanwhile, Shinji is in tears, apologizing to Niji, saying he did everything he could. The guy is barely holding in his rage. He already lost Mika, but he can't afford to lose his status with Yamada too. So he asks Shinji how the negotiations with their father are going, but Shinji says he hasn't heard anything yet. The guy taunts him, saying he's sure his sister already knows though. Looks like he's doomed to live forever in her shadow. Shinji is visibly shaken, demanding to know what he means by that, and Nijima realizes his plan is working. The next scene shows our boy speeding through the streets, or, actually, no, it's not him. What? Didn't they tell him to drive? Why is this bastard at the wheel now? Yuto asks Nijima what he knows about those guys. Nijima simply explains that Fuji is the second son of a rich family from Bonin, but at the same time, he's considered a disgrace. Yuto immediately wants to know why. Nijima explains that the kid was always a spoiled brat obsessed with getting good grades. He played piano, chess, and was theoretically the perfect child. His sister chimes in, wanting to know what's wrong with that. Nijima explains that the problem was that he got beaten up by his parents and a bunch of other people in the region, because everyone kept comparing them to that bastard. But now the tables have turned and everyone has their revenge. This guy is done for. Yuto thought Nijima was going to have a much worse story than this. Turns out the bastard next to him isn't that much better either. Sometime later, they're dropping Yamada off at home. She thanks them for the day. Yuto finds it a little odd, since there's still 1 kilometer left until the school. Saki explains that she probably doesn't want to arrive in a luxury car, which is why she prefers to walk from there. Then Yuto steps out of the car too, saying he'll walk with her. Strangely, is he really about to leave these two alone like that? Follow those lunatics, or they'll get run over in the middle of the street. Meanwhile, Nijima comments that the kid is incredible. He has 2 beautiful flowers right in his hands to enjoy. Instead of clearing up the misunderstanding about one being his sister, he's only focused on finding the 3 guys who attacked him. Nijima says they've already figured out who they are, and all Yuto has to do is give the order to take them down. But Yuto warns him that he doesn't want to get the police involved in this, so he'd better be careful. Sometime later, they arrive at a place that looks like a castle. Man, this place is full of high-level gold diggers. They're staring at the car, wondering who had the guts to pull up in an old piece of junk like that. Turns out, the girl on the right is just dumb. The one on the left recognizes it's a McLaren and says it's worth millions. The other girl immediately realizes she messed up. Meanwhile, the one in the little dress grabs Nijima's hand, saying his car is incredible. She asks for his number, and he says he'll give it to her after spending some time with her later. Man, they really just need a McLaren because the girl already calls it perfect, but he better not break this promise. Meanwhile, our boy asks Nijima what kind of place this is. Nijima has taken him to the house of the nighttime friends, and he says that in this life, money isn't always everything. Now I'm confused. I'm not 100% sure this is the house of the nighttime friends, but considering there's a guy sitting on a couch with 2 girls next to him, what else could it be? In another part of the place, Nijima says the guy who hunted him down is right next door. He runs everything here, so no information slips past him. Then a guy walks into the room, saying Nijima can ask for whatever he wants. Yuto says he wants all the recordings from the room next door, but it turns out Nijima doesn't have as much authority as it seemed, because the guy says that in a place like this, privacy is everything. If people find out that footage leaked, he'll lose all credibility. But our boy just flips a 1 yen coin at the security guy and tells him to pull up the cameras. If that's not enough, he even offers 2 yens. At 5 yens, the guy is already shaking, but when he doesn't respond, Yuto says that's it, he won't raise the offer any further. Of course, the guy immediately grabs his hand, telling him to wait. If he's really offering 5 yens, the footage will be ready in no time. Next scene, the guys are already in front of a TV, saying everything's set up. Nijima keeps complaining, but admits this really is the easiest way. Yuto is watching the footage of a guy with his friends, saying he doesn't want to see this kind of thing, but he needs to know why he's being hunted. Yeah, this is getting kind of weird. Just 2 guys watching this dude like that. Then, the guy pulls some Venom-type move, and the honest worker tells him that if he's planning something like that, he's going to have to pay extra. But the guy says he's taking it easy. She has no idea what his boss did to get a certain girl from the hospital. The girl is confused and asks him to tell the story. He tells her to come closer, then explains. His boss doesn't like girls who are too healthy. He prefers them exhausted, trapped, with no escape and no options. First he wants to destroy the girl's dignity and reputation. Oh man, the target is Yamada, and once she's desperate with no options left in life, he swoops in to save her. When someone is in that kind of situation and finds a helping hand, they always give in. The girl obviously responds that this is a pretty twisted, messed up hobby, and clearly the guy isn't mentally stable. The guy just shrugs, saying it doesn't matter. His boss is the one in charge. Besides, someone got in the way of his boss's plans, and now he has to get revenge. Wait a second, I just realized who this bastard is. It's that scar-faced, top-hat-wearing guy, the one who told our boy they would get their revenge. The girl then asks who the boss is. Not because she's curious, but because she wants to avoid this lunatic. But the guy just says he's not dumb enough to drop his boss's name in a place like this. When suddenly, someone walks into the room, saying they need to prepare for Yamada's upcoming birthday party. Scarface agrees, saying they have to do this right, otherwise their heads will roll. Yuto starts suspecting that these guys might have Shinji's backing. Nijima says it's good that they're planning their revenge, but our boy says it's late, and that he's heading home. His friend, however, says he'll stay a little longer to keep monitoring things. Yeah, I'm sure all he's going to do is monitor. Walking through the club, Yuto thinks about how Yamada has a tough opponent, but she's not exactly an easy target either. When suddenly, the system activates, detecting a potential target. If he solves the problem, he'll get a random bonus. Nearby, the big boss is approaching a girl in a skirt. If I remember correctly, this is that same guy from the bank. Man, he's talking to Miss Sawayo. Wait, isn't Sawayo the university principal? What is she doing here in that outfit at a bar? What is happening? She tells him that's enough and orders him to back off, saying he promised that if she wore this, he'd let her delay her debt payments for another 3 months. The old man smirks, saying it's ironic that she thought just putting on the outfit would be enough to get what she wanted. She should know she'd have to work harder than that to get what she wants. Sawayo simply responds that if they get any closer, she'll scream, but the old creep tells her to calm down, saying there's no need for them to get stressed over this. If she gives a special performance on stage for 5 minutes, then he'll let her postpone her debt for another 3 months. Sawayo snaps back that there's no way she's dancing for them, but the guy asks if she's sure she doesn't want to fix her problem. Imagine if the university higher-ups found out her payments were all behind. She grits her teeth and says fine, but only for 5 minutes. The old man grins, thanking her as she gets ready. Man, where's our boy? Is he not going to save her? You're late, my guy. The creep knows that people in her position have to maintain a clean image, which is why he's planning to take a bunch of photos to blackmail her later. Yeah, this bastard can go straight to hell. If our protagonist pulls out a Glock and puts him down, I wouldn't blame him. This old man sounds like one of those red pill guys who got dumped for being broke, and now thinks women should be treated like trash. He might as well start his own podcast to talk nonsense. Just as Sawai is suffering, a Chad finally appears, and tells her not to let these guys do this to her. She immediately recognizes him as Saki's brother, and our boy warns her that if she goes through with this, these guys will never stop blackmailing her. At that moment, the old man turns to Yuto, demanding to know who the hell he is. That's when our boy tilts his head, and asks if he really has to remind him. The old creep starts trembling as he realizes it's Yuto, the king of 10 yens. But then he gathers his courage, and says that a debt is a debt. She has to pay back what she owes him. Yuto dares him to try and force her. Now the old man is wondering why this bastard is always trying to pick a fight with him. Yuto turns to Sawai and asks if she has any proof that they were charging abusive interest rates, because if she does, she can take legal action and only pay back the original amount. Wait a minute, this bastard just turned into a lawyer all of a sudden. Sawai is shocked, saying she didn't know that was even possible. Another guy nearby loses his temper, saying they have a contract with her and that nothing was abusive, but Yuto just smirks, saying the final decision isn't theirs, it'll be up to the investigators. Besides, our protagonist knows that this guy is broke after what happened with that bank, so where the hell did he even get the money to lend to Miss Sawai? He asks if he really has to dig into that, and the old man hesitates. After a death stare from Yuto, the creep takes off running, saying he'll get his revenge, but for now she should just forget about all this. Sometime later, outside, the stunning miniskirt principal thanks our boy for helping her. He tells her to just call him Yuto, the brave one. She apologizes for needing his help, and explains that her father was in an accident, and she urgently needed money, which led her into all this mess. Yuto nods, saying he understands, but he warns her to be more careful, or others will try to take advantage of her in the future. Gigantic moment. She admits she panicked and wasn't thinking straight. Our boy tells her not to be too hard on herself. Everyone makes mistakes. He was about to call her a taxi so she could rest, but then she suddenly says she can't go back to school. It's late at night, and if she shows up wearing that outfit, people will definitely get the wrong idea. He asks if she wants him to rent a hotel for her, and she says yes. A little while later they're already at the reception, asking for a room. The woman thanks them and hands over a key card, but then the other receptionist suddenly seems to recognize something. Yuto tells Sawai that once the room is set up, he'll head home. Sawai thanks him but accidentally calls him brother Yuto-san. He pauses, confused. She quickly realizes her mistake and corrects it, calling him Saki's brother instead. Okay, now I'm confused. I think she just called him big bro for a second. Meanwhile, the receptionists are whispering among themselves. One of them taps Kumi-chan's shoulder and tells her to check her phone. Looking at our boy, she says she's sure it's him. They start chatting, saying they have to do their best. Yuto asks if the room is ready. The other receptionist apologizes, saying all the single rooms are booked, but since it was their mistake, they'll upgrade them for free. At the same time, another girl is seen sprinting away in the background. Sawai finds that odd, and Yuto asks why they aren't charging full price. The woman claims it's because the lack of rooms was their fault, and they pride themselves on professionalism. Sawai shrugs, saying that's fine, they can just show them the room. Meanwhile, at the end of the hallway, a certain playboy is smugly checking his phone. Looks like he really got the girl's number, and even convinced her to meet up. The guy knows how to play the game. In the background, he notices our dear Yuto-san. Back in the upgraded room, the whole floor seems to belong to them. Yuto and Sawai are both confused, but the hotel staff just reassures them that everything here is free for them to use. However, when Sawai opens a door, she suddenly lets out a scream. Inside the room were incredible torture tools, cruel and unsettling. Yuto turns to the hotel staff, who nonchalantly tells them not to worry. Everything is sanitized. But Yuto stares at her, and bluntly says that's not the problem here. The girl just steps back and leaves, while he stands there confused. He turns to Sawai and says he's heading out, telling her to get some rest. But hold up, she grabs his arm and says there's something she needs to tell him. The camera angle suddenly shifts peculiarly, and she repeats herself. Yuto raises an eyebrow, asking what it is. Sawai then apologizes for how she handled the situation with his sister. After investigating further, she realized that the problem was with those other girls, and as a teacher and someone responsible for the school, she should have caught it earlier. Our little rascal, Yuto was clearly expecting her to say something completely different. He tells her that he's already spoken with Yamada, and she doesn't need to worry. Everything has been settled with Shinji. But Sawai insists, saying she wants to know where Saki is staying. She wants to apologize to her personally. Yuto shrugs and says fine. Sometime later, downstairs, he runs into Nijima, who smirks and says he's finally found Yuto's weakness. But our protagonist just wants to know what this guy is doing here. Nijima shrugs, saying he saw him walking around with a certain lady, but Yuto brushes it off, saying that woman is just connected to his sister. Besides, he rented the room for her, he's already leaving. Nijima smirks knowingly, saying he understands very well how it goes. Friends during the day, lovers at night. You sly fox. Before Yuto can respond, a hotel receptionist suddenly calls out to him. She asks why he's leaving, and if he was dissatisfied with the hotel. Yuto tells her he wasn't planning on staying the night, so what's the issue? She hesitates, then apologizes, saying she never expected someone as important as him to do a surprise inspection of the place. Yuto raises an eyebrow. Surprise inspection? What are you talking about? She looks surprised, saying she was certain he was here for that. He's confused, asking why he would do something like that. The receptionist explains that she thought he had become the new president and shareholder of the hotel. She had received a notification earlier, and assumed that was why he was here. Turns out, the system randomly gave him stock in the Oten Group, which owns the hotel, and Yuto hadn't even noticed. Nijima bursts out laughing, saying Yuto is on another level. I've seen guys rent hotels for a girl, but I've never seen someone buy a hotel just to spend the night with one. Yuto is so done with this guy. He just tells the receptionist to check Nijima's documents. If everything isn't perfect, throw him out. She nods while Nijima panics, begging for a moment. If I have to leave now, I'll ruin the mood I was setting up with that girl. But Yuto doesn't care. He just walks away, leaving the fool behind. The next day, our boy is eating a nostalgic meal. It sounds like someone's mother is telling him to eat well and stay healthy. Ah, no, it's actually his friend's mom, the one who was in the hospital. Then Yamaguchi shows up, looking apologetic. He asks for a little more money, swearing he'll pay it back little by little. But Yuto just waves him off. He says he's never expecting repayment. Yamaguchi can ask for as much as he needs. He should just save up to marry Yuki-chan and let his mother rest easy. Yamaguchi immediately tells him not to say that. Yuto asks what's wrong. Poor guy confesses that Yuki has been avoiding him. She's responding less and less to his messages. Yuto asks if she still works at a car dealership, and Yamaguchi nods. After reading 500 Chinese web novels, we all know what's about to happen. He's taking his boy car shopping to settle the score. Next scene, the car dealership. A girl asks what the two of them are doing there. It's our dynamic duo. Yamaguchi says that our boy is looking to check out some rides. The girl tilts her head, then agrees to show him around. But Yamaguchi notices a small bruise on her knee. He asks what happened. She hesitates, saying she bumped into a car, but it's nothing serious. He presses for details, but she tells him not to worry. Then two other girls from the dealership show up. They mock Yuki, saying she always puts on the perfect drama act to get money from clueless guys. Yamaguchi immediately shuts them up, saying that Yuki is his girlfriend. He asks if these girls are her co-workers, and Yuki sighs, confirming it. Then Yuto jumps in with the modern-day roast, saying that by the looks of it, this place isn't a car dealership, it's a plastic surgery clinic. Because those two look like androids with how much work they've had done. Why did he just roast them? Who knows? But they definitely weren't happy about it. They sneer, saying that as far as they know Yuki's boyfriend is broke, so they don't care about him, and suggest he should just disappear. One of them even brags that the surgery she had costs more than his entire monthly salary. Then Yuki fires back. If you have so much money, why did you pin the accident on me? One of them scoffs, saying Yuki was the one at fault, so of course she has to pay. The two laugh at her misery, but Yuki drops the bombshell. She reveals that they bumped into her on purpose. At that moment she fell to her knees, dropping everything in her hands, looking like a total fool. Yamaguchi finally puts it together. That's why she had the bruise on her knee. The two girls dismiss it, saying it was nothing, and telling her to stop making a big deal out of it. But Yamaguchi isn't having it. He demands that they apologize, and then man snapped. He grabs one of them by the arm and warns her, if you don't apologize, you're getting beaten up. Nah, he didn't say that. He just firmly told them to apologize. That's when someone else appeared, asking what was going on. It was the foolish owner of the dealership, warning Yamaguchi that he was brave for laying a hand on his girl. The girl of course immediately put on the drama act, claiming that her arm was practically crushed by this monster. Right at that moment Marinyan spotted our boy and asked what he was doing there. Our girl looked shocked. She's definitely into the streamer queen. She explained that she was just here to check out some cars and asked what was happening. The argument kept escalating while the dealership owner suddenly became interested. He asked if Yuto and Yamaguchi were friends of Miss Marinyan. Out of respect for her, if Yamaguchi apologized, they could end things here. But Yuto just stared at the guy and asked if he had lost his mind for demanding an apology from him. The dealership owner smirked, saying Yuto had just thrown away his only chance to avoid embarrassment. Marinyan wished him good luck, but warned that if things went south, she wouldn't help. The guy seemed confused and asked what she meant. She calmly explained that if he caused any trouble, his contract would be cancelled. Now the dealership owner was finally paying attention. Who exactly was this kid standing in front of him? Why did the Ito family's princess value him so much? But then, the two girls from the dealership scoffed, saying there was no way in hell they were apologizing to Yuki. Now the dealership owner was stuck. Either he backed down and looked weak, or he lost the contract. The girls played their strongest cards. One of them even pulled out the classic Venom technique. And just like that, the fool walked straight into their trap. He sneered, saying that if there was a problem they could call the police, but he was never going to apologize. At that moment, Marinyan sealed his fate. Well then, the contract is officially cancelled. But before she could finish, Yuto placed a hand on her shoulder. No need for that. She blinked in confusion. Yuto turned around, and then just walked out of the store. That's it. That's the simplest way I've ever seen a problem get resolved. There's no way that's all. Something has to happen later. Outside, Marinyan apologized, but Yuto told her it was fine. Just like us. She couldn't believe how gentle he was being. How are you going to get revenge? But our boy just smirked, saying, I'm not some hitman hunting revenge. I'm chill. Yamaguchi, however, wasn't chilling. He swore he'd find a way to prove Yuki's innocence. Meanwhile, Yuto casually told Marinyan that she was the truly kind one. Inside, the dealership owner and the two girls laughed. One of his employees offered him a little extra service as a reward for defending them. The fool thought he had won, but his smile disappeared the second he checked his phone. Suddenly, multiple companies had cancelled contracts with him. And the worst part, many of those cars were already sold. So now, he had to return the money and somehow explain the entire mess. Holding his head in frustration, he couldn't understand what was happening. The girls who had offered him a reward now asked if he still wanted it. But in a fit of rage, he kicked the first girl away, calling her trash. Meanwhile, Yuto had already handled everything via WhatsApp. How? Who knows? Maybe he has connections in the banking world. All we know is, our boy is too damn powerful. And he just tells Marinyan not to worry. It's already handled. Later on the city bridge, a luxury car cruised through the streets. Inside were our crew, and a very happy Yuki. She asked Yuto if he needed a driver, but our boy smirked, saying this was a test. Yuki beamed, saying that was perfect. She was sure he wouldn't be as bad of a boss as her previous one. Yamaguchi's girl is looking kinda peculiar. Protagonist, open your damn eyes. Yamaguchi, however, was still furious about the dealership owner. He muttered that he wanted a way to get revenge, but Yuki shut him down. She said it didn't matter anymore. They were finally free. She also explained that she had been keeping her distance because she didn't want to add to his stress, since he was already dealing with his mother's situation. Now, Yamaguchi was all soft, apologizing and thanking her for being so understanding. Then Yuto groaned. How long are you two gonna flirt in front of me? Suddenly his expression changed. He told her to focus on the road. She was about to crash. Yeah, she's definitely not gonna be a great driver. Sometime later, they arrived in front of a mega corporation. There, the first victim of our boy's plans was waiting. She tapped her foot, saying he took his time responding to her message. Now, she wanted to know why he was here. Yuto introduced Yuki to Mayumi. Looks like he's about to throw Yuki into a driver's job, probably hoping to kill them both in traffic. But Yuki, already playing along, announced that the car in front of them was her brand new gift from Yanagi. Immediately, Yanagi threw herself at Yuto, saying she was giving her best for the company. Then, Yuto's phone rang. There was an issue with Miss Sawai. Apparently, Yamada had broken into his sister's room. Yuto immediately said he was on his way. He apologized to Yanagi, but said he had something urgent to handle. Then, he was gone. Yanagi, watching him leave, smirked. Next time, he won't get away. Meanwhile, at the university, an old woman was chasing Shinji with a broom. Sawai calmly explained that he was a student here, but the old lady simply responded, "I don't care. Just because he's a student doesn't mean he can do whatever he wants." The fool running away crashes right into our boy and immediately freezes when he looks up. Without hesitation, Yuto twists his arm, demanding to know where he thinks he's going. Shinji panics, threatening to call the police if his arm gets broken, but Yuto just covers his mouth. Sawai hesitates, saying that maybe Yuto is going too far. But our boy just says he has unfinished business with this guy. Sawai then explains that she saw this fool outside the school, climbing the stairs. It looked like he was heading toward his sister's room, so she decided to follow. But when she got upstairs, he was acting suspicious. He kept pacing around and trying to open a doorknob. That's when she texted Yuto for help. Why didn't she just call the police? No idea. Yuto looks at the papers Shinji is holding and asks where he got them. Sawai says they were from Saki's room, room 2007. But when Yuto takes a closer look, he realizes these aren't his sister's documents. It's a project for a new energy source, and he's pretty sure it doesn't belong to Saki. Then he drops the bomb. His sister's room is actually room 29. Sawai's eyes widen in shock. She immediately apologizes for detaining Shinji, thinking he had broken into Saki's room. But now Shinji is furious. He snaps, saying he has every right to enter his sister's room, and he won't let this slide. But Yuto just drops the papers on the ground and asks, "So you really think I won't say anything about you stealing stuff from Yamada's room?" At that moment, Shinji flinches. Right. His full name is Yamada Shinji, and his sister is Yamada Mika. He was stealing from Mika's room. Shinji grits his teeth, insisting that his relationship with his sister is none of Yuto's business. That's a little peculiar to say the least. But before things escalate, a police officer arrives. Shinji immediately tries to report Yuto for assault. But this wasn't just any cop. It was Uchiyama Akari, a giant of a woman. Shinji thanks her for arriving quickly, but the second he calls her ma'am, she glares at him. She is not happy. She says she needs to investigate the situation first, but then, she seems to recognize Yuto. Sometime later, at the police station, Yuto is slumped in a chair, looking done with life. In the room are Shinji, Mika, and Officer Akari. Akari tells everyone to explain themselves, but Mika sighs, saying it's fine. She's dropping the charges, so there's no need to drag this out. She stands up and tells Shinji to come with her. But Shinji refuses. He grumbles, saying he won't let Yuto off so easily. His right arm is still hurting, and he wants compensation. Mika rolls her eyes. Just stop causing trouble already. Besides, she's already letting him off easy. He was snooping through her documents. He should remember that she's the one who pays his allowance, and if he doesn't behave, she'll cut it off. Damn. Shinji is getting roasted by his own sister, and she even bankrolls him. Of course, the fool tries to lie, saying he only wanted to read the documents so he could help her. But Mika isn't buying it. She just tells him to stop making a scene. Then she asks if his arm still hurts and if he needs a hospital. Shinji immediately starts moving his arm, saying he's fine now. As long as you don't cut my allowance, I never feel pain. Yuto just stands up, stretching. Well, since that's settled, I'll be going now. But Officer Akari stops him. She tells him to stay put. Even if Shinji withdrew the complaint, if the hospital confirms an injury, it could still become a criminal case. And if that happens, she will have to arrest him. Yuto sighs. So, what's the doctor's verdict? Akari smirks, saying they'll just have to wait and see. You damn brat. Outside the room, Sawai is panicking. She never imagined that Yuto could actually be arrested. Suddenly she bursts into the room and declares, "I'll take full responsibility for everything that happened." She insists that Yuto was just helping her, so it's unfair for him to get in trouble. Akari squints at her. "And who are you?" Before Sawai can answer, Yuto cuts in. He tells her to leave. "I don't need more people getting involved in this." Sawai hesitates, asking if he's sure, but eventually she nods. "Fine, I'll go back to the university. Call me if you need anything." She leaves. Yuto tries to slip out with her, but Akari calls him back. For a second, it seems like she'll force him to stay, but instead she just smirks. "So is that the type of woman you like now? Guess that explains why you never texted me all these years." Now Yuto is completely thrown off. Wait, what? Apparently Akari was his first crush. Back in school, she was his senpai. Yuto immediately snaps, saying it was her who abandoned him. "You were the one who left me behind." Akari crosses her arms, smirking. "I see. So you only like younger girls now. I was just another phase for you, huh? Got it." Before Yuto can respond, someone enters with the hospital report. Akari takes a look, then sighs. "Well, looks like you got lucky. No injury was found." Yuto groans. "Can I go home now?" Akari grins. "Yeah, but before you go." She takes off her cap and stretches. "My shift just ended. Want to go grab something to eat?" Next scene, at her apartment. Akari crouches down to grab a pair of shoes. Yuto looks around, confused. "Wait, I thought we were going out to eat. Why are we here?" For a second it seems like she'll say something insane, but then she just shrugs. "I need to change first. I can't go out dressed as a cop." That actually makes sense. Though Yuto is starting to realize that Akari is way more direct than he remembered. Then, he looks around and notices. Her entire apartment is a mess. He immediately knows what's up. This woman is completely exhausted from work. She sighs and admits, yes, she needs help cleaning her apartment. Oh no, Yuto, run. But before he can, she flops onto the bed and casually reminds him, you always helped me back when we were students. Or maybe stay, Yuto. Now he's cleaning the floor, and every few minutes I swear something is about to happen. But then nothing does. She suddenly asks him how many girlfriends he's had in the past few years. Yuto just shrugs. Only one. I even considered marrying her. Then, bam. She kicks him. He winces, demanding to know what the hell that was for. She pouts, saying that she hasn't dated anyone since then, and now she's jealous. Yuto just blinks at her. You broke up with me. I could do whatever I wanted. That doesn't make any sense. She stumbles over her words, muttering that she never wanted to break up, but Yuto just cuts to the chase. Then why did you disappear? He even asked around about her, but no one could find her. She just smirks and says, I'll only tell you if you finish cleaning my room. So Yuto grumbles but keeps picking up her stuff. Until snap, she takes a picture. Right as he's holding her clothes in his hands, she sticks out her tongue, grinning. Now I've got evidence of a crime. This could put you away for years. Yuto panics, telling her to delete it immediately. If that picture got out, he'd be screwed. But she just laughs, twirling her phone. Of course, she's going to blackmail him. Then she smirks. What do you think your sister would say if she saw this? Yuto sighs in defeat. Fine, what do you want? She grins. Not much. Just go shopping with me, and come to my dad's 60th birthday party. Yuto rubs his temples and says, fine. If I have time, I'll go. She claps her hands, thrilled. Great, let's go shopping now. She throws open her closet and tells him to pick an outfit for her. She's curious. Does he prefer her in a cute style, or a mature look? Yuto hesitates, but before he can decide, her phone rings. It's work. She groans, saying she has to go. Yuto just shrugs. Shame. Guess I'm leaving too then. She walks over to the window and suddenly asks him, which direction do you think the criminal will run? Yuto raises an eyebrow. That's an odd question, but he points in a direction, and then bam, she suddenly grabs his face and kisses him. IQ 1000 move. She then smirks and whispers, by the way, the criminal is right there, then dashes out the door. Yuto just stands there, dazed. This woman Meanwhile, at a high-rise office, a group of investors sits around a table. They're all interested in Yuto. They ask him what are his next plans. Yuto just shrugs. Nothing special today. But then, out of nowhere, he tears into them. You guys call yourselves the owners of the city, yet you still haven't found the one person trying to kill me? The investors all shift awkwardly in their seats. They try to explain, that's not really our area of expertise. We know how to invest, not hunt down assassins. That's when Yuto's expression darkens. That's exactly why I'm here today. Since none of you understand investigations, I'm starting my own investigation company. Wait, that actually makes sense. Then he drops a bombshell. I'll invest 10,000 yen into it. The investors gasp. Yuto explains. If you want people to do their job right, you have to pay them well. Suddenly, the old men all sit up straight. Oh, an investigation company. Easy. We'd be great at that. Yuto smirks. Alright, first case. Investigate the new energy project in Country F. And what's going on with the Yamada family and her brother. Meanwhile, at a hotel, a woman asks a man what's wrong. The man looks completely exhausted and dizzy. It's Nijima's crazy husband. She totally wrecked him. But then, out of nowhere, she pulls out a baseball bat. I can handle this myself. This room has some incredible features. It would be a waste not to use them. The poor guy tries to run, but he's captured. I'm terrified to know what happens next. Meanwhile, Nijima is at the hotel reception. He mutters that he can never go back to that place. But the hotel girl smiles and says, I brought you some soup. He perks up, drinking it happily. Man, ever since Yuto-san took over, this hotel has gotten way better. Turns out, Yuto himself was the one who had the baseball bat and soup added. Probably to keep Nijima from complaining about the hotel after he kicked him out that one time. 3D chess. We'll probably figure it out later. Cut to another scene. Some men are delivering mysterious items to the hotel. The scar-faced guy is barking orders. Nijima passes by and recognizes him. That's one of the guys from before. Then a man named Haruma Fuji turns to the hotel staff and asks, what the hell is going on here? The hotel staff explained that someone rented out the entire top floor for a special birthday celebration. Nijima immediately raised an eyebrow. Wait, is this for Yamada Mika's birthday? The guy nodded. Yeah, that's the one. Nijima grinned. Then this is perfect. The hotel worker looked confused and asked what he meant. That's when Nijima dropped the truth bomb. The guy organizing this party is trying to steal Yuto's sister. The hotel guy immediately panicked and said maybe they should just cancel the party. But Nijima smirked. No, instead of canceling it, let's take full advantage of it. Later, Scarface finally saw the fully decorated venue and was impressed. He even offered extra money for the staff, thanking them for such a great job. But the hotel workers refused. The most important thing is that the birthday of someone as special as Yamada is perfect. Scarface smirked, thinking the hotel staff had finally realized how important he was. Little did he know, Nijima and the others were already scheming nearby. Meanwhile, Scarface called Yuto and invited him to the hotel, saying he should watch the fireworks from the Orson Hotel, but Yuto, completely exhausted, just told the guy to handle his own nonsense, until Najima teased him. You're gonna want to see this. Trust me, you can't miss it. Yuto sighed. Fine, he'd check it out. Scene shift. Mika's friend asked why Shinji called her there. Shinji smirked, asking, "Did you forget what day it is tomorrow?" Before she could respond, fireworks exploded in the sky. But in the middle of the display, there were strange numbers, 12, 21, 59. Mika was confused. The entire hotel audience was amazed. Then Shinji explained, "Once the clock strikes midnight, it'll be your birthday. You were born exactly on December 22nd, at 12 minutes and 22 seconds. The moment the date changes, you'll be older." Mika smiled, thanking him, saying he didn't have to go so far. But Shinji just shrugged. "Don't misunderstand. I'm not that romantic." "Hold up. This better not be romantic. She's his sister." Then Shinji smirked. "Actually, none of this was my idea." Right then Scarface appeared below, holding a bouquet of flowers. This bastard was trying to steal Yuto's sister. Shinji casually told him, "After the drone and fireworks show ends, go in with the bouquet." Fuji, watching from the side, said that if the plan worked, Scarface would get a big reward. Fuji then asked how much the hotel was charging for all this. While handing over the bouquet, Scarface smirked. "Don't even worry about it. They said they'd charge me even less for the event." Fuji waved it off. "May, doesn't matter. This stuff is cheap. The most important thing is getting the girl." Scarface gritted his teeth, irritated. This Fuji bastard was always pretending to be broke, but constantly flaunting his wealth. Meanwhile, Mika asked Shinji who planned all this. Shinji smirked. "They're coming now." Right on cue, Fuji stepped forward. "Happy birthday, Mika." Mika was stunned to see him there. Fuji grinned, saying she'd understand soon enough. Then the hotel staff suddenly announced something. "The drones are changing the message." The lights in the sky shifted. Now it read, "Happy birthday, Mika. From H. Haruma Fuji." Shinji, ever the genius, squinted. "Wait, that H, could it be Haruma Fuji?" "No shut, Shinji." But then the H changed. It turned into YM. Mika's eyes widened. Was that Yuto Matsushima? Suddenly the hotel staff began apologizing. "We don't remember being paid for this part of the event." Scarface immediately realized they'd been tricked. While everyone was confused, Nijima appeared, and right then, Yuto walked in. Looking completely uninterested, he asked, "Alright, why did you drag me here?" Nijima grinned. "Man, it was really worth staying at that crazy woman's hotel for this." Then he gestured at Yuto. Our boy got so hyped to plan Mika's birthday that he completely exhausted himself. Fuji, seething, realized it was him again. Mika, completely flustered, could barely believe it. Yuto had gone this far just for her? Meanwhile, Scarface barked at the hotel staff. "You'll be punished for this nonsense." But the hotel guy calmly responded, "Actually, you're the one who's mistaken. Because Yuto is our boss." Fuji, confused, sneered. "What, like he's the head of security or something?" Then the hotel guy smirked. "No, he's our largest shareholder, or more specifically, our CEO." Fuji's face went pale. The guy in the suit walks up to Mika, asking if he could celebrate the girl's birthday with just the two of them, and nobody else. He wants to use the chance to talk business. But Mika turns Fuji down, because she doesn't want to be alone with him. What really surprised him is that she wants to go over the contract terms again, something she'd already done. That's when Mika revealed she already knows about him working with her brother behind her back. Fuji got annoyed, thinking that useless guy ruined his plans trying to backpedal. Fuji insists the energy sector is the future of the economy. Sure, he'll make money. He said he'll find someone willing to work with him, leaving Mika behind, but clearly shaken once things calmed down. A guy asked Yuto if that was what he'd planned, but he's surprised too, and he found out all of this was planned by the manager taking the opportunity. Mika said she wants to talk to Yuto about it, but she'd like to do it somewhere a bit more private. As for the other two guys, they're happy with how everything turned out. And with Yuto's success, Mika thanks our boy for what happened, but she'd like things like that not to happen in the future. Yuto thinks he's being rejected, and so they don't waste any more time. Mika is going to be blunt. Her company is going through changes, and she can't shift her focus right now. Our boy started yawning, looking uninterested, because he already knew that he said Mika should head home soon, and started walking away from her. But since she's confused about the two of them, she believes it'll be better if everything happens like this. Our boy is confused too, realizing he should stop assuming girls like him just because he's good looking. Finally, his phone rang. It's good news. The result of the investigation into that company, detailed info, will come in a week. But our boy's gut feeling wasn't wrong. If he keeps this up, Mika will think he's still interested, which could get complicated for completing the mission. Our boy gained another skill, something to do with his eyes. A couple was kissing, and the woman started walking up to him, like she was trying to intimidate him quickly. Yut could tell the bag she was carrying is just a replica, really well made. The comment left the woman even more offended. Hit by those words, she turned her anger on the mouth she'd been kissing just a moment ago, because she'd been fooled. Yuto doesn't even know anything about that kind of stuff, and he doesn't know why the words came out so naturally. According to the system, completing missions will guarantee him a steady stream of bonuses. Back on the phone, they asked if the investigation should continue, and our boy gave the go-ahead. He doesn't like seeing innocent girls with big commissions up front getting tricked. a goth blonde with very not modest hips walked up, curious about who might be getting scammed. Yuto was surprised by Marika's sudden appearance. She said she went to a dinner with old men. She was forced by her dad. Seeing an opening, Yuto asked if she's still going to stream. She said no, because it's her research day, and being mischievous, she asked where our boy lives, because she'd like to check that place out still with her. Yuto asked if Marika doesn't feel scared walking around a neighborhood that isn't as rich. She said it's fine, and since she has her camera, she's sure nothing will happen. She assured him she's not filming. Actually, she's making a vlog, a backup plan in case her popularity starts to drop. She hopes to get help from Yuto. But about that, they'll need to talk a lot more on the way. Yuto saw an old lady being pressured by men in suits they want to buy her property, and if it doesn't happen, her son will go to prison. Our boy asked what was going on, and the men left, giving the old woman one more day interested. Yuto asked the elderly woman what was going on inside the apartment. The old lady calmed down a bit. Our boy offered her water, wanting to know what happened earlier. She said it's fine, but she won't be able to rent that room out for long. She said our boy doesn't even need to pay for it. The system detected a potential victim. It's time to carry out an emergency mission. Sitting down in a chair, Yuto said he likes it there, and he was thinking about buying the property. The old lady showed a bit of happiness, thinking the boy really did land a good job. Not to mention he also has a beautiful girlfriend, blonde and wide-hipped. This old lady really plays for the team. Thanks, Granny Senpai. So, she said she doesn't have any other choice. She has to sell the building because there was a big problem at her son's company. Yuto thought those guys were loan sharks. That building is worth a lot, but since she's desperate for money, they only want to pay 40% of the value, and she'll do anything, so her son doesn't go to prison. And knowing the building is worth 100 coins, Yuto made a crushing offer. 150 coins. The old lady said that if it's for him, she can even sell it for less. No problem, but our boy already made the full transfer. She can't even believe it's real, but our boy doesn't mess around. He plays to win, still not believing it. The old lady said she'll get the paperwork ready the next day, and Yuto remembered that tomorrow is Saturday. The office will be closed, full of determination. The old lady said she'll do all of it on Monday. It's time to take her home, and the old lady advised the young man not to neglect his girlfriend, so she's going to call a taxi, so she won't interrupt whatever the young people might do. Now back at his apartment, Yuto said the old lady might be grumpy, but she's a good person. Marika thinks our boy did it just to help, but he said that area is going to go up a lot. It's an investment. The girl started stretching, showing off her hidden powerful assets, saying she heard a peculiar conversation that day. The plans for the city's development are going to change. It's about Shiramatsu, but she doesn't seem to remember everything. She's getting sleepy. To Yuto's surprise, at least he's an ethical guy. If he were a perv, she'd be in serious trouble. Yuto got an accidental headbutt. Totally unexpected, Marika realized she'd fallen asleep and woke up with a jolt. Finally, she realized she should go back home, and she's going to call a taxi. That's when she noticed she'd lost her bracelet, and now she needs Yuto to help her find it. She got it as a gift from her mother, and if she really loses it, she'll be in big trouble before long. Our protagonist saved the day. Finding the bracelet, Marika was relieved. She doesn't know what her life would be like if she'd lost it. It would have been awful since it's so important. It'd be better if she wore it instead of holding it in her hand. Yuto said he'll put it on her. Marika got embarrassed. Said she only brought it because of dinner with her dad. She doesn't think it's pretty enough to wear, so Yuto told her to take care of it, and to keep it stored away full of joy. The girl can now go back home in the hallways of that building. Marika started sweating a lot, and breathing hard because she felt a huge urge to kiss our protagonist, and do things with him that don't belong on YouTube. It would be really inappropriate for a famous streamer like her to get involved with a fan. But then she quickly realized our protagonist isn't even her fan, and doesn't consume her content even so. She doesn't want to make the first move. She needs to hold back a little longer. Back to our protagonist. He found out through the system that that bracelet isn't valuable, but he'll talk about that another day. Because he's tired and sleepy, after a lot of work, he managed to lie down in his own bed, ready to rest. That's when someone showed up at his door demanding that he open it. It was Akari, showing up late that night without any warning. Walking into our boy's apartment, she reminded him that Yuto promised to go shopping with her this weekend. Our guy said it's still the middle of the night, but to Akari, Saturday has already started. It's time for her to be accompanied. She started checking the apartment to see if there were any intruders, and Yuto said he was going to sleep, because he's tired, but she asked him to wait a bit, because she was going to cook for him. Something full of love and passion. After 2 hours, all she managed to make was a fried egg and nothing else. Out of patience, Yuto decided to take over the stove because he needs to rest too. There's nothing Akari can do except agree. She's just not that skilled. She's also jealous of our guy, and was looking for rivals. At least he doesn't smell like women's perfume. Our boy made some improvised pasta that looks really tasty. Akari missed that recipe, saying she loves our protagonist's cooking. She also said they should start working out together, otherwise they'd get fat like cows. But it's already really late, and getting close to him. Akari said she's going to wear our boy out. Really wear him out. Now the two of them are doing push-ups in the middle of the living room, like a couple of crazies. Yuto at least has some serious physical ability, and he's doing it easily. Now he's motivating Akari to do more reps, saying she needs to get even stronger. Finally the sun showed up in the sky. Now it's time for them to take a shower and head out to do some shopping, like they promised. Once they were outside, Yuto asked what the girl was going to buy for her uncle. She thought about getting a musical instrument. For him it's a hobby, and ever since he retired he doesn't really do much with his day. Before long they found a music shop. When they walked in, a saleswoman greeted them, and Akari said she was looking for saxophones. Unfortunately, they don't have soprano saxophones, because they're out of stock right now. Akari knows her dad likes classical music, and the saleswoman recommended a really special one, handmade. That one is the last one, and a new batch could take years to be made, thanks to the craftsmanship that goes into each one. Not really understanding the subject, Akari seemed convinced by that speech. Right at that moment, a powerful woman with dangerous curves walked into the store looking for the expensive saxophone, demanding it be sold to her. The saleswoman apologized, saying it had just been sold. The powerful woman got furious and flashed her black credit card, trying to intimidate her, but the saleswoman couldn't do anything about it. As a reward, she got slapped across the face by the woman, who thinks she's above everyone else. Akari got furious at that and said that kind of assault is a crime. The two women stared each other down like martial arts fighters, about to start a furious, bloody fight. A man in a suit showed up and recognized the powerful woman right away. She's Sasaki. He apologized for what happened, and ordered his employee to apologize immediately. The manager knows she's a very important customer, so he's doing everything he can to please her. Spoiled, she told him to fire the employee, and that the saxophone should be sold to her right now. Akari isn't going to just accept this, but she won't have to do anything. Now it's time for our protagonist to step in. Faced with this situation, Akari started wondering what our protagonist would do in a situation like this. The rich brat told the poor guy to stay out of it, and our boy asked if she had constipation problems. Looks like he nailed it, because the woman asked how he knew that, but she quickly said that's irrelevant, and she wants the saxophone already. Yuzo said constipation explains that woman's bad breath. You can smell it from far away. Offended, she was already ready to smash his face in. While defending himself, Yuzo told her not to try to touch him with those filthy hands. Furious and feeling superior to everyone, she demanded the boy be kicked out of the place. Her companion, a man with a horrible mustache, came over because of all the yelling. She played the victim and said she wanted to buy a saxophone for her son, but that criminal stopped her. The old man said he was going to sue our boy, but Yuzo said he'll do it first, because that disgusting woman couldn't control herself and tried to grope him. If she can't control herself around a young guy, she must be really frustrated in her personal life. While the argument goes on, the woman felt devastating cramps. Something's about to happen, and it won't be pretty. Thinking she'd gotten hurt, the old man got worried, but the woman said she needs to go to the bathroom. Yuzo told them to settle this already, and the old man took his woman outside, cursing up a storm. Thanks to this bonus mission, Yuzo got the reviving hand, a new skill he wants to test right away. Outside, the woman can't hold it anymore. She's losing the battle. The security guards showed up too, and because of the crowd, gossipers started gathering as well. Unfortunately, the woman can't hold it anymore. She lost her battle. In the middle of all those people, she let it out. Actually, she gave birth to the most wicked fart the universe has ever seen. The nasty, festering smell brought tears to everyone's eyes. A stench so brutal, the rich old man said he doesn't even know this farting woman. Akari felt bad about what happened, but Yuzo assured her it's just the consequence of that idiot's actions back in the store. Everything went back to normal, but the manager told the saleswoman that can't happen again. The phone rings, and the manager answers the call. It's the company president, and besides being furious, he fired the man on the spot. It's not about Sasaki, the farting woman. They pissed off someone very important to that company. To understand what happened, the company president told the manager to go outside. Our boy bought the saxophone, and to calm Akari down, he said he knows people at that music company. Because of what happened, the saxophone was given as a gift, thanks to Yuto's network of contacts. That shop, which belongs to Shouta's family, was within reach. Akari also realized our boy steered things, so he wouldn't damage her reputation, because if she got caught on video doing that, it would be a huge mess now. She moves dangerously close to our boy, ready to pay him back for the kindness in a cruel, nasty way. Intimidated, Yuto said he got scared there might be a fight, because he thought Akari could arrest him. In fact, that was possible, but now they need to continue the day's schedule, which got interrupted by an emergency call. Yuto is going to have to leave now. He steps away to deal with the problems at the hotel, leaving Akari behind, determined to get our boy's seeds of life in a luxurious suite. A woman smashes her mirror, trying to understand how things ended up like that. Desperate, she's about to take her own life. The maid from that place came into the room and noticed a weird smell when she got to the bathroom. She ran into something terrifying and screamed like crazy. Yuto arrived at the hotel, worried, wanting to know if there were any fatalities, and found out the guest had a severe skin condition. The victim's husband is furious, saying it's the hotel's fault, that it's contaminated, and it ruined his wife's skin. One of the employees says that's unlikely, because the hotel's sanitation standards are some of the best in the whole galaxy. Then, trying to calm the man down, he said they'd take responsibility for what happened, if there was negligence or fault, but this guy is furious. He wants to get paid, whether there's fault or not. He said everything can be settled for 500,000, also asking them not to use the hotel's account, so the transaction wouldn't look fraudulent. Better to use a personal account. The employee is just about to do it, but our protagonist stopped him at the last second for the employee. That's fine, because that way they'd avoid something even bigger once the transfer was made. The employee said there's nothing else to do, and if that man insists they'll call the police now that he got his money. The thug walked out of that hotel all happy. The protagonist thought the amount was weird, because it was small for a hassle like that. Right then, an employee with a scar on his face came up. Yuto seems to recognize him, and the employee said they should have a quick talk now that supposed thug's boss liked the hotel, and would like to buy it. For 5 coins the hotel employee realized that was an extremely insulting offer. Then the thug showed a small package and said he'd tell the authorities they're involved in trafficking forbidden stuff through the system. Yuto realized that sample is real, so he decided to take the lead and report it first. The thug said when the police arrive he'll say everyone there is in on it, and that the manager takes bribes to back it all up. He has the manager's bank details, which they got from that little act earlier. The thug is waiting for the protagonist's answer, whether he'll hand over the hotel, or if he wants to keep having problems according to the punk. A few years in jail for a criminal like him will be nothing, but the hotel will be finished after that intimidation. Our protagonist started smiling like a real villain. He said that's just some small-time crook. It'd be worse if it were a serious competitor holding up the packet of toxic substances. Yuto also said the purity is low, under 90% information that left the thug completely terrified because he's not involved in selling that stuff. And getting that sample was a lot of work, full of confidence. Yuto asked the thug if he knows how someone young like him managed to have so much influence, and if he knows where the truly high-purity substances come from. Yuto told the manager to take this thug to the hideout. It's time to reveal a few things to him now. The thug started slowly shitting himself in silence, thinking Yuto might be involved with the Yakuza in the secret room. Yuto once again mocked that little package of illegal substances the mobster knows that isn't sugar. It's strong stuff. Yuto explained in detail how it's made, and how its purity works, when in reality he showed the bandit a fake sample, made entirely out of sugar. Now it's time to find out if this mobster wants to call the police, or use his own body as a target for the real criminals. Properly intimidated, the asshole realized he's standing in front of someone who probably has the city's underworld in his hands on his knees. He apologized, saying he only did it because he'd been given orders. He was paying off a debt to his superior. He wants another chance, and offered to become Yuto's subordinate. Our boy knows this isn't real remorse, it's just that thug has no other choice. A pretty pathetic situation, our boy said as he lights up a Cuban cigar. The mobster said he's willing to cut off a finger to prove loyalty, or even his own foot. Yuto stopped that from happening, saying kids shouldn't play with knives, which freaked the thug out, because he hadn't even seen him move. What Yuto really wants is the thug's cooperation, so they can expose the real mastermind behind these plans. Yuto told the manager to shut the hotel down for the next week, and compensate the guests, as well as the employees since he's being threatened by someone. It'll make it look like their plan worked. Seeing the kid's strategy, the manager started getting excited. Even the mobster wanted to work there, and our boy told him to pass probation first. Wanting to look good, the mobster handed over more info about Fuji's interest in the Yamada family. Looks like he wants to take control of that family. They're on the decline, looking for an opening, and Fuji knows that very well. His biggest target is the family's heiress. Knowing that Yuto told the punk to talk to Fuji, and soon he'd get more instructions. Also they need to know who sold those substances. Yuto will handle that actually. He'll tell Akari everything now. We're taken to Ryoka Fuso, where there's a beautiful woman. The punk told what happened at the hotel, and Fuji seems to like the news. The 50-cent offer worked out. I don't know if it's a translation mistake, but I don't know if that's a little or basically nothing. I just know it's 50-something. Fuji wants the girl to sign the contract, guaranteeing she'll receive lots of dividends from it. She's not worried about that, but about the other contract clauses. Fuji said he has a room for her, and said the girl can do it there. More calmly before she kept reading, she got a message on her phone, and it seems really important that made her leave the meeting, because something urgent just happened. Fuji was disappointed, and said he'd go with her, besides being ignored. The contract wasn't signed, which makes him extremely pissed off. Inside a car, a woman apologized for the sudden visit to Miss Yamada. She's Mayumi, president of the investment company. They're very important clients for that company, and the girl's father had made a special request to them, and now the report is ready, and the girl should take a look at it. Mika realized the tech company is a front, and asked where Mayumi got those documents. It even made the news. Mika can check for herself if she wants. Also, another company is involved in this, and Mika already got in touch with them. Getting out of the car, she thanked her for the help, because that information is extremely valuable. Our protagonist watched all of this. Mayumi even complained to him, besides helping manage the company. Now she helps him flirt too. Yuto said he's not interested in that kind of thing. That's why he asked for her help, because if he did it himself he would have put fantasies in that poor girl's head. Mayumi agrees, saying Mika is way too naive. Unlike her right after that, Yuto said he knows even more powerful front commissions. Leaving Mayumi embarrassed now, he needs to go with her, because since she helped him, it's time to get a little fun out of it too. After riding around in that luxury car, Mayumi complained about its suspension, but it's her fault for wanting to get up to shenanigans inside the vehicle. The phone rang, and since she's wiped out, Mayumi asked our boy to grab it. Checking the message, it's from Yamada, sending more documents. Our protagonist said they've already done their part in this, Now they need to wait and see what happens. Actually, he just found out Akari already arrested all the drug dealers in the area around his hotel. She's really happy thanks to our boy's info. They managed to catch the big fish. They also found out the suspect is someone named Fuji, who's already tied to the disappearance of some women. They're about to catch him, once and for all, and if they arrest him, Akari will reward our guy. In a bunch of ways, Mika went back to the negotiation, and she spotted a problem in the contract. The other company seems to be in financial trouble because of that. It won't be possible to reach an agreement. Fuji said he'll look into it, but talking to one of his subordinates, he wants to know who gave that information to the girl, and he immediately told the mole to transfer money into the account of the company in question. Going back to Mika, he said he has good news. It was just a misunderstanding, and she can check it herself even so. She's still hesitant. They're talking about a lot of money there. Once again, Fuji said she can check it personally, and if the company's having problems, he'll guarantee the assets in question. Mika isn't stupid. She knows Fuji runs that company. Moving money between accounts is no big deal for him, because that company doesn't exist. It's just a shell company to scam suckers. Fuji was caught off guard. He didn't think Mika knew all of that. Now she's already made up her mind. And the national authorities are going to do what needs to be done, because this is fraud, and she only went there to tell him that she was never there to celebrate the deal. As she got into her vehicle, she told the driver to leave, showing a stun gun. He apologized for what was about to happen, using the device to shock Mika really intensely. Fuji wasn't going to let her walk out of there that easily, now that she'd been taken somewhere else against her will. Mika asked why Shinji did that, since he's part of the Yamada family, but the guy's ungrateful, because she's the one who's going to inherit everything, and she's never had to worry about anything in her life. Now that Fuji promised he'd be the head of the family, he doesn't want to obey anyone anymore. Mika can't even believe she and this extra are actually related. Shinji said he doesn't need a sister like her. It's time to erase her from history, forever. But he promised he'll keep her updated about her parents. Every 84 years now, he'll leave his sister in the hands of that ill-intentioned guy. As soon as he turned his back on Fuji, the extra got hit by a gunshot. He dropped right away, spitting blood, not knowing what was happening. Fuji said keeping a useless guy like that alive is just a waste of time. It could turn into a headache now that he's gotten really violent. He remembered Mika still hadn't signed the contract that was offered. Everything is happening exactly how he wants. There's no way she can get out of this. Mika asked if he isn't afraid to do this, and he said he's a little worried it'd be really bad if someone found out what happened inside that place. When he least expects it, a 4-door sedan with a turbo inline-4 engine showed up, and inside this modern-day carriage is our amazing protagonist, who came to save the day. Our boy quickly realized he showed up at the right time, which is great. He didn't waste the trip or the grand entrance. With him is Akari too, ordering the criminal's arrest for the crimes he committed that day, intimidated by the police presence. The asshole started getting even more nervous. He told Akari not to move or he might do something stupid, but the well-trained officer with plenty of assets ignored it all. She managed to take down this walking piece of shit in a cruel, brutal way. Now that he's subdued, Akari said if he tries to move, he'll end up with a few broken bones. Our protagonist praised Akari's performance, and she said she has a lot of experience in this kind of situation. Now they need to get out. Other officers are already outside. The protagonist went to help Mika get free before Fuji left. Our boy said he's very generous. He gave 50 and now got 5 more, but the villain has no idea what he means, while he's still being led away in handcuffs. Fuji tells himself this isn't over yet. He's got 20 coins in his account, enough to make bail, and when he's back on the streets, he'll bring hell to earth soon. He saw all his goons had been arrested too, not knowing what was going on. He asked one of them what happened. A guy said there was a big problem at the company. They thought Fuji had run, but looks like he got arrested too. Info about the fraud they were pulling got leaked, and now the company has a massive debt. Just in taxes alone, their stock crashed, and before the collapse, someone sold everything and made a profit of 5 yen. Only now did the thug understand what the protagonist meant to him. Even that scarred goon got arrested, and in the process, he thanked our protagonist for taking care of him. No one knows he's the traitor, and that keeps him safe. Along with his whole family getting arrested like this, nobody's going to suspect him at all. Our protagonist thanked him for the words, and wished the criminal a nice stay in prison. Now that everything was settled, our boy is ready to collect his bonus back at his house. He got a delivery. The old man who brought the meal even gave a bottle of wine as a gift, as a sign of his gratitude. He said it's a special drink, and it usually brings good luck to whoever drinks it. Now that he has everything anyone could want, the old man said, our guy just needs to find a good wife. In fact, rumors say that if he drinks that wine with a woman, they'll end up getting married. Our boy doesn't believe it, but the old man said this wine is made with some really stimulating herbs. He said our guy should test the effect, to see if it really does something crazy while drinking it. Yuto admits the drink is actually really good. He even decided to buy a few more bottles, while pouring himself another glass. His alone time got interrupted. That beautiful woman found his address and decided to go there. She came to apologize in person, saying she's always lived in this kind of mechanical way. Even now she doesn't know why her brother betrayed her, and maybe she was the one to blame for all of it. Not knowing why she was opening up like that, Mika says our guy is different. He protected her like a knight. She did a quick search and found out her father never hired a consulting company. It was all Yuto's doing, even with him trying to dodge it. Mika said she's going to try to live like a normal person, being more honest about her feelings from now on without thinking twice. She goes after our protagonist with her secret techniques. Then, like a true number 2, she said if he doesn't accept her feelings, that's fine. Before leaving, she started turning really red, and our boy asked if she was okay, but she doesn't know what this weird reaction is either. For no obvious reason, she feels like using all her weapons against our boy and starting a fierce fight, kicking off a huge bloodbath. Totally confused, Yuto realized it was the wine's fault. The amount that was still on his lips, he doesn't have much time to think, because the fight is coming at him like a runaway train right now. The only thing Mika wants is to be a woman full-time, but using all his defensive ability, Yuto pushes her away from him. That leaves Mika really confused, and the guy says he ended up getting a little drunk after being rejected. Mika left embarrassed, apologizing for what had happened. She left in such a hurry that she almost bumped into a citizen who was in the hallway of that building. Our protagonist's friend shared what he'd seen. Mika didn't look very happy, taking advantage of the fact that his fingers were in the door. Yuto slammed it shut, then he let his friend in, and the guy said he came there to celebrate too. Now that Fuji is out of the picture, they really should start celebrating. Now the two of them are talking about an auction, and 30% of whatever gets raised will be donated to charity. Our boy's friend isn't even a good Samaritan, but he likes getting a tax break, so charity it is. Not to mention that at an event like that, lots of pretty women will be hunting, and he'd love to become a victim among them. Is Shinozuka, a well-known celebrity, but our protagonist thinks she's a totally normal woman. Our guy's friend is a huge fan of hers, because he really liked her acting in some works. Since she's been inactive for a while, he thought she'd retired. He didn't expect to see her in a place like that. Shinozuka walked up to Yuto and said he still talks about people behind their backs, and from far away she recognized that distinctive voice, because it's unforgettable. Our boy's friend is now completely speechless. Before long he introduced himself to her, but then he asked if our protagonist doesn't get tired of flirting, and Yuto said they just went to the same school, and it was nothing more than that. His friend got confused, because he'd never heard stories about that time she transferred in, and he was assigned to show her around the school. Shinozuka said all the guys wanted to do that, and Yuto was the only one who seemed uninterested. Yuto said she was really dumb, and to defend herself, the girl said she didn't have time to study because of her work as an actress. An extra interrupted their conversation, because Shinozuka was supposed to take him to the VIP room. Being around those people is ruining his image. Annoyed, Shinozuka took the chance to dump the extra right there, saying they don't match. And sticking with our protagonist, the asshole's name is Yohei, heir to a rich family. Yuto said he gets why she stayed away from work for so long. It's not because she's an ugly woman, but because she has a really sharp tongue. The first item at the auction is being presented, and it came from Shinozuka, an outfit she wore in one of her jobs as an actress. No bids were made. It looks like the extra set it all up to humiliate the girl. Little by little, rumors start spreading around the hall about it. Without thinking twice, our protagonist bid 50 yen for the outfit, a bid that really moved his childhood friend that made the asshole feel attacked, so he bid 70 yen, which makes no sense, since he wanted to humiliate her. That was exactly what our protagonist was aiming for. The competition to see who has the bigger ego is speeding up. The bid is at 95 yen. The extra thinks he's going to win, and bid 99 yen, eager to humiliate Shinozuka with his victory to our protagonist. His opponent is just a spoiled brat. The asshole realized he fell for our boy's bait, that he won't bid on that item anymore, and to come out on top, he said he did it out of charity. Yuto said there's nothing reckless about it. If you want an item, you bid. That's the rule. The next item is a weird stone, with a starting bid of 50, a family heirloom, passed down for generations in the same family. For some bizarre reason, that stone got the extras all worked up. This is the item our boy wants, and he already placed his first bid. Even the asshole said, our boy is a fool for spending so much money on a stone. That's when a mysterious old man said that isn't just a stone, it's a bakura, a very rare item, and it must be at least 1,000 years old. And again, that makes no sense. Rocks tend to be really old anyway. 1,000 years in their world is nothing. The crowd goes crazy because this old guy is a stone scholar, but in my opinion, I think he smoked a lot of stones now that he said it's valuable. Everyone went nuts knowing our boy wants the stone. The old man said he'd like to smoke it, and could offer 100 yen for that to happen at his private party. Our boy said he wants that stone too, and besides, the old man made a big mistake. This is a Shiratama stone, and after saying that he offered 200 yen for it. A bid that drove the auctioneer crazy. He immediately declared the item sold. Now, the stone old man takes a closer look at the object because he can't believe he was wrong. What's even weirder, Shiratama isn't more expensive. Even so, our protagonist sent the price through the roof to the asshole. This is an example of our boy's lack of class. However, you all said he made a bid that matches what it's worth. Intrigued by that, the asshole decided to make a bet with our protagonist, whether he could squeeze any profit out of that stone. The old man soon realized our protagonist doesn't want to humiliate him. He definitely saw something that Master overlooked until he finally saw the truth. The item's value isn't in its material, but in its shape. To do that, you need to be very skilled, an incredible craftsman. A person's masterpiece can double its value, sometimes more so. The old man admits that stone must be worth more than 300 yen, because it must have belonged to a rich family in the past. Its value should be 2,000 yen. News that left everyone speechless. Even our protagonist's friend choked on his own words. The old man still stayed humble, admitting he lost to a young man. He has to keep smoking stones to increase his power. Our boy thanked that noble stone lover for his humility. Yuto only bought it to absorb the spiritual energy inside it. A skill he got after saving Mika. The best way to absorb that energy is through stones like this. Since our boy doesn't need it for long, he said he'd sell it to the old man for what he paid at the auction. That left the old man a little surprised, but Yuto assured him he doesn't want to profit. He just wants to achieve his goals. Nothing more. Once again, the extras go crazy over that gesture. Since Yuto knows he's dealing with someone who really understands stones, he has a proposal for him. Because he's looking for this kind of material, the old man said he knows many museums and can open doors for our boy. Everything is going according to Yuto's plan, and now he can get access to various powerful artifacts. The old man also praised our boy's skill. Doing something like that isn't easy. The one who didn't like any of this was that asshole from the start of the chapter. He spent 300 yen at the auction. If his parents find out, he'll be in real trouble before leaving. He ran into our protagonist's friend, who was already waiting for the asshole. Looks like the guy was trying to stiff someone, and our main guy isn't gonna let that happen. The asshole said he wasn't running away, it's just that he doesn't have money right now, but they'll get everything once the Akamatsu district gets developed. It's in that neighborhood that our boy lives, and now he wants to know where the asshole heard that rumor. He said everyone in high society knows about it, but nobody knows who started the buzz. Now our guy knows why he was pressuring the old lady who rented him the apartment, so he wouldn't dodge the debt. They made him sign a loan, guaranteeing he'll pay what he owes. The old lady called our boy, said she won't be able to sell the apartment like she'd agreed with him. Yuto realized she needs more money, but they'll talk about it the next day, because right now he's busy. The actress also thanked Yuto for what he did that day. She never imagined he'd turn into such a reliable man, taking the chance. Our guy asked if the girl has any jade artifact right now. She showed a small pendant on her necklace. Yuto asked to hold it for a moment. He can use that material to channel his spiritual energy too. Messing with it, he realized Shinozuka has health problems, and figured out all her symptoms now that he tweaked the amulet. She's gonna feel a lot better. They said goodbye, and the girl complained. He shouldn't say stuff like that in public, but the truth is, she's into him, cause he hasn't changed at all later. Our boy met up with the building's elderly lady, and with her there's a weird guy. His name is Kato, and he's the CEO of a big company, the Mugen Group. He wants to buy our main guy's apartment. Immediately he suggested our boy do it for his own good, and said he'd cover his losses. The old lady is being blackmailed. They're doing it by using her son. Our boy already knows these opportunists have their eyes on the real estate profit they'll make in the future. Even so, the old lady is devastated, because she can't do anything in this situation. But for our main guy, there's always a way to get things done. It turned into an ego battle, and our boy is eager to see if Kato can take him on in this situation. Calling his bodyguards, he said our guy is gonna learn a few lessons right now. But before long, Yuto beat up all those men, and to his surprise, the cops just showed up. Kato points at our boy as a troublemaker, saying he attacked innocent people. Our boy tries to explain, but the cop told him to shut up, so Yuto got handcuffed. But from the way they looked at each other, Kato and the cop must be working together, or they're dating. There's no other possibility, even with this small loss. Yuto stays extremely confident. Our boy was taken to the police station, and he told the cop that teaming up with that con artist was the wrong choice. Annoyed, and thinking he has all the power in the world, the cop said that's his turf, and he does whatever he wants. Kato knows our boy has money, but the evidence is against him. If he wants the problems to end, he has to sell the apartment. But our boy promised that asshole won't get any property in that area. That just makes Kato even more pissed, because he's already negotiating dozens of properties. He got a call, and to his surprise, everyone wants outrageous prices for their properties. To make it worse, if they pay what they're asking, they'll go bankrupt. Looks like everyone got an offer 5 times higher. It didn't take Kato long to realize he was looking at the person who made that offer. Half an hour earlier, Yuto made a call. He knows the old lady isn't the only target of these scammers. He told Mayumi to carry out the plan. If there's no news from him in the next few minutes, she announced to the residents that they'd pay 5 times the market price for their properties. News that left the extras pretty impressed. Now, Kato is furious, because this could drive him bankrupt. Yuto said he doesn't care about that, because it's not his problem. Kato can wipe his own ass if he wants. Right then, a fat guy walked in, and from the looks of it, he's the mayor. He's pissed at Kato, who hasn't managed to buy a single house so far. The bad guy tries to justify himself, claiming it's all our boy's fault. The main guy recognized the mayor, who keeps showing up in the newspaper, but the fat guy doesn't even know who our boy is. Finding out he's just a newbie in this business, he got even more furious at his lackey, in a taunting way. Yuto said the mayor will get several years in prison if the police find out about that scheme. Not scared by the threat, the fatso grabbed the cop's gun to threaten our boy, saying he doesn't have proof of anything. One of the mayor's goons said the room is sealed off, nobody can leave using fear. The fat guy tries to force our boy to sell the apartment. Meanwhile, Yuto quickly recognized the glasses-wearing goon. This is the proof he needs since there's no security camera there. Yuto can show his power, snapping the handcuffs like they're paper. Now he's going to show the extras what real pain and suffering looks like. With everyone beaten, Yuto grabbed the mayor's phone to mess around for a bit, which terrified the fatso. He even had the nerve to try to threaten our boy, but it didn't work. Curious about what Yuto was doing, the fat guy found out he's watching a live stream outside. A few goons are worried by how quiet it's gotten. The fat guy said he was the victim of an attack and started calling for help. Then the cop came in and subdued our protagonist. Sure, he'd won. The mayor said it's all over for our protagonist. But the police chief just arrived, and he looks like he's got a lot of questions right now. Now slowly crapping himself from fear. The mayor tries to say it's all a misunderstanding, but they already have proof this fat guy is just a corrupt man with no dignity. That bald guy who works for him got caught trying to intimidate the elderly woman, who's a friend of our protagonist. To make it even worse, our boy has more proof in his hands. The mayor's own phone, showing the money he took illegally on the defensive. He gets really pissed, saying our protagonist is accusing him without solid proof. However, what he has is an extremely damning recording. The girl in that room is a streamer, and she has proof of the threats that were made. Thanks to all that, the streamer is feeling pretty useful earlier. Yuto got in touch with Marika to nail down all the details of the plan, which was totally foolproof. The fat corrupt mayor was successfully captured. He tried to launder money through antiques, but since Yuto knows that field too, he knows the mayor was buying fake pieces. Accusations so serious that even the criminals are now turning on each other. With all this evidence being presented, the police chief is going to lead the investigation now, while being arrested. The fat guy still tries to say all the city's progress was thanks to his chubby little hands and fingers that look like bread rolls. After all that, Yuto thanked Marika, who was key to everything that happened. Without her, he'd have been in big trouble. The girl even asked him to save her phone number, so she wouldn't have to be contacted through her streams. They were soon interrupted by a man who found an object on the ground and decided to ask if it belonged to either of them. Marika immediately recognized the small piece that looks valuable, the man said, and Marika realized she should be more careful. A woman in costume walked up to them, recognizing Takara right away. He got embarrassed. She'd been watching him for a while, running her hand across his forehead. She said the guy is really sweaty because of the heat that day. Figuring he might be thirsty, she offered to buy some water. Takara can't even believe a girl that beautiful is his fan. Our protagonist looks at the situation very coolly, because this guy is about to go out with a girl he met on the internet, giving him some solid advice. He told him to be careful, because not everything is what it seems. Takara said he'd never be fooled, because he's a good judge of people. Poor guy, classic line from someone who usually ends up the victim. Finally, the girl came back with some drinks. She's already eager to take Takara somewhere more private, and even Yuto realized a fierce fight might happen soon. The system told Yuto the beginner missions were completed. It's time to get more serious. When it was time to pick the difficulty, our boy was rational and humble. He chose to start with easier stuff. Marika watches him, not understanding that hand gesturing at empty air, and soon noticed Takara left with someone, and she's still alone, feeling a mix of frustration and anger. She deliberately bumped into Yuto, saying men are all the same because of that. Yuto chose the hardest difficulty. He has to recruit 3 elite talents, take his company to the highest level in a month. If he fails, he'll have urinary incontinence. Yuto was really bothered by that, and not knowing the real reason he was bothered, Marika started apologizing, devastated that shove caused a crushing psychological blow to our boy. But his panic will have to wait. That old stone appraiser got in touch with him to talk about stones, something Yuto cares about, since more power will always be necessary for his journey going to a museum. The old man recommended. He found a really ancient stone from a very, very long time ago. The two have a quick talk about how that stone that looks like a big lump was made, especially the flower drawings on it. Going to the old man, our boy asked for one more favor, quietly thinking about that request. The old man said they need to be careful. One mistake could ruin a lifetime of work. Even so, he trusts the protagonist's character, and he's willing to take that risk, joining his company since they need more professionals. Yuto told the old man to recommend people, but that can be tricky. Money doesn't buy everything. Getting to an important topic, the old man asked if our boy already has a relic seller's license, which left Yuto completely shocked, because he has no idea what that even is. Later, Yuto realized he almost messed everything up. He can't lose this old man no matter what. He doesn't want to be stuck with a urinary catheter for the rest of his life. Continuing on his way, Yuto saw a small crowd of people who were trashing a streamer. He went to the manager to ask what was going on. There looks like a streamer brought a fan to that place, and it caused serious problems. It's that same girl who showed up in the previous chapter, and our protagonist seems to have figured everything out to everyone's surprise. The girl said she's a boy, but dresses like a girl for fun. Taking off his clothes, he showed the truth to everyone. His bare chest, flat like a perfectly even wall. The streamer is under arrest. Looks like he tried to pull some unauthorized stuff under all those accusing stares. The poor guy tries to explain himself in every way possible, but all he managed was getting mobbed by the crowd, who are seriously pissed. All of that pleases that so-called fan, who watches everything very closely. Our boy quickly suspected it might all be staged. He even tried to warn the streamer, but got ignored. The manager is worried about the hotel's reputation because of what's happening right now. Our boy asked if that guy is a streamer too, and checked Takara's profile on social media, which is huge. It didn't take long for the news of his arrest to spread, because of what he did to that fan. Devastated, Takara tries to say none of it is true. He got tricked by the girl, who said she wanted to show him something, but it had to be in private as soon as they were alone. She made a scene, saying she was being attacked in seconds. He was already the target of the public's rage. Desperate, Takara tried to run, but the guards are ready to chase him, but the one who ended up stopping it was our protagonist. Takara realized our boy tried to warn him about the risks, and he was an idiot for ignoring his advice, taking the opportunity. Yuto said that if Takara joins him, he could help him. Takara is begging for the security cameras to be checked, so his innocence can be proven, but there aren't any devices like that inside the rooms, and around him, people are still furious. The one taking advantage of this situation is the lying fan, who's flawlessly playing the victim. The manager is going to talk to her on behalf of the hotel, saying he's sorry about what happened, and they're going to put her with a specialist until the police arrive to sort this out. The girl said she doesn't want to make such a big fuss, but she got cut off mid-sentence, because this is a serious matter, because last month, something like this happened at the hotel, a fake crime, and they demanded financial compensation. In a criminal way, the woman seems to have figured everything out, saying that Kimura is a former employee, and now makes false crime accusations. So, faced with the accusations, the woman exposing the imposter started showing fake documents he already used once before. Now everyone wants this person to explain himself. In the face of these serious accusations, a man in a hat said they're dealing with someone disgusting because he already made up a fake rumor about crimes on the subway, when in fact he was the one guilty, revealing a recording of the crimes, where this wrongdoer was putting panties into innocent people's pockets, including that man in the hat, who lost his job because of a false accusation like that. He was also recognized by others as a pro player. Even with so much proof, the lying crossdresser still tries to play the victim in the situation. Another victim showed up, this time a driver whose coffee was spiked with alcohol, and then he got accused of drunk driving since he has a camera in his car. He can prove that it really happened. All of this was caused by our protagonist, to help that naive streamer, who almost became the victim of something really serious. Now that the police have arrived, Kimura is being asked to go with them to the station to give a statement. Detained, he was still bold enough to say it's his victim's fault, that they're foolish and stupid. Everyone pretends to be righteous, but behind the scenes they're disgusting too, always taking advantage of someone. After everything was cleared up, the streamer started crying, overwhelmed. Now he's in a meeting with Yuto, signing a contract with him, and if it weren't for the help, he could be in jail right now. With that, our protagonist is close to completing the mission of recruiting 3 elite talents in just 1 week. Takara is so grateful that he promised to work tirelessly. A very beautiful woman walked up to them, bringing important messages. She posted a retraction about what happened at the hotel, but the post got deleted. Looks like this time they've got some serious digital enemies. So, Yuto asked his new hire who this big-time enemy could be. He remembered that once he warned his audience to be careful with digital coins, and that pissed some people off. But for anyone who works with that, there will always be a hidden enemy. Takara promised to be more careful, and our boy wants him to work with digital trading. That made the boy a little worried, wanting to know if he's really going to sell real products or if it's a scam. Yuto said seriously that everything is a scam, and that there's no streamer who promotes anything legit. That scared Takara, because he has ethical limits, and he'd never do something like that. And Yuto, in a threatening tone, said the boy needs to pay his debt after that big scare. Our protagonist laughed a lot about the situation at the competitor's headquarters. A mustached man watches the broadcast. A Ming Dynasty vase is being auctioned, and the mustached man got furious when he saw Takara is still working like normal, so he decided to complain to his goons, who can't even do something simple like push someone out of business. They said there's someone powerful protecting Takara, and that makes everything harder. The mustached man found out this is being done by a new company in the market, and that they're growing really fast. The antique sector used to belong to them, and the presence of a new competitor is worrying. It's time to show them who's boss now. The mustached man is going to give detailed instructions on what needs to be done the next day. Our boy strolls through the antiques market, accompanied by yet another beauty who'd like to have his baby. He made it clear that it's not a date. She's the one who wanted to keep him company, because he got tickets to a show through that old man who knows about rare stones, so he went there hoping to find some treasure. Finding a vase, the girl asked if it's from the Ming Dynasty, but Yuto assured her it's just a replica. She picked up another item, and once again Yuto says it's a replica, and that it should be illegal to sell that stuff. Even the jade necklace the girl picked up is fake, it's just a glass stone. Even so, the girl is enjoying the walk as much as possible in the protagonist's company, until Yuto saw a vendor sitting on the ground, and he showed interest in the piece of wood he's selling, full of confidence. The vendor said it's a genuine fragment of rosewood, and that it's worth 1 yen and 80 sen. Even our boy's intern could tell that was a treasure for 80 sen. Our protagonist is willing to take this item. A negotiation starts between them. Our boy is really interested through the system. He found out that this piece of wood is even older, and therefore much more valuable than what was claimed thanks to the difficulty he chose. The system granted crafting and making knowledge beyond reach. The intern is now driven to find a treasure at that fair too. Before long, with the help of a knife, our boy changed the shape of that piece of wood. An old man saw it, and was impressed, so he decided to ask if he could take a look at that piece too. Before long, he recognized the value of the piece and asked for it to be sold to him, but our boy refused right away. The intern is already frustrated. She didn't find any treasure, so she snatched the rare pipe from our protagonist's hands, but what she really wants is something else. The great Yuto, until that same old man started coming over, out of breath, along with a few men, and they won't let our boy leave that easily. The old man introduced himself. His name is Nagano, and he's a well-known enthusiast in that region and of ancient relics. As for the pipe, it's not an item for young people, so he asked for it to be sold to him. Once again, Yuto refuses the offer, grabbing the boy by the shoulder. Nagano asked if he can't sell the item because he got it illegally. It's time for the police to investigate where that came from. And Yuto realized he's being accused of having stolen something. The old man asked some random guy what he thinks about it. He admitted the situation is delicate, and Nagano wants, no matter what, to get the pipe, and it's unusual for a young guy to have something that valuable in his possession. It could be a national treasure that was stolen. Thing is, the old man is really trying to intimidate our boy, saying the government could even confiscate that item if necessary, thinking he'll get what he wants. The old man told our boy to just sell the pipe already, and avoid trouble. The intern told him to shut up and stop accusing people of committing crimes without any proof. With the bald guy, who looks like a government man, the old man said they need to evaluate the case immediately. Pissed off about that, the intern said she's going to film everything, and our boy pulled out his small knife, saying he'll show his technique to all of them. The old man nearly shit himself in fear, because he thought he was about to be the victim of a crime. Everyone gets worried, and our protagonist started moving vigorously, scared shitless. The old man panics while Yuto tells him not to move, or he'll end up getting hurt without realizing it. The old man's clothes were carved with rose engravings to Yuto. It looked really beautiful, and the locals started filming and taking pictures, dangerously, furious, almost having a stroke. The old man promised our boy would be punished for this humiliation. Yuto looks down on the old man, who calls himself a collector, but doesn't even know what he's wearing now. And the bald guy realized that was the old school line work, from old masters, something only an old master would know how to do. That repetition of words made the bald guy even balder to make everything worse. The work is flawless. Knowing Yuto is a real master, the bald guy bowed to him, introduced himself, saying he comes from an important family of appraisers. Even with that much politeness, Yuto refused to introduce himself, since he'd been accused of something disgraceful. Now it's the old man who's speechless, because the bald guy, who's his informant, said our boy is a rare master with a far superior technique. Proof of that is an artifact that was restored and sold for over 200 million, made in the style our boy masters. The bald guy tried to be an apprentice in the school of that style, but he didn't have the talent. He must be powerful too. And if he wants to finish both of them off right now, it shouldn't be challenging at all. Now that he knows Yuto is a powerful person, the old man comes up to him all remorseful, apologizing. He said he'll take great care of that shirt that was carved with the knife, because it's a gift, but his presence only makes the intern and our protagonist even more uncomfortable. But since the shirt was made, Yuto asked the old man to say it was a gift from the Mitch company. Walking away from them, the intern asked how our boy learned that, and Yuto said he's self-taught, but she's got a very vivid imagination, and believes our boy learned to do that to cut women's clothes. Yuto said he would never do something like that, but the intern has reasons to doubt it. She said she studied criminal psychology, and believes there are urges that can't be contained, and that if one day he needs to let it out, she'd be willing to make that sacrifice. Yuto ignored her completely, saying that's nonsense. Now he'd like to buy something at the convenience store. Back to the jealous competitors. One of the mustached man's goons brings news. The plan is already in motion, but it's risky, because the Mayall group has a lot of money, and according to the mustached man, the Rosui and Iori schools have no ties to them, and for anyone who doesn't know, those are the schools of the line work our boy now masters because of that. The little mustache guy believes he's going to show our protagonist what happens to competitors in this industry. Back with Takara, our boy wants to know how sales are doing, which freaked the guy out, because he swore that conversation they had about it was just a joke. Even so, he keeps receiving donations every day, from someone who thanks the Mayall group. Takara was interrupted by a man, who accused him of selling fake vases on his streams. The streamer takes responsibility, and said the vase was cheap, but that man said his daughter suffered a lot because of it, because of the mercury that was in the vase. The man's daughter ended up developing cancer, for God's sake. Now the author went too far, forced it with violence. Takara says it's a misunderstanding, but the man insists, saying he even got reports from reliable labs. All of this is heartbreaking, since his daughter is only 2 years old, and she's already doomed with such a serious accusation. Yuto started reading the documents. That man presented a protest, is happening in the streets, against companies that are abusive. The manager talks to our protagonist about what they should do in a situation like this, which is serious. but Yuto wants as many people there as possible, until the guy with the little mustache decided to make his entrance. He introduces himself as the leader of the Hoshino group, which carries his name, and said he's going to take care of this. He said the antiques industry is sacred, but some selfish people want to destroy it forever. The May group doesn't even care about children's lives, but Hoshino assured everyone he's a different kind of corporate guy. He likes profit, but not to the point of being disloyal. He had the idea to create a fund to support the victims of that, as long as they could prove they bought compromised items. Now the little mustache guy's popularity started rising a lot, being seen by the extras as a true savior. He's also kicking the May group out of that part of the industry, since they only supply garbage a bunch of assholes. They start supporting him, eager to see our protagonist fail for good. One of them tried to put his hands on Yuto to drag him out of there, but ended up getting thrown to the ground to think about what he'd done. Hoshino told our boy to leave while he still can, or things could get more complicated. Yuto praised his performance way better than the actors standing around there. If it were the film industry, he'd invest in him without hesitation to create a rumor this big. He must have a lot of free time. Yuto wanted to know where he found so many actors intimidated. Hoshino shows his phone with a bunch of complaints being made against the mayor group. Yuto said that was fake info, and they didn't even bother to confirm what was really going on. One of the actors said he checked with his own eyes, but ended up giving away that he was involved in this nasty scheme. He grabbed a vase to be examined, with strict orders about what should be done. Even in the middle of all this chaos, the police ended up showing up to solve the problem. Hoshino obviously got really worried. He wasn't counting on that. A cop has evidence of one of those men bribing an employee to put in more mercury than he was supposed to at that moment. It was revealed that only one vase was made that way. The others followed the legal guidelines. The employee who did it apologized to the police, and he's only getting off this time because he was forced. It was all planned by our protagonist, who plays chess in the fifth dimension, using his eighth sense. As for that guy who walked around for so long with the mercury vase, he should take care of his own health. Our protagonist said right after getting the warning. The extra's arm started getting really dark now. He turned his fury on Hoshino, who said nothing was going to happen to him. All of this while the police tell him to go down to the station. Hoshino told his henchmen not to get too worked up. They'll figure it out. Meanwhile, Takara's broadcast is getting more and more popular with that old market guy showed up, because he managed to find our protagonist this time. Nagano is bringing gifts, very valuable pearls, as a way to make up for his past. He saw Hoshino was there too, and apologized for gifting the pearls he had bought from him. Yuto said none of that was necessary. Besides, the pearls are fake, which freaks Nagano out, since he spent 20 yen to buy that after breaking it. Yuto said once again it was fake. Nagano thought he was being humiliated, but when he looked at the pieces, he realized they couldn't be real. Now he's furious with Hoshino, who's a con artist, since that was broadcast. Our boy's popularity went up a lot. Takara introduces the president of the May group to his fans. The first mission was completed. Our boy got 3 prodigies to be his employees, not understanding anything at all. Takara asked Yuto for an explanation. If the factory workers were contributing to that, Yuto said he owns the factory. A small bribe doesn't change anything. He was just waiting for Hoshino to bite the bait when he bought it. The previous owner had a strong sense of responsibility toward his employees, until he saw that huge amount of money. Before long, he got a lot more flexible and willing to negotiate. Even so, Takara still doesn't understand how Yuto knew Hoshino would fall into that trap. Our boy showed a fake gold coin that can fool untrained eyes. Now Takara knows why he was being chased by Hoshino. Yeah, there really was something wrong with those coins with so many shady things going on. Catching that thief was easy. Takara realized that somehow his new boss is even more cunning than the criminal himself. Now that the case is solved, it's time for them to start streaming again. Saki and Mika showed up right then. Worried about our protagonist, they saw on the news that there'd been trouble, and rushed over as fast as they could, being super cautious. Mika already has a contingency plan ready to be put into action immediately. Poisoning cases are complicated, and with the right connections they can clean up the company's image. Yuto thanked them for worrying, but for him the solution came too late. Just have them watch the news one more time. When she heard about the twist, Saki got upset. Our boy should have told her sooner that everything was already handled. After a few hours, they went to eat and Saki ate a lot, until she was totally satisfied. Our boy had to step in. If he hadn't, Saki would still be eating, so he suggested they go for a little walk, but the girl can't go, because she's late for class. Though she's hoping our boy will spoil her soon, watching her leave. Yuto said she treats him like he's a wallet. Now he needs to deal with the situation with Mika, who really wants to keep being around him. It's late, and they went for a walk. Mika's going to meet her parents later. It's the first time since that day when she almost attacked him, and even so, Yuto is acting normal. Now the girl thinks he isn't interested in anything, and that she must be super annoying to him before she keeps spiraling. Yuto said he has something to ask, knowing her potential. He offered her a part-time job at his company. She'll do investment analysis, since after she graduates she'll take over the family business. Surprised by the offer, Mika asked what area she should focus on, and Yuto said she's free to do whatever she wants. Now the paranoia got even worse. Mika feels like she's special, and that our boy is doing this to help her blossom. But Yuto is only doing all this so he can complete the system's task. So Mika said she has a request too. She wants him to treat her in a more intimate way, which made Yuto wonder if she's actually drunk this time. Turns out she is, and she ended up falling asleep. Yuto had to leave her at her luxurious mansion before he left. A gorgeous woman approached him, thought he was the driver, and thanked him for what he did for her daughter. Not wanting to correct her, Yuto just kept on leaving, only asking them to take care of the girl. But the woman didn't like him referring to Mika so casually and thought it was disrespectful until she heard the girl still asleep, calling out for the guy. And then Mika's mom realized they must be friends. Thinking the worst, she offered him 10 yen to never come near her again. With his poor people genes, Yuto said he doesn't need it, and that he made a contract with Mika. He's the one who's going to give her money. The old lady still believes he's just a freeloader, and if he wants to join the Yamada family, he should be rich and powerful and smart too. Taking the chance to clear a few things up, Yuto admits that Sleeping Beauty is really important to him, crucial to his plans to make even more money. Furious that they might be involved, the old lady told our boy to just say what his price is already. Yuto said the measly amount of 100 yen is enough, leaving his potential mother-in-law completely losing it. Seeing she can't pay that amount, our boy turned his back and told her to stop butting in, because it's getting annoying out of her mind. The old lady said that if she weren't expecting guests, she'd call the police to arrest this punk. Mika woke up from her drunken sleep and asked her mom where Yuto is, and was told he left. It's time for her to change clothes, because an important guest of her father is arriving. If that day's negotiation goes well, their family's future will be secured a few minutes later. The visitor arrived. They treat Rokujo very politely, but he asks them to relax a bit. The Yamada leader insists on being overly respectful, since they've worked together at the company itself. Rokujo remembered that he had to leave the Yamada group after his project was rejected, and he found someone who truly changed his life. Information that's confirmed by Nico, his virtual assistant dressed like an idol. She even changed her virtual outfit. She did it to match her creator's mood, who definitely doesn't seem like a normal person. He's the type who likes getting his fix from characters that don't exist. It's no surprise the Yamada group family looks down on him. I would too, but this kind of craziness makes money. The Nico project is super popular now, and that's the real reason this meeting is happening. Mr. Yamada apologized for rejecting the virtual girlfriend idea, and his former employee warned that you can't turn back time. That's when Mika joins them, wearing different clothes. The matriarch is already thinking about using her own daughter as bargaining chip, and told the young people to talk about these new market trends. The weirdo already asked Nico to analyze that woman. Mr. Yamada said Mika is in college, but the weirdo doesn't care about that. If she's the daughter of his former boss, that just makes things even easier for him. The matriarch is already hopeful, thinking Rokujo is interested in the girl, and Mr. Yamada doesn't want to sell his daughter in a business meeting. Proving he's a weirdo, Rokujo said he has a question to ask that young woman. If it's a marriage proposal, the matriarch will thank God, because that'll keep our protagonist away from Mika. Mr. Yamada doesn't want to let that happen, and he's already really furious. But the weirdo showed some news on his tablet, about the meeting Mika had with the anonymous millionaire, casually known as our protagonist, and all this weirdo wants is a meeting with our boy, and he's sure Mika can make that happen. Unfortunately, Mr. Yamada thought they were talking about something worse, and ended up smacking Rokujo in the face with a plate, saying he would never sell his daughter to someone who has virtual girlfriends. Everything got cleared up, and our protagonist was summoned to Mika's house. He was called in a hurry and got worried, but it wasn't anything that important, at least not to him. The matriarch, when she saw our guy, got furious again. Rokujo is already waking up, a bit disoriented, and when he saw he was in front of his idol, he was really happy. He said our boy probably doesn't remember, but at the charity auction, he bought an old stone for 200 yen. He was the one who sold that stone, and thanks to that money, he managed to save his virtual project. Words that gave the matriarch a downright demonic stomachache, because she's standing in front of a very, very rich young man. The weirdo still remembers that day that changed his story, and the 200 yen offer for the stone he had. He made an investment, and used his savings to enter the auction with an item, because he believed someone might see the value it had. If it weren't for that, he would have had to sell Nico, and her emotion circuits would have been deleted. But thanks to our protagonist, Nico can even change clothes depending on her creator's mood. Even Nico thanked our protagonist, because that way her personality was preserved. Mr. Yamada knows 200 yen is a lot of money for a young person, and now the matriarch is also trying to take it back. The old woman is completely cornered now, and Nico noticed that, so she recorded the words the old woman had said a little earlier, and wants to show everyone. Since they already know what it is, Rokujo said that really is a serious meeting, and for all intents and purposes, he recommended to Yuto that a business partnership with the Yamada group should be considered. Mika did some research on this artificial intelligence, at her father's request, and wants to present what she's got so far. The dream synchronizer he made needs a special charger, and they can cut the cost of that by 40%. On top of that, 60% of Nico's premium users are in the West, in the same logistics region as the Yamada group. Using their distribution network, they'll be able to analyze the target audience's buying habits really accurately. Yuto realized these results are impressive and substantial. A contract was presented, and the weirdo is about to sign its terms, because Nico already analyzed everything. Now, Mika wants to know what her mother talked about with our protagonist earlier that day. The old woman said it was nothing, just casual talk between two adults, but she ended up revealing that Yuto asked for 100 yen for him to stay away from the girl, at the old woman's request, because she wants to split the two of them up. Mika believes he made that ridiculous offer on purpose. Even so, she's determined to show her true value to him. Full of determination, she told him to wait for the future, words that filled Yuto with fear. 3 days later, the weirdo got in touch with Yuto, because he has more news to share with him about the artificial intelligence. Going to that company, Yuto ran into a lot of people in costumes who looked down on him for being normal. Honestly, our boy even started thinking he might have gone to the wrong address. One of those extras said that part of the criteria for that interview is virtual character design. So that's why the costumes our guy said he's not there for some silly reason like that, since he's already an adult and has his life together. A girl with glasses said the interviewees should show up dressed as characters they've already played, a way to bring the company culture to life. The red-headed extra said the Nico company is revolutionary, thanks to Roko, and a normal person like Yuto doesn't fit in there. Our guy thought they were all really weird and way too conventional, in their fantasies, words that annoyed one of the girls, who believes they're building something new in that place. Yuto is just an old fossil, who doesn't understand the value of virtual immersion after a few moments. Rokojo showed up, pretty out of breath, and got cheered by the fantasy extras. Ignoring the extras, Rokojo went straight to our guy, happy he decided to show up there the way he treats Yuto. Ended up leaving the extras deeply confused. To make everything worse, their interview got cancelled, because Rokojo had forgotten he'd contacted Yuto, and didn't imagine he'd show up right now before leaving. Yuto reminded the red-headed extra, it's best not to be a jerk to people you don't know. As for the only girl who was nice, he asked if she'd like to come with him, and she ended up saying yes, using his influence. Our protagonist asked them to do that girl with glasses interview. She's already impressed with the place's facilities, walking a bit more. Yuto asked what those facilities were, because he was standing in front of the memory resonance device. Nico reads the user's most important memories, like for example, the regret tied to loved ones who have already passed away. That way, they can create a virtual space, so new experiences can be lived. That's the biggest trump card they have. Obviously, some users made some pretty unusual requests, and the interaction in the virtual space feels a lot like real life. Yuto will understand everything when he tests it too. The weirdo is gonna wait outside, and said to call him if our guy needs help, while our guy waits for the simulation. Mika walks into the room he's in. She and the weirdo set this up. Yuto is a little confused, because nothing had happened so far, an hour earlier. Mika went through the same experience, and because of that she had a brilliant idea. The weirdo told her, our protagonist is gonna test the device soon. He asked if Mika wanted to wait to meet him before long. She had another brilliant idea, and now she needs Rokujo's help. The weirdo right at this moment, she's getting close to our guy's body. She still has really intense memories tied to him, and she decided to share those images in Yuto's simulation, and he's getting confused. Mika watches really closely, because she wants to know how our guy is gonna act now, and if he'll really reject her. No one is gonna interrupt their moment, and that makes Mika more and more anxious since she got distracted. She didn't notice our protagonist's hand getting closer, and he squeezed part of her boobs. Yuto was impressed by the level of realism, but he soon recognized the shape of his dear friend. He started squeezing hard, impressed by the texture of that big balloon. His actions were quickly stopped, because he found it weird that Mika wasn't reacting to anything, thinking about taking off the simulation glasses. He ended up getting surprised by a fierce and brutal attack. Mika decided to kiss him. Yuto is more and more impressed because that simulation even replicated Mika's smell, and she told him not to think about anything else. All he needs to do is follow the script. After several minutes of a fierce and intense battle, our guy was really impressed with that simulation. Now he doesn't know if that's part of a desire from his subconscious. And in the hallway, he ran into the weirdo, and he wanted to know how the experience was. Yuto is visibly embarrassed, not knowing how to rate that, showing he's a veteran weirdo. From Mika's and our guy's facial expressions, he's sure something sordid happened. Some assistants showed up too, and asked Rokujo if anything happened, because Nico has been down for 30 minutes. They're trying to reverse the situation, but nothing worked. Hearing that, Yuto realized the interaction he had was way too real. The truth is that this artificial intelligence shouldn't be down for that long, said the girl with glasses. She read Rokujo's book on the subject, at least 3 times, and she knows a lot about it. Figuring something might have happened, Rokujo realized he should go to the server room, and when he got there, he found some thugs. They said it's a waste of time for Nico to be in the hands of someone so weird. Rokujo immediately recognized that villain, who belongs to the Star Cyber Company. That bastard made an offer of 150 million yen to buy the artificial intelligence. For all intents and purposes, they already called the cops. And Rokujo doesn't want to negotiate with those guys either. But the thug seems to have the artificial intelligence on a USB drive in his hand, and he's ready to destroy it. The girl with glasses quickly realized that could be totally fatal for their project. The girl with glasses even tries to stop the USB drive from being destroyed, because she knows Nico is a valuable product, but she's easily overpowered by the thug. Full of confidence, he said not even the police can protect them from Star Cyber. But Rokujo wasn't intimidated in the slightest by what had happened. Before those men left the room, they were electrocuted in a brutal, violent way. Their paralyzed bodies fell to the floor, and some mysterious spray is going to be administered to them. Finding a very secret part of each of those men's anatomy, they started to feel an intense burning sensation. Rokujo told Nico that she'd already heard the men's request. Big chunks of ice are now ready to ease the heat they're feeling, which leaves those thugs completely terrified, and in front of everyone, they were cooled down. They ignored something very important inside that high-tech place. Nico has several defense mechanisms. Trying to mess with her is harder than it looks. Now the girl with glasses is thrown off, thinking she overreacted because there was never any real danger. But for Rokujo, that was more than enough. She was hired by that company. The girl with glasses can't even believe she got something so huge. Looking at our protagonist, Rokujo apologized, because he witnessed something unusual. The truth is, security is one of that company's selling points. They even do collaborations with the government. They could do that for our protagonist at the hotel completely for free. There's still one mission left for our boy. Take his company's level to the top of the domestic market. If he doesn't do it, he's gonna have trouble peeing. He also can't use his money to buy a ready-made company, which makes everything even harder. The boy's thoughts were interrupted by a call. It's that old man's assistant, the one they met at the fair. It seems like an emergency. Yuto went to the Cultural Heritage Association. Rokujo was there too. What a coincidence. Once inside, the head of the department said he'd reviewed Rokujo's proposal. They need a security system to protect national treasures, and he'd like to know if an artificial intelligence company can do that. Rokujo has complete confidence in her company's ability, since it owns the best modern security system. But those words aren't enough for the old man. They need to convince his superiors. If there's sincerity in that conversation, maybe the old man will help him a bit, but it needs to be very sincere. Rokujo figured he wanted a bribe, and our boy asked if the director isn't ashamed of that, since he could get caught acting corrupt. Pretty offended, the old man told our protagonist to watch what he says. Outraged by what happened, he asked Rokujo why she brought that rude person. Yuto said he doesn't even know that guy, he's just passing through, which made the old man even angrier, deciding to call security. On top of that, he dismissed Rokujo, saying they should review the project again, turning his back on him. Rokujo thought that was for the best, because she's not willing to pay a bribe to anyone. Back to the bald guy who called our protagonist. He tells his superior that the solution to the problem is already on the way. As soon as he saw Yuto walking down the corridors, he went to talk to him right away. They didn't expect Yuto to already be waiting for them in the meeting room, and they were shocked to find out he'd been kicked out of the place, leaving the Minister of Culture completely speechless. Going in there furious, they asked the obese old man what he had done. Feeling poop running down his legs, the old man realized he was in deep trouble. Yuto is the one responsible for restoring the dragon vein, and how did someone important like him end up getting kicked out? Yuto said that department is full of problems, because that old man had asked for a bribe. The minister can't even believe that claim. While the obese old man understood his end is getting close, outraged by what happened, the bald guy guaranteed that corrupt man will be properly punished. But he got back to what matters, begging our protagonist to be able to work with them, taking him to a very old artifact, a weird cauldron, from a very ancient time, received as a gift from another nation. It's been 3 years since that happened, and the air is oxidizing some inscriptions on its exterior, and they can't do the restoration properly. People who can do that are charging a fortune, but they can't afford that investment. The bald guy wanted our main character to help him, so the artifact could be shown at the next exhibition. That would bring more investment to this city, benefiting the whole nation. Our boy realized he's gonna have to pull off something really hard without getting paid, something he's not exactly eager to do. The Minister of Culture is already ready to give up. It'll be better to present the object like this. Yuto told them the problem isn't technical, and it doesn't need money. The question is whether they can gather the materials needed for the restoration. The bald guy got super excited again. Yuto said that to work, he needs a complete analysis of the chrome inscription technique used 2,000 years ago. With access to that knowledge, he can do the job. Now the minister is more excited. A ray of light appeared on the dark horizon. Our boy was taken to the place where artifacts are kept hidden. At this bank, he can access stored scrolls. He's already being taken to the person in charge of the place. She said it's already time to close, and asked him to come back the next day. Yuto said he's there at the government's request, and he also has a diamond credit card. The woman with glasses immediately remembered our main character. If it were business hours, she'd treat him really well. Unfortunately, that's not the case. Our boy thought about withdrawing all the money he has from that bank. The woman said he's free to do whatever he wants. That's when an old man rushed into that room in a panic. He apologized for what happened. It's all a big misunderstanding. He invited the manager to have dinner with them so he could apologize to our boy. She agreed, but said she'll drive her own car. She prefers that because the old man's car is already pretty beat up. That comment hit the old man's ego hard. Now that they're heading to the restaurant, Yuto said the old man is being way too submissive. That kind of behavior from a manager is unacceptable. But he said he can't blame her. I understand exactly what she's going through. A few years ago, that woman was just a regular employee. Since our boy always asked her to handle his transactions, she ended up becoming a manager in no time. In just a few months, her career took off like crazy. Thinking she had a close connection with our boy, the people at the bank started treating him really well. Yuto quickly realized what's going on, and to make it worse, that woman doesn't act grateful. People really do change easily. Even if she quit working now, she could live comfortably for the rest of her life. Once at the restaurant, the woman started ordering a bunch of really expensive dishes. Fujiwara, the old man with glasses, said that's way too much food for just 3 people. The woman said that's the least they can do for Yuto, a special client, and if anything's left over, she's already ready to take it home. Yuto and the old man realized she'd already planned for this. She wants to get fired, and with her severance, she wants to live very comfortably. The girl ended up going to the bathroom, and a restaurant employee said he prepared Mr. Fujiwara's standard gift. The sweets from that place are really special, and have to be ordered months in advance. They usually gift these sweets to important customers. A simple gesture of kindness. Yuto really liked the way he was being treated. Wanting to return the favor, he asked if Fujiwara would like to see that disobedient manager get what she deserves. A bit uneasy about the idea, he said it's his duty to guide his subordinates toward a successful career. That's when our main character asked for his honest opinion. Now, determined, Fujiwara wants to know if there's a scenario that benefits all of them. After they finished the meal, the bratty manager realized they weren't going to eat anymore, and she's already ready to take everything home. Yuto grabbed her by the arm, questioning the manager, saying she's way too comfortable doing that kind of thing. He even said that dessert was never offered to him. The woman assured him she could send one to him every day. Suspicious of her, Yuto raised the possibility that she might be hiding things even more valuable. That made the manager really uncomfortable. Yuto had a brief talk with Fujiwara about the bank's gifts. Our boy never received anything. The value of all those gifts is over 10 yen. Now the manager started getting really scared. She hopes the old man will defend her, but he stays completely silent in the face of the accusations. Desperate, she said she could return everything if our boy wants. Because she was having trouble getting in touch with him. Yuto doesn't buy that lame excuse because she has his personal number and knows where he lives. Now she's going to talk to his lawyers. Fujiwara didn't like that approach because he's got a reputation to protect. The manager started to feel welcomed, and she said she's going to take inspiration from him from now on. But he pushed her away right away, saying that this matter will be handled through an internal audit, which ended up completely crushing the manager's pride. With that business meeting, they managed to get rid of one more troublesome person from that place. Our boy is impressed by the old man's attitude. What she did was really serious. The manager is definitely going to spend a few years in prison because she embezzled a lot of resources before she got into her sports car. A rock smashed her windshield. A rich girl said that manager had scratched her car. As payback for what happened, she had her goons wreck the manager's sports car. With her hair being yanked, the manager said she's going to call the police because she's being extorted to pay compensation to that rich girl. Having to pay 50 yen, since she can't transfer that money, the rich girl is going to take the manager's car for herself, letting her goons keep destroying the vehicle. Fujiwara already knew that girl was going to bring a lot of trouble. Watching our protagonist, he asked if he's not going to help the poor manager, who embezzled a bunch of resources. Our boy has a really notable kind of facial recognition, and he realized that rich girl is the glasses-wearing intern who was at the company the day before, and he just found out something really interesting about her, so he needs to do some digging. Later he went to Uchiyama's birthday, another old guy in this story, and he was greeted by his daughter. They live far from the city, because the old man likes breathing fresh air. Yuto only went there because he heard the old man wanted to talk to him, but this man's daughter won't stop taking shots at our boy. Inside the house, a bunch of people showed up to congratulate him, and they're all very important. Fukami is one of those big shots, the chief police inspector, who's also being praised for being part of that family. The old man told Fukami to be more responsible, he shouldn't be skipping work to be there, but the inspector assured him he'd never miss a celebration like that, and he'd already taken care of all his responsibilities. Finally, the girl brought our protagonist to her father. It's been a while since the last time they were together, and the old man thanked Yuto for the saxophone. And that left our boy impressed. They'd only met once, and the old man hadn't forgotten. Fukami asked Akari who our boy is. Looks like he's already jealous. Being treated formally by his own sister shook him even more. Fukami is sure that a weakling like our boy won't be able to protect his sister, and he's already upset about it. Hearing that, Yuto said you can't judge a book by its cover. A police inspector didn't like that comment, and he's already ready to say some pretty aggressive things. For the love of God, the argument turned into a fight, and the chief inspector said he's only going to use 30% of his power. Furious, he's already ready to finish off our protagonist. But his moves are way too slow, he can't land anything. Now the chief inspector started getting a headache, like something suddenly hit him. The people watching started to worry about Fukami. One of them figured our protagonist might have used some dirty trick. Even feeling sick, Fukami said he can still keep fighting. The moment he finished saying that, he ended up throwing up a lot. The bodyguard said if our boy used anything dirty, he'll be held responsible. But the inspector assured them that's not what happened, and he's ready to fight fair. Yuto said it's easy to beat someone who's sick, because he won't last more than 30 minutes. Using the system to analyze the situation, Yuto said Fukami has a parasite in his brain, and at this rate he's going to end up dying. The family's bodyguards think that's just trash talk. A little freaked out, the inspector said that's impossible. He gets health checkups every 3 months. So Yuto asked if he'd been to Southeast Asia in the last 2 years, near the border of 2 countries close to the ocean, and from the inspector's expression, that's true. That's the region where this parasite exists, and it used to be a place focused on developing biological weapons, and what he has now is one of the most dangerous ones, and it can't be detected by normal tests. Hearing that, the old man started to get worried, but only the inspector has the real answer. When the poison spreads through the body, it causes the feeling like your bones are being stabbed with needles. Fukami is in complete agony, going through all the symptoms. Desperate, Akami wants to know if there's anything they can do about it. After all that commotion, they took Fukami to a room to rest. Akami brought a container of water, and she's kind of in disbelief that this is enough. Since it's our protagonist's first time, he needs a lot of care, and he said the procedure is going to be really painful. Fukami ignored the warnings and said a man has to endure anything. What he wants is to prove to his sister that he's still a real man. Yuto started the procedure, sticking in the first needle. He did it over and over, causing his patient a lot of pain. Thanks to the system's powers, this won't be difficult at all. The people watching the procedure are scared. It really does look extremely painful. Yuto found the parasite's position and hit it with his needle. It was hidden in a very peculiar spot. Fukami definitely felt the worst pain of his entire life. After that intense treatment session, his illness was finally cured. One of the guards asked where the parasite was, thinking it was all just an act. That's when Yuto moved quickly to show what had happened. Seeing a bit of blood on his hands, the guard started to get really worried, and our protagonist told him to look closely. There was an insect there. Usually they're invisible, and they take on color after absorbing blood. Now everyone knows our protagonist was right in his diagnosis. The old man asked if his son was going to be okay, and our protagonist assured him he would. In fact, that parasite could be considered a very rare treasure, so it'll be kept as evidence, since it may have been the result of an ambush. Finally, the elderly man decided to thank our boy, who's already leaving with his daughter. Despite Fukami's jealousy, the old man realized his daughter made a good choice. That night he was already completely recovered, believing he'd handled the pain like a real man. However, he started acting weird. His voice now sounds like a woman's. Someone went to the room to see what was going on. That's when Fukami realized his voice had become feminine, and so had his body movements. Our protagonist started remembering the last needle move that had to be used. He might have hit the wrong pressure point, causing a complete gender reversal. Getting back to his main task, our boy is inspecting that ancient relic. The minister is really excited about this cauldron. It's like visiting the past. Since he wouldn't stop talking near the artifact, Yuto covered his mouth with his hands. Too much moisture is harmful. The restoration is already finished, but they need one night for everything to turn out perfect. The humidity and lighting have to stay constant, so it doesn't ruin what was done. Outside, our boy saw a bunch of materials and asked if they were doing some kind of construction. The place's security is being upgraded, and that glasses-wearing intern is in charge of it. An employee bumped into the ladder she was using, and the girl is about to fall to the ground, but she ended up falling onto our protagonist's body. She was really embarrassed when she realized she'd squished Yuto's face with her hip. After getting up, she introduced herself properly. Her name is Nana, and now she works in security there. She also thanked Yuto for what he did during her interview. Thanks to that, she managed to get hired at the tech company. Our boy said he only opened a door. She's the one who took the steps herself, but she's still really grateful, saying she's socially awkward, and if it weren't for him, nothing would have worked out. Yuto showed some interest in her, saying the girl seems really brave when it comes to intimidating people. That immediately made Nana uncomfortable. Yuto said it's no big deal, he's just gotta keep working, and said goodbye to her. Nana doesn't know what's going on, but she understood our protagonist is very cautious. Using his phone, Yuto asked if Fujiwara had already managed to dig up information about Nana. The old man is very efficient. She's the illegitimate daughter of the owner of the Star Cyber Company. Our protagonist is now putting all the pieces on this board together. It could be that her goal isn't just that company. She has a brother who tried to sabotage our boy. His name is Hoshino. This family is attacking our protagonist in every way possible. It's time for him to react too. During the Antiques event, several guests are being taken to the cauldron. The minister proudly presents a 3,000-year-old artifact, revealing the illustrious relic to all the guests. But it's covered in rust, and the minister doesn't know what happened. Yuto said he was hired for a temporary job. That's the best he can do. With so many reporters there this time, the minister started getting really worried. It didn't take long for the guests to start making fun of what had happened. Their acting is terrible. Nana came over too, bringing urgent news. What they're showing isn't the real cauldron. It had been swapped for a fake copy. Desperate, the minister asked if the cameras hadn't managed to capture anything. The data was deleted, and after an analysis, they came to the conclusion that the culprit is our protagonist. Now everyone is shocked, except our boy Nana said she has proof from the images that were left over. The police are already here, ready to take our boy away. Since he's the only suspect, he's going to be arrested immediately. Even with the accusations, the minister tries to defend our boy, believing he's an honest professional. The The cop shows there's no misunderstanding. They got an anonymous tip, and our boy is going to be arrested. The real cauldron has already been recovered. He already has all the evidence he needs. Now the reporters are accusing our boy of being a thief, and that he should be punished to the fullest extent of the law. It's time for our star to shine. Yuto has something to show all these people. A day before everything happened, Hoshino met up with his thugs, thinking he was going to pull off the win, because nobody knows that Nana is actually his sister. While he was thinking about that, someone hit him from behind. Hoshino asked why his henchman did that, and the guy said he got excited, thinking about the glorious future they'll have. Ignoring what happened, he was told everything is going perfectly. The original cauldron is already being loaded onto a ship. It's the guarantee they'll get back everything that was lost. Everything is being done according to his plan. To eliminate any witnesses, Hoshino ended his subordinate's life, since he's not needed anymore, dumping his body into the ocean. He's still barely alive, and Hoshino mocked his henchman, who did so many wrong things for him, and never suspected a thing, even badly hurt. He's still begging for another chance. Unfortunately, Hoshino doesn't want to keep paying this guy. It'll be better if he dies that night. The ship now heads to its destination. Inside it, a girl was already waiting for the old mustache guy. It's time for them to enjoy the rest of that night. The woman is really eager to put a few things into practice. She uses her whip to humiliate Hoshino, who seems to really like that kind of thing. The more he gets hit, the happier he gets. Being treated like a total servant by this extra. For the love of God, the guy is the worst kind of pervert there is. All of that was just a virtual experience. Using the competitor's technology, Hoshino took off the glasses, not understanding what had happened. The henchman he had killed is still alive. Hoshino is completely confused. He doesn't understand how he got betrayed, and now the henchman is sure he can't trust his former boss. He took the chance to gather a bunch of evidence against him. That henchman is only alive because of our protagonist stepping in. Talking straight to the camera, the henchman said everything is in Yuto's hands from now on. That's exactly what our protagonist had to show those cops. Nana also got exposed in the process, and she doesn't know how our boy managed to do all of this. She wanted to sabotage the company so her father could buy its shares way cheaper. Our protagonist uncovered everything, and now the police should take her into custody. But the cop there seems really dumb. He completely ignored the evidence that was presented. That left our protagonist genuinely surprised. That's when Yuto realized the minister is involved too. He's the mastermind behind this plan. Now he's accusing our protagonist, ordering the cops to take him in. Furious, Yuto said he's going to expose what happened, and the minister said he already did his own investigation. Our protagonist doesn't have connections to powerful people. Now he's going to be taken by the police, and if he wants to resist arrest, he'll catch a few bullets. Several cops showed up. They look like an elite unit, with much more powerful weapons, and they held everyone in the room at gunpoint, leaving the minister completely desperate, saying that was an act against the state itself. It's a chief police inspector who came to save the day. He's the one in charge of that operation. Now that the minister's been found out trying to sabotage our protagonist, it's time to make him pay. The police inspector is excited to have found our protagonist, and he's already acting around him in an extremely careful and suspicious way. Yuto isn't dumb. He recognized the guy, and he knows he pushed a few buttons he shouldn't have. The inspector is desperate to fix his problem. The National Guard was called in to investigate the case, to the minister's despair. Hierarchy-wise, they're not above them anymore, but the minister tried to intimidate his way out of it. He said he's connected to the prime minister, and that he can get all those men fired. All that got him was a kick right in the middle of the chest, to shut him up. A very important man, the prime minister himself, stepped in and apologized to the protagonist for dragging him into all that. That corrupt guy is going to be punished for trying to steal a national treasure, and for trying to frame an innocent person. Representing the state in this situation, the prime minister apologized to our boy once again. Everyone will be punished according to the law. Completely desperate, the corrupt guy tries to say it's all a lie, and that they set him up. Now our protagonist can fix the mistake he made, putting the needle in the right spot. The procedure has to be done without anesthesia, and it definitely wasn't pleasant at all. The prime minister ended up witnessing all of it, and he praised our boy's skill. He has some important things to discuss right now. Recovered from the pain he felt, the police chief has questions about that parasite insect. Yuto said it's really hard to process that material, but it's extremely valuable. It can control the target's actions. The person becomes nothing but a puppet. The body can be split into two entities, each going after completely different goals. Our boy didn't imagine Fukami was working for the prime minister. The person who put the parasite in him must have the prime minister as the target. Yuto used his eye ability to analyze the old man, confirming that he isn't infected in any way. After what happened with Fukami, security was doubled. Because of everything that happened, the prime minister would like to publicly honor our boy, but since everything is so intense, the government can only give a formal commendation, and for our protagonist, that's more than enough. He felt extremely proud hearing it. In the newspaper, the May group is getting credit for what happened, boosting their popularity and their market value. That's exactly what our protagonist wanted. He completed the system's last mission, and thanks to that, he won't have trouble peeing. At least now he can breathe a sigh of relief. Yuto noticed that drink is a little different. His secretary said she made it especially for him, to boost his energy. He started to get a little worried, sensing the malice in his secretary's heart. Unfortunately, they were interrupted by a visitor arriving, and the woman said to come see her that night, because she'd like to try some new things. The one who came to visit was that weirdo from the other tech company. The Prime Minister is going to reward our boy with a treasure, something unique on the planet. Yuto is already ready to go get that valuable item immediately. However, the item is in a place that doesn't let it be taken easily. They have to go to another country, and they'll need an interpreter for the job. Yuto is already starting to get worried, and the weirdo told him that great responsibility requires great skills. Near the border with that other country, a woman is washing clothes. As they got closer, they could tell the scenery there is really very different. Yuto already noticed the weirdo is admiring those female bodies in a pretty pervy way. The meeting they need to have will be in 2 days. Until then, they suggested they check out the region. The weirdo is already eager to put that into action, thinking he might meet a really beautiful woman. Yuto said he won't go with them. He'd rather stay near the hotel, when really he wants access to the system's new bonus. The weirdo promised he'd keep Mika in the dark about everything that's going to happen in that place, but our protagonist ignores him. At night, he decided to walk around the city streets a bit. He ended up witnessing something unusual, a man being rude to a woman. He said she's causing problems for his customers. After being hired, a woman accused the girl of splashing water on her clothes, but she tries to say that isn't true, and that the woman poured water on herself on purpose. The restaurant owner doesn't believe her, and keeps humiliating his employee. Yuto already gets what's going on. That old woman is a liar. Now the employee's money is being illegally confiscated. If she doesn't want to hand over the money, she'll have to pay with her own body. Her orphan siblings are there to witness everything. Our protagonist decided to act right then and there, protecting the poor girl from a pretty dark future. If money is what those people want, he can give them plenty of it. Tossing a few bills into the air, he made the old woman act like a dog. Now he can leave with the girl. She thanked him for saving her, and Yuto noticed they speak the same language. The girl said she lived in his country for 3 years. Yuto asked if she was sick, and the waitress said she has a liver infection, but can't get treatment because she's poor, and she still has to support her orphan siblings. The waitress started to panic because she was being chased and told our protagonist to run as soon as he found the girl. The restaurant owner started hitting her. He also threatened our protagonist with a gun, saying he had to pay $50 for what he did. Then our guy realized those men were trying to intimidate him. Even the old woman is there with them, ready to shake our boy down. Yuto isn't scared of these nobodies. He suggested they just start shooting already. So the restaurant owner, the gang leader, decided to aim for the protagonist's legs. Before anything worse happened, Yuto revealed his new skill, a dimensional safe. A bunch of cash appeared out of absolutely nowhere, and one of the bills ended up slicing that bastard's face. In that dimensional space, he can store anything within a 50-meter radius, as long as it isn't alive, and it can be thrown at any target. After getting cut, the gang leader got even angrier and told his goons to finish our boy off, but their guns got smacked away by money. To our boy, these nobodies are useless. If they belong to some powerful mafia group, it doesn't matter. Our boy told the waitress to come with him if she wants to be cured of her illness. Going back to his country, she'll definitely be cured. Now in our protagonist's room, she's going through a pretty intense procedure. Yuto is doing his best to make sure everything goes right. His healing technique is seriously impressive, and it left the waitress giving him a really suspicious look. The weirdo ended up walking into the room right then, because he brought our boy a late-night snack, but he found him with a beautiful woman. He was amazed at the guy's skills, total flirting machine. Later, the orphans were shocked by that amount of food. Yuto told them to eat a lot. They shouldn't worry about anything at all. He also had to explain the whole situation to the weirdo. He was just curing that woman's illness. Even so, he has a hard time believing that story. Meanwhile, the kids are taking the eat a lot assignment seriously. Yuto told them to slow down so they wouldn't risk choking. The waitress is still really embarrassed. She didn't want to cause our protagonist any more trouble. Yuto started thinking of a suitable job for her, so she could support her family without stress. A film crew is shooting a movie in that country. The waitress is working for them now. Since the local laws are different, they end up allowing certain work situations. At least our protagonist already put her somewhere safer. And that idiot has no idea he'd met the protagonist of the story. He keeps barking orders at the waitress because the work there is really fast-paced. The shoot is going to take 2 months. During that time, the waitress's life will be taken care of. Our protagonist offered a few comforting words, offering to carry heavy stuff for her. When he set the table where it was supposed to go, that actress, our boy's childhood friend, asked what he was doing there. She thought he'd only come to see her. If that was the reason, he could have just told her directly, and everything would have been easier. An extra walked up to them asking the actress if they're friends. He got annoyed, said Yuto being there is messing up the schedule, and Mo Xiaobei that's not true. Our protagonist decided to walk up to that actor, who's getting way too full of himself. He explained that he came there to do a job. He wanted to know what the conditions were like there, but that just made the actor even angrier. He told the security guards to kick our boy out of there. His childhood friend isn't going to let something like that happen, but the extra is really cocky, said he's the lead actor in this movie. his proud little speech got cut off by someone important, saying that if the actor isn't satisfied, he'll be kicked out and will have to pay the contract penalty. Before long, he started apologizing to the director, showing he's the man in charge around there. The director also said the one funding all of it is Yuto, the guy the actor was arguing with just now. Because of that, the jerk had to show off his acting skills for a while, so he wouldn't get fired. For the people watching, it was really interesting, but for the actor, it was pretty exhausting. Yuto noticed that attention-seeking machine was loving all of this. Mo Xiaobei said our protagonist is being seen like a money tree. That's why the actor is trying so hard, since he doesn't want to mess up the filming anymore. Yuto told them to stick to the schedule, but now he wants to know why the jerk was messing with his childhood friend Shinozuka. Didn't tell the truth, because the director quickly changed the subject, like he didn't know what was going on. He started telling our boy the movie's story, and Shinozuka asked if our protagonist thinks she can pull off a good performance, but she's so close to our boy, he started wanting other things. Now I don't know if she headbutted him, or if she bit our guy's neck. It was really weird. Yuto is just as confused, and the director noticed he's really popular with women. An officer from the neighboring country's army is bringing news. It's about some rewards, and about those valuable artifacts. Yuto quickly saw they're all in the national treasure class. If they're being offered like this, there has to be something behind it. So they asked the captain a few more questions, and he warned them the most valuable item still hadn't arrived. He decided to take that group of foreigners outside. Looking at the horizon, Yuto realized they're heading toward a mountain. The captain showed them the way. They have to go into a huge cave now. Some soldiers are bringing minerals, and they're all blue. Yuto identified it right away, thanks to his system skill. It's an ore made from cesium, a material needed for electric car batteries. Everyone's impressed by how much our protagonist knows. That's why the Prime Minister chose him. It's an important raw material, but because of some legal issues, they won't be able to import it. These two countries are in a major international deadlock. Our protagonist is starting to feel like a smuggler, since the government is using him. Some men came up to that area, and they're looking for someone. It's that gang of thugs that showed up in earlier chapters. They say they run this place. He told our boy to beg for his life on his knees, and if he doesn't, he'll end up really miserable. While the captain freaks out, our protagonist completely ignores the danger. Little by little, the soldiers are getting ready for a fight. They're armed with digging tools, more than enough to dish out pain and suffering to those thugs. Keeping security in that place is hard, but now that the bandits are all gathered up, the job got easy. They're already getting properly punished. The thug's leader is totally regretful. He didn't expect to run into the army so soon, with the protagonist along with them. Yuto, hearing about those men's punishment, realized they're having problems with grass in the area. The captain said this is just the first cave. They're exploring others too, but the grass grows really fast in that place. That ends up needing a lot of manpower. And hearing that, Yuto came up with a great idea. He brought the waitress and her orphan brothers, and asked if they could do that job. He also said he'll cover all the upkeep costs related to her. To motivate the waitress, Yuto said he'll invest in her so she can hire helpers. The grass she cuts can also be sold in the city, and for the army captain, she can do whatever she wants. Totally grateful, the waitress hugged our boy. Having a real job for her is like living a dream. Yuto was happy about that, and said he'll come by regularly to see how things are going. The captain cut our boy off because he still has some news to share. About the ore, they can't take it back that way. It needs to go by a route through the South Sea. Our boy doesn't like that part, because it's a really risky trip. Coming up to him, one of the men in the group brought up the parasite insect case. They're going to pass through this region. It's where the conspirators are, the ones who tried to attack the Prime Minister. They'll need to stop there for a day to resupply. Our boy said he doesn't need everyone to go with him. That just increases the risk, but the weirdo would never leave our boy alone at a time like this. Not to mention there are lots of pretty women in this country, and he wants to keep sightseeing. Yuto is already starting to worry about this guy. He's not far from becoming the victim of some bizarre crime. Knowing the area, Yuto really liked the coastal weather. He also noticed the women there are extremely theirs, and one of those girls who was sunbathing ended up looking at our guy. Without thinking twice, she decided to get closer to him, and even without saying a word, she started kissing the protagonist's neck. Looks like she's being followed, and she decided to give our boy the privilege of helping her. Yuto thought that attitude was insanely arrogant. Still, she really is gorgeous, enough to make our boy go along with it. The blonde girl already knows our protagonist is from the neighboring country, so she suggested he pretend to be with her, like a real traveler. Yuto thought it over and turned her down. Since he already has something to do that day, he knows she's really pretty, so plenty of men would be willing to help her. But what our boy really wants is to stay away from trouble. Even so, the mysterious girl hugged him one more time. She didn't expect things to go down like that. Yuto said that kind of approach doesn't work on him. That's when he noticed she's infected with that damn parasite. So he had to take her to his quarters. Curing her is going to be even harder than what he did with Fukami. Maybe he'll get a system bonus for helping this girl, but seeing the parasite's presence is still strong, he thought the system might be broken. The cure still wasn't finished. He needs to keep working hard. For the love of God, his room door is always open. Another interruption. The extra immediately saw that something fun was going on, and apologized for interrupting. One more person Yuto will have to explain himself to later. Outside, the extras are impressed with the protagonist, who's a real hunter. Joining them, Yuto told them not to be ridiculous. He said that girl was sick too, and he had to bring her onto the ship for immediate treatment. But now that everything's done, she can be dropped off at the next port. The girl never imagined our protagonist could solve the situation with poison. Her older sister did it on purpose, to lure in bait. She could also read the future, and maybe this is the man from the prophecy. Still, the blonde girl has doubts, and she doesn't believe our protagonist is anything special. The ship started running into massive waves. A whirlpool formed ahead, and the author is broken. It's time to abandon the ship. The extras panic, thinking they're going to die out in that ocean. Near them, there's another ship. It's time to ask for help. A mysterious guy fired a flare that made the other vessel notice what was going on, but it looks like there are some very delicious men on it. They just turned around and left. Ignoring the distress call, Yuto doesn't know why something like this is happening. He was warned the situation is really dangerous, so they might be going to call for reinforcements. Now the weirdo is completely on edge, believing they've been totally abandoned. Our protagonist realized that isn't just a simple whirlpool, they're being attacked. The blonde girl wants to know how he can be so spot on with that diagnosis. Believing that Yuto knows they need to take positions immediately, using his new powers he decided to use object teleportation. Something happened with the other vessel, draining a lot of the protagonist's energy. The blonde girl realized that's a vertical sea technique. Maybe he really is the practitioner her sister talked about. Since he's weakened, our boy needed a bit of support. But the real danger is still getting closer. It's the men abandoning that other vessel. More and more curious about it. The blonde girl wants to know if Yuto can really help them. The weird guy made sure to remind them that ship almost abandoned them. Still, the girl remembered that when there's an accidental death, things get even more complicated. And in fact, our protagonist doesn't want to abandon these people, but he also doesn't want to expose himself to danger. So it was decided they'll wait until the other sailors swim closer. Before long, cause some men were rescued, they were exhausted from that swim. Another vessel started getting really close, but our protagonist is still confused. He was told it belongs to the Coast Guard, and maybe it's coming to arrest them. The vessel is getting very close. Our boy knows these people created the whirlpool, and now they sent a big ship to capture them. One of the extras didn't understand that theory. Yuto said there's a device underwater that messed with their communications and caused all that trouble. The blonde girl can't believe that's true either. Yuto is sure the device is hidden. If they look for it, they'll find it. The extra said the relationship between the countries is friendly. It doesn't make sense for there to be so many problems right now. Even if they want the ore that's over there, that's a much bigger risk than it's worth. But Yuto said they might be after something else. Soldiers from the other ship are starting to come aboard. One of the extras told our protagonist to protect himself, because they don't know what these people want. Our boy, on the other hand, wants to figure that out first. The soldiers who came onto the boat gave a really friendly salute, and their commander introduced himself too. Going straight up to our protagonist, he asked him to come with them so they could talk on solid ground. The extra who's with our boy didn't like that idea, saying they forced their way in, but the commander doesn't seem to know what they're talking about. He even thanked everyone for rescuing the ship that had trouble. That's not the kind of reaction our protagonist was expecting. The weirdo isn't wasting any time either. With his tech gadgets, he's recording and live streaming everything that happens there. That made everyone feel a bit safer. The mayor of the foreign city is there too, and he wants to give our boy honorary citizenship. A lot of spotlights are on him right now. A henchman talks to the commander and asked why the plan to sink that ship didn't happen. He told his men they need to be more patient. The device hidden in the water had failed. Now they can blame that woman, since this could turn into an international incident. The commander called his henchman an idiot. Satellites might have recorded that whole thing. The truth is, they missed a huge opportunity, but the commander knows about the mind control parasites. They still have a chance. Yuto managed to get to land, and he's pretty exhausted after that messed up day. The blonde girl wants to know if he's going back to his country now. She won't stop calling him a practitioner, and Yuto doesn't understand what that means, so she revealed he's the man from her sister's prophecy. Believing that, she decided to attack our protagonist really brutally. Yuto was immediately confused, and told her not to get the wrong idea about him. The blonde girl just ignored those words, saying she's looking forward to seeing him again. Sure, that fate will make them meet, but our protagonist still has no idea what she's talking about. Finally, our boy managed to get back to his city, and he was welcomed by the Prime Minister, who already knows about all the problems that happened on this trip. Yuto said there was no accident, it was all planned. Since he completed a big task, it's time to be rewarded. Our boy is hoping it's money or gold. The old man said they got some political concessions. In the trade area, Yuto realized they're going to share national secrets with him. He doesn't want to be part of that, so he clears up a little bit of those facts. A very beautiful blonde woman showed up there. It's that girl who kissed our protagonist. On that broadcast, she apologized for the trouble she caused. Now the trade regulations are being changed because of what happened. That's the queen of the neighboring nation. Just like she said, or predicted, the blonde girl met our protagonist one more time. Yuto definitely didn't think he'd end up meeting a queen on that beach. Now he's thinking about what she could do if she says he was disrespectful. He'll be in serious trouble. She could even keep him in custody in her country. Our boy is starting to panic. Looking at our protagonist, the queen said he needs to apologize. She just inherited the throne, and the political situation is a mess, so she can't settle the legal issues between the countries. But with the protagonist's help, she got a big strategic advantage. After that meeting, Yuto understood he was a target to be taken out, and they wanted to use that to make the queen abdicate the for interfering in her life. He ended up earning points in the system, and a bonus to be delivered in the future. Our boy wanted to get it now, but accepted the system's limitation. Answering a call, Saki told our boy to come back home. They're going to visit grandma's grave, and the girl is stuck at work. However, her coworker said she can help with that. She'll talk to the teacher so she can miss classes. Yuto and his sister will go back home together thanks to that. Now the whole family managed to pay their respects to grandma's memory. Our protagonist's dad introduces his kids and apologized for not showing up every year. Mika is there too, and she introduced herself as the future daughter-in-law, making it very clear she wants to marry Yuto. Since that was a private moment, Yuto scolded his sister for bringing an outsider. Saki said her friend insisted a lot on coming too, saying she wanted to be part of it. Our protagonist's mom was really polite, thanking the girl for coming, but what surprised his parents was the way she talked to them, calling them her in-laws. With that little awkward moment, Mika had to take it back. Noticing there was only one grave, she asked if the grandpa was still alive, and the protagonist's dad asked to change the subject. Yuto said the old man had cheated on his own wife, left the family and cut off contact with them. Our boy's dad said Kohei has been taking care of those graves for years and they should talk to him right now. In a house nearby, some men try to intimidate Seita, telling him to pay the money already. Our boy's dad knows Seita is Kohei's son, and he started getting worried about the situation. The boy asked for a little more time, but those thugs already know what they want. They want that land as payment. So they went into the house to grab the paperwork, forcing the boy to make a deal. Seeing all that, our protagonist's dad decided to step in too, wanting to know what's going on. Seita said he had to borrow 2 yen from those guys a month ago to pay for his dad's treatment, and now he's being shaken down to pay that debt. Our protagonist finally understood what was going on, saying he'll pay that amount. Showing a wad of cash, he said it should be more than enough. According to our boy's dad, Seita and Yuto used to play together when they were kids. One of those thugs noticed there was a lot of money there, and started thinking about taking advantage of the opportunity. Yuto sensed what they were like, greedy, and said they must be looking for a fight. The thug said to pay the amount they asked for. It has to be at least 5 times more than what was borrowed. Before he could even take the money, he ended up getting hit by our protagonist. Yuto said the thugs aren't in any position to make demands, and they should be more polite. It didn't take long for our protagonist to start teaching those thugs a lesson, with a bunch of slaps to the face. That's the payment they're going to get. After a session of countless slaps, our boy asked how much he still needed to pay, and the asshole said it was enough already. Yuto said he couldn't hear the asshole's demand. If he'd known, he would have stopped earlier. Our boy's sister realized he was being really sneaky, because the asshole had his mouth shut, covered with duct tape. After that brief suffering, the punks decided to leave. Our boy's family is worried, saying he overdid it a bit, but Yuto wisely said they shouldn't feel sorry for a thug. As for the boy who was being extorted, he's really grateful now, and to show it, he made a great meal for everyone. Saki is really interested in how the homemade sausages taste. They make them by hand, and sales have been getting better and better, or so our boy's dad believes. At the last town festival, the mayor liked them a lot, which boosted the business's popularity. That way they managed to sell to several restaurants, and they're already thinking about selling online. Saki told Maki to try that delicacy too. While chewing the sausage, she admitted the smoky flavor is seriously impressive. The patriarch is happy that this family's business is doing well, and said if they have problems, they can just talk to him. Saki revealed he doesn't want to get rich, but they already offered 2 yen for the family recipe, which his dad refused, and since then some really weird people have been making offers to them. Our boy understood this is happening on purpose. There are bad people interested in that recipe. Somewhere else the thugs told what happened. Now friends of that family are involved in this situation too. For God's sake, the guy trying to extort this family is Masanori's half-brother, and possibly our protagonist's uncle. Now they need to think of another plan. Kuwana said the solution is really simple. They can make their own recipe, but they'll depend on advertising to make big sales. It's a risky strategy, so they should commit to it. Using the best platform to promote the mayor's sausage, Kuwana told his underlings to gather capable people. It's time to put everything into action. After some time, some people went to Seita's house, and he said he's not going to sell the secret recipe, but his aunt claimed this is a problem for the whole town, and he shouldn't keep the profit to himself. His ill-intentioned relatives suggested they start a company to split all the profits. That way the whole village will prosper. They're trying to squeeze the boy any way they can, saying he was helped in the past, but he remembered that when his dad was sick, none of those people wanted to help Kuwana. Tried to get the boy to see things differently. He's willing to pay for the recipe, and pay really well. 10 yen seems like a pretty tempting amount to him. And the opportunist praised Kuwana's generosity, but he says he's doing all this for the village, as a loan to all of them. News that definitely didn't make those people happy. Since they can't pay such a huge amount, Kuwana said he'll accept their houses as collateral. After the business became a success, they could pay it back without any trouble. That's when the protagonist showed up, saying he'll cover Seita's father's treatment. The boy didn't expect to hear something like that. But our protagonist admits it's the least he can do. The recipe can stay in the family. He's not interested in it. Seita thanked him and said he's not selling anything, leaving Kawana desperate. On top of that, for Seita's father, selling the recipe would stain the family's reputation. The opportunists are leaving now, really angry, promising they'd make an even better recipe. Mika said those people aren't completely wrong. With the right marketing, that could become a hit. Our protagonist doesn't see any challenge in this situation, because the only person he needs to worry about there is that mustached old man Kawana, who looks like he's trying to scam everyone. It didn't take long for a competing sausage to show up. Those same opportunists are saying this is the sausage that won over the mayor, broadcasting this news live. They're eager to rack up a bunch of sales, but the price announced for the first batch caused an argument, because it's way too cheap. But it looks like this strategy is working. Orders are coming in real time, sales are hitting unbelievable numbers. Everything is going just like they planned. Soon they'll pay off the loan and humiliate that selfish kid who'll always stay poor. Yuto asked Seita if he isn't confused, seeing that his competitors are making tons of sales. The boy said he's already grateful enough for getting help with his father's treatment. Other people's profit has nothing to do with him. What matters is keeping his own livelihood going. Mika realized she knows President Kawana from somewhere, and showed our protagonist too. The boy's parents watch closely how near those two are to each other. Now, our protagonist would like to talk to Seita for a bit. After a few hours, some really rude people are banging on the boy's front door. He opened it to see what's going on. Looks like the sales ran into a big problem. They're accusing Seita of sabotaging their reputation, showing some disturbing news. A bunch of criticism is blowing up online, saying those sausages are awful. Completely furious. They want to kick Seita out of that village. The crowd's rage is so intense they want to destroy the boy's house. Our protagonist decided to step in and said if anyone touches that house, they'll regret it deeply. Now everyone is being accused of conspiring against the sausage sales. Mika suggested they should find out what Kawana is really doing, but the villagers don't believe that, because they borrowed money from him, so this industry could even exist. Saki can't understand these people. Even after being tricked, they still believe that con man. Finally, Kawana decided to show up, and the villagers told him sales are going from bad to worse. Looks like he already knows everything that happened, and because of this situation, he's going to stop investing in that village. Devastating news for all those jealous people. Kawana said he wanted to help everyone, but it looks like he was the one who got tricked by them, since they make low-quality products. Now the jealous ones are totally confused, not understanding where they're being sabotaged. That sausage's public image is already ruined, and that's why this project has to end. Finally, they understood there won't be any money to pay back the loans. Everyone is begging Kawana to do something. Being really sly, he said he can do something more. But before he could say anything, our protagonist threw a sausage at the old man's head. The hit was so hard it knocked his wig onto the ground. Yuto said that sausage-selling project is actually nothing but a scam, and that the whole village was fooled by this man. Kawana gets absolutely furious at all these accusations. Yuto said the first day's sales were way too big, so they ordered some sausages from Kawana's own factory. The boy showed a sausage he had bought on that occasion, showing all the villagers that it hadn't been made by them. Kawana deliberately sent spoiled products to sabotage those people's business. Completely furious, the bald guy is saying all of this is a lie. Mika, on the other hand, made it clear that this guy is an expert at scamming people. Now everyone is completely outraged about what happened. What he really wanted was to lend money to these townspeople to boost his profits as much as possible. Since he sold them his own pigs and feed little by little, they're realizing how they were actually tricked. It's time to reveal the most important part, a completely devastating truth that only made Baldy even more uncomfortable. Yuto said that hot springs were discovered in that area, and the goal was to build a big luxury hotel to squeeze out profit. Getting people into debt would make it easier to buy up all the homes in the area. The truth just crushed everyone. Our protagonist is laying out the truth for them, and now all those jealous townspeople finally get it. An official announcement from City Hall is going to happen in a few days. That's why this bald guy is freaking out. With all this evidence, the villagers realize they were totally scammed, and they're saying the contract isn't valid at all. There's nothing Baldy can do now. Before he could even try to defend himself, he got smacked with the sausage again. It's time for these jealous people to teach the scammer a lesson, beating the bald guy up really aggressively. Desperate, he tries to call on his bodyguards for help, but their pay is way too low to take that risk. And their village also got hit by a similar scam. Now he's the one getting completely humiliated. He threatened to take it to court, but the villagers aren't scared of him, because they know he's a criminal. Now they believe they're going to get rich from the hot springs. Good news for that village, they don't even care anymore about the competition between the sausages. Knowing they're jealous, Saki said it would have been better to just leave them totally fooled, but her dad said people get greedy sometimes, and among them the worst one was named Kawana, and he deserved to be punished. In the middle of all these people, a mysterious man showed up. Looks like the mayor wants to have a meeting with Seita. Some background folks know that's Wakai, the governor's own secretary. One of the villagers came to ask if it's true they want to build a hotel there. He said the hot springs were discovered, but there's no chance there'll be a hotel. because the government wants to take possession of that place. News that made the villagers even more worried. He said the land is very unstable, and developing that place for business could create a lot of risk. That's why everyone will be forced out. And as the community leader, Saito was chosen, at the governor's own request. Kuwana was happy about that, sure that these poor people will stay poor forever. He even threatened everyone about the loans, saying he'll collect on them forever. Playing the victim, he hid behind the governor's secretary, saying those people are dangerous. Saito said he'll pay those people's debt, taking responsibility for the losses. The bald guy has no idea how he's going to pay that. But the real benefactor is our protagonist. The jealous ones can't even believe this chain of events. Our boy is investing in Saito, who's a good person. He needs employees to produce more sausages. He's already willing to share his know-how with everyone. Now everyone started apologizing for being jealous of him. Yuto only did this because he's attached to that place. His ancestors came from that village. As for the bald guy, he's involved in multiple crimes. He should be handed over to the police immediately. The governor's secretary didn't even question that. He's already ready to arrest that con artist. After everything was settled, Yuto said goodbye, because he has things he needs to deal with right away. Maki is more and more impressed with our boy, who's been able to see that businessman's evil intentions from the start. She wanted to stay by our protagonist's side for much longer, and she forgot to tell him something. Arriving at the hotel, the secretary greeted Yuto looking really worried. Mayumi suddenly fainted, and also coughed up a bit of blood. She needs help. Our boy said he'll diagnose her, but he'll need some time to do it. Yuto noticed there's a lot of fire energy inside her body, caused by long-term depression. Finally, Mayumi managed to wake up, and said she needs to apologize for something. Our boy told her to rest a little longer, because he needs to remove the energy that's still inside her. She said the company's products can't be sold overseas, and they have to take a huge loss on what's already been sold. That company was entrusted to her, and now Mayumi feels frustrated by the business failure. Our boy said she's one of the most important employees. From what she said, there must be someone trying to sabotage that company. Eventually that person will reveal who they are, so she should take a few days off. Our boy keeps massaging her body to get rid of all that nasty energy, and while he's healing her, he's doing it in a pretty suspicious way. Maki walked in right away, because she felt like something dangerous might happen. Finding our protagonist in a really unusual situation, closing her own eyes, Maki apologized for interrupting something so intimate, which ended up making things super awkward for everyone involved. But she said she won't tell anyone what she saw. Mayumi had to explain everything, and she was just being healed by our protagonist's abilities, and it happens through massage, which is a perk at that company, for good employees. Our protagonist can't even believe they're talking about this. It's nothing but a lie from Mayumi, who asked our protagonist to go along with it too. Since Maki's sharpness is pretty low-key, she ended up believing that version since he'd been followed. Yuto asked if that was because of something important, and yeah, Maki has something to tell him. She found something really important during her investigation. Kuwana is a well-known con artist, and he always uses the same strategy. They need to know how he's getting all that insider information. There has to be someone else involved in this scheme, but our protagonist isn't in that much of a rush. His phone rang again. He needs to go back to the Moshao company. Looks like Kuwana's conglomerate wants to talk to our guy, which makes our protagonist really happy. This time they hooked a really big fish. They think he can't defend himself, but they're about to find out they're completely wrong. Another influential old man was put in charge of carrying out this revenge. He thinks our protagonist isn't very rich, but one of his employees brought up the possibility that he's being backed by someone powerful. To this weird bearded old man, that doesn't matter. It's probably just some local authority nowhere near his level. Now that they can't export anything, it's only a matter of time before his company goes under. Finally, our protagonist arrived for that meeting. They're assuming he got there fast because he was panicking. Our boy said he's surprised he was called in such a hurry. He noticed the teapot in that room is made of white jade. It must cost a fortune. The weird old man knows it's expensive, and he didn't like seeing Yuto handling it. For some bizarre reason, he said it's just a copy, really cheap. Now that everyone's here, Yuto wants to know what they want to talk to him about. It's about Meiyang's export license, which from now on can only export items appraised by Nakajima, and he'll have to pay a fee for that, which is supposed to be 70% of the operation. Our boy didn't like that cut, so the secretary said he's ignoring a very important fact. He's not in a position to set the rules of that negotiation. Our protagonist can't even believe they're actually being this bold, because he's the one doing all the work. The weird old man said he's very influential. Our protagonist should be grateful to have a connection with him. Yuto said he doesn't need support from these weirdos, so the old man asked who could be helping our boy. He thinks it might be the director of the cultural department. Annoyed, Yuto grabbed the old man by the neck. He didn't understand what that meant, but our protagonist isn't going to let him try to threaten him in any way. To show he's dead serious, Yuto smashed a table with just one punch that made the jade teapot go flying through the air. Our boy caught it before it hit the floor, saying it would make an excellent payment, and threw it toward the old man, who freaked out because it's really valuable and almost hit the ground. The problem is the teapot was really hot, making it hard for the old man to hold on to it for long, so it fell and broke completely furious. The old man demanded that our protagonist pay for the damage. Since he said it was just a cheap copy, our boy pulled some money out of his wallet, a total of 1,000 yen, and told the old man to buy something new. That made the weird old man feel even more humiliated. In the Prime Minister's office, a file asking for our boy's license to be revoked landed on his desk. Kuwana is the one behind it. Looks like they're trying to sabotage our protagonist. Knowing about this attack, the Prime Minister wants to talk to our boy immediately. Yahello answered the phone and sounded pretty crushed. He tried to help the country, but all he gets is retaliation. Maybe he'll have to shut down his company. The Prime Minister asked for patience, saying he'll investigate what's going on. If there's any corruption in this, it'll be properly punished. Hearing the good news, Yahello asked how he could help too. Back to the villains, they're celebrating the weird old man's move. They're sure that soon everything will be settled and our boy defeated. That's when the old man asked who that strange man in the room was. He introduced himself as the head of the Regional Development Department. There's a railway project in development. Showing his ID, it looks like he managed to spark the old man's curiosity. They need him to make negotiations in the region easier. In other words, the government representative went there to ask for a favor. First they need to secure the necessary land, and only then start construction. That's the corrupt nephew's specialty. He promised to get all the land in just 2 weeks. Now the government representative is relieved, because he got major help, and he asked if they could help him get promoted. The old man assured him that if they succeed, everyone wins, and the promotion will happen. Thinking about the outrageous profit, these thugs are already ready to get to work. What the bald guy really wants is to completely crush our protagonist, making money the illegal way, ready to put his revenge into action. Bald Kuwana is somewhere else now. They offered him some tea, but the smell of the drink is really strong. He was told it's a very famous local product. Bald Kuwana said he wants to buy all the land in that town, and he'll do it fairly. The guy who helped him was surprised by that, because he's not the only one interested. On the eve of that meeting, another executive met with the mayor and already signed a contract. He must be negotiating directly with all the citizens, and that made the bald guy furious. He even ended up burning himself with the tea, and asked to be taken to the residence immediately. Yuto is already making a good offer to all those residents, and when he found our protagonist there, the bald guy asked what he's trying to do. Our boy said it's a coincidence. They ran into each other, and asked what he's doing in that region. Kuwana knows our protagonist must already know what's going to happen. The railway construction, but when he asked about it, Yuto said he needs to keep corporate secrets under wraps. That only made the bald guy even more irritated. One of the residents said, Yuto is a really good man. He's going to buy that land and make a lot of public investments, on top of building factories to increase the number of jobs, even a hospital. Kuwana believes our boy is a con man too, just telling lies. So he said they're all being tricked in this scheme because there's a project to develop a railway in that region, and the land must be being sold below market price. Now everyone wants to know if that's really true. Kuwana insists on smearing our boy's reputation, claiming those investments are never going to happen. Now the residents are furious, and they don't want to sell their land. Yuto knows that revealing the railway plans will make it harder to sell that land to the con man too. But since he's been playing this game for a long time, the bald guy still has several plans to put into action. It's time to talk to the mayor about what can be done. Now that they're gathered, the mayor said they also have a few conditions to present. Kuwana can already guess what he's about to hear, and he's already willing to release a small amount as relief. The problem is that railways are risky, and it's a long-term investment. Kuwana guaranteed he has good contacts inside the government. Selling the land to him is a guarantee the project will be finished. The mayor really liked hearing that, and presented the price for all the land. 300,000 is a big amount, even for the con man, and he started to worry about what might happen. So he wouldn't lose the deal, he decided to agree to that amount. It's time for them to celebrate, and once again they offered that strong-smelling tea. The mayor said the aroma is proportional to the respect he has for the guest, but the con man can barely swallow it, saying it's horrible. Their meeting was finally interrupted. Several residents are there with musical instruments. They came to congratulate Kuwana, who managed to buy all that land. Looks like this was Yuto's own plan. That only made the con man even more furious, and our boy is already looking at the railway project, which is going to require cooperation. It's time to reveal everything to this con man. Among those residents is the government employee who talked with the con man's uncle. He started showing exactly what the railway plans are. Kuwana is now deeply confused. The plans had put now it's an urban modernization plan, aimed at making it easier for people to get around. And the one who had that brilliant idea was our protagonist. Now trains won't be a fundamental part of the project. Finally, the scammer realized he'd been tricked. Now he wants to call his uncle and report everything that happened. Yuto even took the chance to say the tea was made on purpose to taste awful, made with oil, which made the scammer even more scared. Now that he's properly restrained, it's time to make him open his mouth so he can drink all the tea he still hadn't finished. Not knowing what that was, the scammer started getting really worried. Time to make him remember a few things. That was made with the rotten sausages he had delivered. Since he was the one producing those sausages, he should know very well what he's swallowing now. It didn't take long before he started feeling sick. Thanks to his sneaky schemes, a lot of people lost everything they had. Now it's time for them to get a little revenge. Defeated, the scammer can't even believe the protagonist did all this just to please those poor extras. Those poor people are going to stay poor forever. They're just pieces to be used. When his uncle gets here, everything will be settled. And sure enough, The scammer's uncle just arrived. Looks like he was in a big hurry. Bald Kawana tries to tell his uncle they were tricked, and that it's time to throw someone in prison. Yuto had to make it clear to the villain that they're in a very fragile situation. But the bald guy insists his uncle is a very powerful man because he has very powerful connections. That's when someone else asked what connections those are, and the presence of that man left the scammer completely terrified. Since the Prime Minister himself is at that meeting too, it didn't take long for all of them to get arrested. Yuto had to plan that move carefully, creating the perfect situation for the scammers to show their mistakes. A man with glasses came up to our boy just to thank him. He said Kawana worked for him, but he didn't know about his unethical and criminal behavior, so he's relieved to have one less bad apple. Our protagonist doesn't trust him much, since that lawmaker can't be a good person. There are even rumors he has a serious illness. Our boy can diagnose someone just by looking, and he also heard the diagnosis from the Prime Minister. The lawmaker doesn't like using his health as an excuse, and while he was gone, terrible people got close to power. The Prime Minister even said that lawmaker left the hospital immediately when he found out what was happening. But now they need to get to the main point of this meeting. He has a request to make of our boy. Not knowing what it could be, Yuto refused right away. What he's going to do now is cure that man's illness. And as a reward, he wants him to keep working hard for this nation. That sounded absurd to the people listening to those words, but the protagonist is very confident he can handle this challenge. With the sick lawmaker, Yuto said he needs to obey him in everything. His daily routine and his diet will be set by our boy. He promised he'll follow Yuto's instructions very strictly. A pretty short-haired girl is introduced to us. She's that lawmaker's granddaughter, and she thinks the protagonist is just a scammer trying to trick him. So she went to intimidate our boy, so nothing happens to her grandpa. Our video ends here. If you liked it, leave your like. See you next time. Bye-bye.